think that if you are telling people that there's nothing to do, there's no way to fix it, you're feeding into what is inevitably going to happen.
Then our country's and we deserve to go to whatever the next stage is, because that's retarded.
That's our country's
That's retarded. It is! What you're talking about is fucking retarded. You keep talking about all these fucking retarded games we have to play. Well, we have two actual retards here that we have to pretend are normal adults. You're talking about how to politically maneuver an environment where there's a guy driving us towards civil war, and you've got dip left that apparently doesn't know any legal event that's happened in the past 10 years to start being a lawyer, and you got a Israeli Jew on the right who only cares about trans issues, and you're talking about how do we perfectly message on the left while the president of the United States talks about driving the civil war. This is retarded. This is retarded. And you are retarded. And I'm tired of acting like everybody has to be treated like a retard. It's insanity to me.
It's time for the streets to run red with the blood of everyone. Let's go! My actual thoughts. Okay, so, jokes aside, I've noticed a pattern, okay? When you have a left-wing guy who attacks a right-wing guy, you'll see establishment Democrats offer condolences. Maybe they'll take the opportunity to shill for some new gun laws. Far-left communists over on Blue Sky, they'll cheer and clap and talk about how liberals deserve the bullet too. Right-wingers talk about wanting a civil war, and they want revenge. They want justice. But when a right-wing guy attacks a left-wing guy, you'll see establishment Democrats call for calm. They'll definitely shill for new gun laws. Far-left communists, they might be outraged, but they might also say, LOL, he was a lib, he was a traitor to the revolution. And then right-wingers, they invent these conspiracy theories about how the attacker was not truly right-wing. He was a crypto-leftist, or he was a glowy or some shit. And there can be no real reconciliation unless the right deals with its own violence. And that's kind of weird to say when it was a right-winger who just got killed, but it is nonetheless the truth.
Yeah, we have a leader right now in the United States of America. His name's Donald Trump. If anybody has the responsibility to turn down the violence, it probably should be him, especially given that he's the one that pushes a lot of it. Seeing Charlie Kirk get exploded on Streamable over and over again is exactly the type of stuff that Republicans push for. It's exactly the type of stuff they want. You can tell by the way they respond to it. It's not a call for peace. It's a call for more and more and more violence. That violence just always seems more acceptable when it's not happening directly to you. If you have two people standing in front of a piece of paper doused in kerosene and both of them have a match, one person extinguishing their match is not going to prevent the paper from catching on fire. This weird game of saying the left needs to turn it down over and over and over again, we're like a decade into this insanity. And Donald Trump, even today, like people on Fox and Friends are begging him to call off the civil war that the other side keeps screaming for, and he refuses to do it. Matt Walsh from the Daily Wire and a ton of other large right-wing figures are literally calling for revenge, for retribution, for some type of war. The idea that the left shouldn't say anything or that the left needs to take the lead on this, civility is achieved when both sides agree to be civil. And if the right isn't agreeing to be civil, then the left is being amoral or immoral by trying to be civil. You shouldn't subject yourself to extinction when the right is calling for, a total destruction of your side and keeps saying you're at war.
Okay, and with that, I open up the floor. If anyone feels they're being talked over or needs to get a word in edgewise, just let me know. But other than that, let's get to the conversation.
Yeah, I'll go first. My first question for Destiny would be, if we had a clip of Trump today saying that it needs to be nonviolence and kind of honoring and lifting the spirit of Charlie Kirk and following in his footsteps, would that change any of the analysis we're doing here?
If Donald Trump was making strong disavowals of violence and saying everybody needs to turn it down, that would be very good. It would start to change things, yes.
Okay, so I don't want to do the clip game back and forth, but I just, you want to take my word for it, great. If not, we can do the clip game. Saw a clip of him today. I don't know if it was on the White House lawn, and I heard him explicitly saying, basically,
I've already seen the clip that you're talking about, and literally 5 seconds before the edited clip you've seen, he blames radical left Democrats. So no.
So then, in that spirit, then I seem to recall back to the Biden Independence Day speech, which I agree was not as bad as people make it out to be, because he puts this caveat in there where he's saying, "Oh, it's not the whole Republicans, it's not the whole conservative movement, it's just those MAGA Republicans." And seemingly putting that caveat in there was enough to kind of quell people, or I guess get folks on the left to think, "Oh, look, he's not calling for violence. It's just those crazy MAGA Republicans."
I've watched the entire speech and I've read the transcript, and I can link it to you. He's explicitly talking about people who deny the results of the 2020 election, a belief that over 80% of conservatives hold today. It is insane, and he was 100% correct in his analysis.
And so you're saying there's a world of difference there then between Biden when he clarifies and says, "Oh, I'm just talking about MAGA Republicans," but then when Trump says, "I'm just talking about radical left Democrats," they're saying that's different. Those clarifications.
Biden was talking about people that were denying the outcome of the election. When Donald Trump says radical left Democrats, he's talking about every Democrat in the United States of America. Biden explicitly said afterwards, I don't even think the majority of Republicans are MAGA Republicans. But he was explicitly talking about people that denied the results of the election, which is a view that most conservatives, a huge majority, hold today. Which that's absolutely corrosive to our democracy. This morning, when Donald Trump was asked, what can we do? What should we do? Donald Trump says, take vengeance. And then the guy's like, at the ballot box? And he's like, well, yeah, voting, but that doesn't work anymore because it's all rigged. And that was what he said. It's like, oh, okay. So I guess we're just gearing up for a civil war.
Okay. Go ahead, Tali, please.
I guess I just so what comes next then? So Destiny, I really am with you that this is to both sides, this is not an accurate portrayal of what's going on. I find myself very frustrated that so many people on the right can't bring themselves to also just de-escalate. And overwhelmingly Democratic politicians and Democratic center lib, whatever influencers have been calling this out and have seemed justifiably horrified. It kind of seems like it's only a certain segment of the left even that is really feeding this ugly machine, but why not denounce? I mean, as I think maybe Dev pointed out on Twitter earlier, I don't know if he said it in his opening, but these are people who are barely voting with the Democrats anyway. They want violence against the libs as much as they want violence against, the
Who cares about
fascists.
them? We can talk about them later. The problem we have right now is the president of the United States is pushing us to civil war. Why the fuck would I talk about a bunch of irrelevant things that don't even vote?
Sure, and I agree. The president is a problem too, but what I hear you saying is that essentially the people like you, left of center people, libs also can't back down from this fight because the other side isn't taking their lighter away. But then so where is that going to get us? Then there's still
we go to civil war. We fight. What do you mean?
Okay, so we're going to go ahead towards civil war?
Sure.
What kind
civil
of
war is better than extinction, right? What do you mean what kind of a solution is that? It's up to the other side. You can't choose to have both people go to civility. That's not a choice that one person can make. One person can choose to either fight or be made extinct. And right now, that's what, if the other side chooses to fight, those are your only options. That's all you can do, right?
You say made extinct, okay, but so you're leaving out again, we're doing it's bizarre the analogies we're making here because we're kind of talking about rhetoric online and then we're also talking about actual violence in real life. But
what do you think what do you mean we're talking about rhetoric versus actual violence? What do you think politics is?
What I'm saying, when you say I'm not trying to say that these things are entirely separate, but when you say we're facing possible extinction, do you mean that in a literal sense?
Eventually it'll get there. Yeah, we're getting closer and closer. But yeah, that we've played this game over and over again. I'm sure most of you on this panel watch me go on Piers and have the same argument a year ago, where every time something happens, the right either makes a conspiracy theory, doesn't own their side, or they blame the left, or they want civil war. The left denounces and cucks out. Dodd just got fired for saying that Charlie Kirk's rhetoric played into this. He got fired from MSNBC. Give me a break, right? And we're just going to keep doing this over and over again. Well, Donald Trump is literally encouraging violence over and over again. It's insane. It's insanity. Yeah, people should fight back until the other side stops. I mean, what else? Yeah, what else are you gonna do? Just sit there and just keep getting killed over and over and over again, figuratively, metaphorically, literally? I mean,
but I guess what just confuses me the most is I feel like the most recent arc we just went down was the liberals need to kick out the crazy lefties because they don't help electorally, and they go out and do crazy stuff, and then they cheer each other on. And I know you can try and denounce it as, it's 6-follower blue sky accounts, but I mean,
we do need to denounce it, but that's not what this conversation is about. The only reason why those people have so much say or sway is because of how dominant they are on social media, and because the right likes to point them out all the time.
Yeah, I mean, that's certainly, you can look at the political strategy of doing that. It is effective because when we can all agree, and it's anger is what sells and whatnot. But I feel
it's anger that sells the Republican Party. The Republican Party is driven by spite and vitriol and hatred more today than at any point in my lifetime. It's just not even close to what it used to be like. Could you imagine Donald Trump being the president after 9/11 or something? Or he's incapable. He's not effective as a leader. He's incapable of leading. Every conversation you have with a conservative is constantly saying, well, he's funny, LOL, the jokes are cool, who cares what he says? He's not a good leader. This is what the conservatives have wanted the entire time.
But I guess that's what I'm just trying to get towards. And I think we can all agree, right? It's when we look at these crazy individuals, and yes, it's anonymous 6 follower accounts on Blue Sky, but it's also non-anonymous larger accounts. I can pull. I was screenshotting them today just to see if we need to go through them. Just pretty much everyone I saw where it's 500,000, million plus, and not just Hassan. It's other. I don't know how these people get their followings, but dishing out the same kind of rhetoric and cheering each other on. And so if that's the crowd, I think that's the crowd that we should all agree is like a crowd that deserves no place in the
We
in the
all agree
political
with
process.
that. They don't have a place in the political process. They're not in Congress. They're disavowed by all of our leadership. They don't exist except for in the Twitter retweets of conservatives that are trying to make them a bigger deal than they are.
So then explain to me how in the day after the election, when you're on there with Brian Tyler Cohen and all the other folks that were in that call, and you're specifically talking about we need to jettison these pro-pallies that threw the election for Trump, which by the way, if I was on the left, that would piss me off I'd probably kill myself if that was the case. If we're losing elections because these crazies think, yeah, do what they're going to do. But if that's not the fight that the internal fight the left is trying to go through right now, is we need to kick out these pro-pally crazy far left, just whatever term you want to use for it. But now it's like and of course we have more to learn about the shooter, but from what it seems, it's going to be someone who is obviously not a fan, and which presumably puts them onto the left and puts them into this category. Why are we like focusing on,
Hold on.
it's the right.
Did you vote for Donald Trump on all 3 times?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you watch Charlie Kirk's neck explode when the fucking blood came gushing out after he got shot?
Yeah.
Do you accept that you voted for that?
No.
Okay, then you're fucking delusional. There's no reason to have this conversation. I don't know
Because-
why. I don't
because
know
I
why.
don't-
Why are we talking about the radical left right now when the president of the United States, a guy who has done violent rhetoric over and over again, who has pardoned every single person that he can that's involved with violent crime on the right, you voted for this. This is what you wanted. This is what you want. This is what you voted for, and this is where we are now. Why the fuck are we talking about the far left? I don't give a fuck about Hassan or the far left right now. The leader of the United States, the ex-leader of the free world, I don't know what the fuck the United States does right now, will not disavow violence. When the people on Fox and Friends are begging him to disavow, he won't do it. Why the fuck are we talking about tankies?
I guess I just reject that we're pinning this exclusively on one person. I think you can understand this is a much broader problem.
No, it's
we
not.
can agree.
No, it's
we can
not.
agree. No,
No,
hold
you're
on.
lying. You're just
say,
lying.
We can agree Trump may have the biggest impact as being the president. I'll agree with you there. But this is just such a bigger problem
No,
than any
it's
one
not.
individual
The problem
person.
is Donald Trump. That's the problem. He's signing off the violence on the right. There's a reason why 7 out of 10 of the largest protests in U.S. history have happened on his watch over the past 5 years of his presidency. Like, it's not a coincidence. At some point, you have to wake the fuck up and realize that the voting's not a meme, that his rhetoric isn't a joke, that all the memes about invading Chicago and deploying the National Guard and bombing Iran and calling it the Department of War and invading Greenland and Panama, at some point, you have to wake the fuck up and go, maybe this is actually not a meme. Maybe it's not funny. Maybe I should probably rethink when I'm voting to watch people like Charlie Kirk get assassinated on Streamable. Like, I don't know what it takes to wake you guys up to it. The fact that you want to come here and talk about tankies is just insane to me when your own leader of the United States of America won't just simply say, hey, everybody should stop killing people.
Deb, you wanted to say something real quick? Go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to point out that it's probably easy to look back at 2016 or 2020 and say that this is a recent development of Trump's, but it's really not, right? I looked this up. I looked up the text of this because I wanted to make sure I wasn't just going off my memory. In August of 2016, when he was still running against Hillary, he said, I'll just read it exactly. He said, Hillary wants to essentially abolish the Second Amendment. And by the way, if she gets to pick her judges, there's nothing you can do, folks. Although the Second Amendment people, maybe there is, I don't know. Now that sounds like a veiled call to shoot Hillary if she fucking wins the presidency. So this is something that Trump's been doing for a while. It's not some new thing that he's been radicalized into or the right wing has been radicalized into. This has always been here. It was hidden with memes, and a lot of people fell for it when it was hidden with memes, but it's always been here.
So I guess my question then is, if you think that that's the case and that Donald Trump is pushing us to civil war and that we really can't de-escalate, what next? What should we do?
Well, it's not going to be a civil war. I disagree with Destiny on that. It's not going to be a civil war. It's going to be more like Italy's years of lead. It's going to be more like Ireland's the Troubles, where you're going to have like 10 years, maybe 20 years of sectarian violence that's essentially random, and then things will calm down eventually after basically the revolutionary people age out of the system. Like, whenever you see, like, it happened in Spain, it happened in Portugal, whenever you see countries go through violence like this, You don't really get to de-escalate. You just have to work through it. It sucks, but here you are.
Well, heck, it was the 60s and 70s here, right?
Yeah, but it wasn't as bad as the years
Yeah,
of lead
it's
in Italy.
just not as
Oh
bad.
yeah, for sure.
Go ahead, Tali, please.
Am I just hearing a prescription then from you, Dev, also of like essentially accelerationism? Like we it's gonna get bad. There's no way to de-escalate. So
We're not.
left
It's
should just-
accelerating.
No.
It's not acceleration like we're accelerating it. Donald Trump is accelerating it. There's nothing we can do to stop it. You can't decelerate from one side.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah.
So the only option is to
Fight.
fire with fire?
And hope they stop. Yeah.
I guess like fight in what way do you mean, Destiny?
Whatever
guess
way.
that's-
I don't
guess
know.
that's the
Whatever
question.
way people want to. What do you mean? What do you think is the solution? What do you think would happen if the Democrats were to disavow? Tell me what you think would happen if the Democrats were to disavow like they've been doing for the past 10 years.
Democrats, right? They are disavowing.
And what's
I
happened?
guess like my problem is, I'm not saying things have gotten better. Obviously, I'm not saying things have gotten better, but I just don't see how like saying, well, if the right's gonna do whatever they want, I guess the left should do whatever they want too. I don't see how that makes anything better.
Aren't you? You're a huge like pro-Israel person, right?
Yes.
Should Israel just lay down all their arms when Hamas invades and let them take over? Why not? Why do they keep contributing to the violence by fighting back?
No, because Hamas is making the everyday life of Israeli civilians puts that in jeopardy, right? So if I felt that like literally my life was in jeopardy right now, walking down the streets as a liberal or as a gay person, that might be a different scenario. I don't feel like we're actually there yet.
What does it take? What city do you live in?
I don't want to get there.
When Donald
Does it
Trump
take
is
what?
deploying the National Guard to D.C. for crime purposes, when Donald Trump is using the National Guard against governors' consents in California, he's sending the Marines down there. When Donald Trump is deporting people sometimes at random, when he's invoking the Alien Enemies Act, like at what point are you like, maybe this is probably not a good thing. Maybe this is kind of unsafe.
I think we can say all of those things are not good things and that they're unsafe, and I don't know why the answer is again. So we should just be just as violent and disregarding of the Constitution, etc., as the right. I don't know. I don't see why that's the
Because the
that's the
alternative
answer.
is just extinction.
That again
So-
just feels like just extreme hyperbole to
What do you
me.
mean extreme?
if
What
you-
part is extreme hyperbole? Is Trump
So even like what Dev is
driving
saying,
more
that he's-
violence
he's
or not?
saying
Is Trump
He doesn't think that this is going to end. Yes, he is.
Okay.
His rhetoric.
Trump is
is-
driving extreme violence. Trump will never disavow violence on his side. The opposite of that, he's actually pardoned every single person he could that's been involved in violence on his side, right?
Every single person's probably a stretch, but certainly.
All the J6ers, at least, and the people that were convicted of seditious conspiracy, and everybody involved in his campaigns that have lied on his behalf and helped to do.
It's not a point that I'm trying to fight.
Okay, so he's done that. He continues to signal to people that violence is okay. He's talked about using the military to go to cities, whether the governors or the mayors like it or not. Like at what point do we wait for the soldiers to start shooting and they're like, wow, guys, I think maybe telling people to bring the temperature down, maybe that wasn't enough.
So then if we're at the point though where it's extinction, it's fight or extinction that you're saying this is the only two options on the left right now, I guess just direct question, is someone justified in killing Donald Trump?
We're not gonna do I'm not Fed posting right here. We're not doing that. But if we were on a different platform, maybe we could do a little bit of I already got 20 FBI agents. I already got 20 FBI agents just watching all the time. So,
okay. So it's hard to have this conversation without at least. Oh, sorry, I'm muted on my end. It's hard to have this conversation without at least in a video game or hyperbolically or something discussing this. And I understand we don't want to.
Well, stop here. Well, not in a video game. Hold on. Wait. Can I ask a question? Real question. Hold on. For Gen Z attorney and Telly, do you recognize that Donald Trump's statements today increase the chances of me getting murdered at the next event that I do?
Are we saying
Donald Trump today was asked to disavow. He was asked on multiple times on Fox and Friends. They asked him, "Will you tell people on the right who want revenge that they shouldn't do that?" He wouldn't say no. He said the opposite. He said, "Well, we could fight at the ballot box, but all the voting is rigged." So do you acknowledge that Donald Trump is saying things right now that directly lead to an increased chance of me being in the next video for my next event?
Yeah.
I would probably agree too, but is it more so of an impact than a guy picking up a gun and going and killing Charlie Kirk at a public event? Like what's more weighing in on that equation?
I don't know how that's relevant. I don't know if we can control every single individual person necessarily, but the president of the United States is the one driving the rhetoric right now for political assassinations.
And it's right now 100% purely responsive and reactionary to the fact that someone took a gun and went and killed Charlie Kirk at a public space at a
It's not right now. It's been since the quote that Dev had came from, I think that was that before he was even elected? Or was it right after he was elected?
Yeah, but
so how are you asking
me? It was
me?
August 2016. August 2016.
Okay, so how are you asking me we should turn down the rhetoric when there is a guy on all major media right now who's the president of my country who is saying things that is increasing the likelihood of me getting assassinated? Like, why the fuck would I?
Because your response to it increases the likelihood that you'll be assassinated as well, right?
No, I don't think so.
Into the narrative.
What? Because you're one of the good ones.
And let me explain, if I may. So when you give a reality to a lot of the right-wingers who say the leftists just want to fight us, the left just wants to go to war with us, the left are hunting us, and when you come on stream and you play into that rhetoric and saying, I'm not going to apologize, I'm not going to de-escalate, and you know what? Maybe there is no other option than going to civil war or something. Maybe we got to do what we got to do. What you're doing is you're justifying and you're feeding into their paranoid schizophrenia, basically.
No, their paranoid schizophrenia is they have a whole media apparatus that is designed to highlight insane takes on the left. Half the shit that gets clipped, defined, and spotlighted is like a 2-second cut from any, should I say. Half the people, forget me, don't even think about me. Look at them trying to clip the Gen Z attorney guy just did it right here, talking about Biden's speech. These are like the most docile people. When you listen to these people, like when you listen to the right talk about, I just watched a video of a compilation on Facebook. The right is talking about the violent rhetoric of Chuck Schumer, of Kamala Harris, of Joe Biden. These are like the most, are you serious? These are the go-tos because they're saying things like our nation is in chaos. Give me a break. Like, these motherfuckers will find anything they can to spotlight to try to make it seem like there's some genocidal intent on the left. And then meanwhile, the left has to disavow over and over and over and over and over again, and the president does nothing. So it's stupid.
Didn't John Roberts have to come out and explicitly call out Chuck Schumer by name for his comments directed at the Supreme Court? Like 5 years ago?
I don't know. What was his comment? What did he say about it?
It was something about like the Supreme Court will weep the whirlwind, something like that. We could get the direct quote if someone wants to get it. But John Roberts is like the most tries to be neutral, fair to everybody, processes everything guy. And there's a lot of people on the right hate the way he is chief justice over the court. For him to come out and expressly condemn the Senate, I think at the time Senate Majority Leader, for his commentary because
Chuck Schumer said that the Supreme Court would reap the whirlwind.
I'll get the quote.
I guess while he's getting the quote,
I've got it.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Yeah. He said, I want to tell you, is it Gorsh? I don't know.
Gorsuch.
Gorsuch.
I want to tell you, Kavanaugh, you have released the whirlwind, you will pay the price. You don't know you won't know what hit you if you go forward with these awful decisions. That's what he said.
Okay.
If that's our standard for violent rhetoric, do you acknowledge, honestly, that on the conservative side, I could find that 1,000 times over?
Yeah, no, I'm not going to die. Here's the thing.
If you say yes to that, then I can't even hear Chuck Schumer then. It's noise at that point. It's the overwhelming amount is coming from the conservative side. Why would I even say anything about that comment by Schumer if that's the standard that we're going to go by?
So it's just the left and Democrats are just infinitely shielded then because you can always find a counterexample on the right.
They're not infinitely shielded. It's just not relevant to the overall conversation. What did Schumer say the day after? Quote, I should not have used the words I used yesterday. They did not come out the way I intended to. Can you find me a single example of Donald Trump apologizing for anything he has said that ratchets up the violent rhetoric ever? One example ever.
I can't put Donald Trump, but the example I keep hearing brought up is the Minnesota state lawmakers and how the main person that was making jokes was Mike Lee, senator from Utah.
Sure. And Donald Trump said disgusting comments as well. Yeah.
About Mike Walls, though, or Tim Walls, right?
In regards to the Senate shooting. Yeah.
When I was looking up, all I could see was basically him saying he didn't call Tim Walls, but that keeps being the reason I'm bringing this up is because that keeps getting brought up as basically Exhibit A of recent politically targeted violence, which certainly, again, I'm not going to dispute. The guy was a right winger and he attacked left winger. But the only evidence example that we're pointing to of like elected official that was making a joke was a senator, which is bad. I'm not going to agree with it. But then he walked it back the next day. So just by the standard you just laid out, if someone walks it back the next day, then it's all hunky dory. We're cool then.
Did Mike Lee walk that comment back?
He did.
I think he did actually. Yeah.
Okay. He might have walked that comment back, but I would argue that Schumer and Mike Lee's comments were far different. Do you think that Schumer had a like malicious or violent intent when he said you'll pay for this or whatever?
Probably not. No.
Do you think that Mike Lee's intent was a little bit more sinister or jokey when he's doing a nightmare on Wall Street when a senator just get killed? I'm not saying that he's necessarily advocating for violence, but
I think him trying to turn it into an attack on Tim Walz was certainly ill-advised. I don't see if there's a joke I missed where he was directly making fun of the victims.
He had that was in quote. The quote was a picture of the shooter in the mask.
With saying Nightmare on Wall Street?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's an attack. It's not an attack on the people, on the victims. It's trying to make a political attack, an ill-advised, ill-timed political attack. But you can still see it's still a difference in kind there, though, right?
I want to quote: did Mike Lee walk it back, or did he just delete his post?
He deleted it and he put out an official statement through his office saying, I could find the official quote, but it was a denunciation of what I said was wrong.
Okay. While they find that though, my concern here, Destiny, with the things that you've said, at least on this panel, which is I feel are far more extreme than what even you were tweeting about. Let me ask you this: do you think that telling people that, hey, gang, there's really nothing we can do, we can't de-escalate, the right and Trump are out to get you, and they want to bring us to civil war? And then let's say tomorrow someone picks up a gun and goes out and tries to assassinate Trump again. Do you not feel at least somewhat that you have been responsible for that, or you would feel responsible for something?
Maybe, but let's back up for 1 second, okay, and not be the I don't even want to say optics cucked, because you're not even being optics cucked. We're being delusional. What is anything that you just said leading up to that last statement? Were any of those statements incorrect? Is Trump basically coming after people? Is Trump basically advocating for his audience to go after people?
What is incorrect?
Was anything that you said?
Yeah. If we de-escalate, that we're going to be led to extinction.
Okay, so you think that? Do you think
that is incorrect?
Do you think that the left can de-escalate right now?
Yes, absolutely. I think the left can, at least from their part, turn the temperature down in such a way that we are more likely.
Do you think that the left has been
control? Hold on, let me finish. To take control back of the House and the Senate in 2026, and also win in 2028 electorally. Because remember, there's more than just two players to this prisoner's dilemmas game. There are other factors involved, including a whole host of people who are watching what we do and judging accordingly. And I feel that if we do de-escalate and the right does not, that those other players, the electorate, will give us the W.
Really? Did that happen last year?
No, but it happened in 2022. It happened in 2020.
Yeah.
It happened in 2018.
I agree with that.
Yeah, sure. And in 2020, first of all, also, you don't agree with that because Donald Trump tried to literally coup the government and you still voted for him. So I don't know why you're saying I agree with that, okay? The fact that Donald Trump engaged in the behavior that he did in 2020, didn't make a single adjustment or tweak whatsoever to his electoral strategy through 2024, and then won the election, shows that something is fundamentally broken in our media or political apparatus or in the way we're communicating with each other. This idea that one side can de-escalate, I just don't think that's ever been true at any point in human history. I don't think it's been true in our recent history. I don't understand where this idea that if one, I feel like the left has largely been de-escalating, right? The peak bad was probably, I guess, the BLM riots, which Biden and Kamala had to disavow in order to run.
It was the Chaz stuff that was peak bad. Chaz was pretty bad.
Chaz was bad, but I'd say the BLM riots altogether is larger on the national stage or whatever. The Chaz stuff was cringe. But Donald Trump and the Republicans have just gone higher and higher and higher and higher and higher. They show no indication whatsoever of turning anything down. Every single right-leaning piece of violence gets blamed on the left anyway. So if they keep ratcheting it up and more right-wing violence happens, they're just going to say it was caused by a leftist regardless.
Yep. I mean, whenever I talk to my right-wing friends who are solidly in the right-wing bubble, people who are decent, that if you broke them out of that media sphere, they would, the scales would fall from their eyes, but they're still in it. Whenever I talk to them, their view is always that oh, it was actually a leftist who did that last attack. It was actually a leftist who did that. It's actually the deep state. It's a glowy. And it's like, well, even if the left stopped doing violence, they'd be blamed for the violence anyway. So you can't de-escalate in that media environment. It doesn't work.
However, the reason that they say, and this has been done with the Charlie Kirk stuff, I think Shuan had said, right, even if it turns out that the killer was some kind of Groyper guy, right, and not really a leftist or some kind of schizo that had an incoherent political ideology, they will see the celebrations of many on the left, right, and it's a lot, right, and people who are making memes, making jokes, going out, just saying crazy shit. And then they'll see Destiny come on and say, well, we can't de-escalate. We might as well prep for war, gang, because otherwise we're going to go extinct. And they're going to use that to justify to normies that we're right and they're wrong. And I think that if we take out as much as we can of that equation, right, I think that we have a much better chance at getting to a civil
works-cited crack pipe. Do you think Mike Walsh watched my stream before he made his call to arms decision that the Daily Wire retweeted? Do you think that Donald Trump watched my stream before he went on Fox and Friends this morning when they were begging him for a shred of humanity to call down the violence and he refused to do so? Are these guys
Do you not think you have any influence on these things? Because
I think
they
I
don't
do a
hear
bit.
from you directly.
They don't care.
But they hear it indirectly.
It's for the lawyer guy here, we'd call it pretextual. They have the conclusion that they want, and they will find anybody to justify it. They want violence, and they're going to say the left is causing violence. If it's not me, they'll find some random Twitter account. If it's not some random Twitter account, they'll find some random Blue Sky account. They do this even with irrelevant. What was the Sydney Sweeney where all the right-leaning people were like, oh my God, the left is freaking out about this. And meanwhile, no one on the left even cared. They could fabricate whatever issue they want. Today, I just learned that it was apparently 25 million illegal immigrants that came in when I thought it was 20 or 15 and 10. And who knows what the investment is up to now. And now the stock market matters, and it didn't matter before when it was going down. Like every single thing that conservatives are doing are just putting this false reality in front of the eyes of their constituents. And you're saying, well, if we just turn the temperature down, these guys can't even perceive a temperature. How could we turn it down? How would that even matter? It hasn't helped at all so far.
Because I'm not trying to appeal to those crazies. I'm trying to appeal to the normie electorate, which does make judgments based on these things, based on the signal to noise ratio, right? When the signal to noise ratio is mostly noise, then a lot of them just disregard it. I don't think the Sydney Sweeney
The
thing had a
crazies
big
are
effect
about
on
half the
normies.
country right now.
I disagree.
You're just
do
wrong.
not agree
Donald
that
Trump
half
won the
country-
popular vote in the last election after trying to insurrect the government.
Not everyone who voted for Trump is part of this crazy cohort, though. There is a significant group within the Trump voters, the MAGA cultists, that you will never reach, and I agree with you, are these crazy cultists. But to say that is most or all of Trump voters in 2024,
Sure, then it's just as bad, but it's on the other end of the coin where they just don't care about it then, in which case it doesn't matter anyway.
It's not that they don't care. It's that they care also about what the left is doing. And I agree with you that there's
They
been
don't care about what the left is doing. They
them.
care about the right is saying the left is doing. Please correct yourself. Nobody here is going to... You're not fighting left lawmakers that are doing shit like this. Like, simultaneously, I swear to God, I've probably heard you make these same complaints on these platforms where people are like, what's wrong with the left? They're feckless. They don't do anything. They're politically ineffective. They won't stand up. All they do is they hold up signs in Congress. And then the next day, when Donald Trump, the Republicans, say something different, it's like, oh my God, the left is calling for violence everywhere. They're crazy. They're doing the most unhinged shit ever. And then tomorrow it's going to be, man, the left is so weak and losers. They don't do anything ever. Like, it's whatever the Republicans tell us we're supposed to feel about the left that day is what we end up feeling about the left that day. Why don't we look at what the actual thought leaders, what the actual elected politicians say and do, rather than what Twitter is telling us?
See, but I think this is the game that gets played, though, where it's like, okay, it's easy, and I'll give credit to all the Democrats who've come out and said, yes, political violence is bad. Okay, you get your props for that. But right now is about the easiest time for someone on the left to come out and say that, because guess what? If you don't say that, you're seen as the one that's fostering and probably getting this type of violence. It'd be like taking any sort of attack that the left may do or the right may do on the left, and now all of a sudden the entire discourse is about how the left needs to tone down their rhetoric so less right-wingers go after hunting lefties.
If the environment right now has so many huge figures on the right calling for civil war, why the f*** would I look to the left to disavow people on Twitter?
So I mean, and I guess I disagree with this framing too, as far as like, yes, I see the calls for war. It's time to fight back. But honestly, I don't even know what that means. I'd love for someone to explain to me, war against who? What does war even look like? Are these genuine calls for violence, calls for war, or is this just more LARPing, cosplaying, saying it's time to fight? Fight, fight, fight. Was Trump saying fight, fight, fight after getting shot? Was that him saying, okay, now it's time to go to war? It's time to literally fight? I just without identifying, we're getting into some legal ideas here, without identifying with specificity who's being referred to, who's being talked about. I'm sure you're familiar, the incitement test in Brandenburg. It's without being able to specifically define a specific call to action with imminence as well. Imminence that this person needs to be fought, needs to be thrown out, XYZ needs to be done to them. There's so many elements at play here that are at play for a reason in a court of law because they matter if we're going to try and prove this stuff. But we're just kind of playing real fast and loose with, okay, if someone says it's time to go to war against far left communist radical lefts, and then it's like,
yeah,
I'm not seeing enough specificity or outcomes.
This is the game in real time. I don't think you even believe anything you just said. I think you know that you're playing a game right now because we have no problem trying to parse through the statements of every random word that Joe Biden says, or we can remember these specific quotes about "you'll reap the whirlwind" that Schumer says and apologizes for the next day. But now, when it comes time for people like Mike Walsh to say, "We're done talking. We're done. We tried polite discourse and it didn't work."
Matt
and now
Walsh.
we're going to fight. Now we have no idea what that means. Now it's, well, who knows? These are vague calls, and who knows what it means when they say.
What elected position does Matt Walsh hold?
He's one of the largest alternative media figures on the right.
Okay, but you are one of the largest media figures on the left. You are.
I'm an alternative media figure, number one. Number two, I've said this multiple times.
You just said Matt Walsh was an alternative media figure too.
Sure, I don't have a direct connection to the president like the Daily Wire does. Do you think I'm endorsed by the DNC or by the Democrats? But number two, here's a key difference, because if you wanted to make this equivalent, that's fine. The difference between me and Walsh right now is I would say, hey, if we should turn down the temperature, I 100% would disavow both sides. He will never say that. Do you acknowledge that? That he will never admit that there is any violence on his side that needs to be toned down. That's coming from the president of the United States.
That's why he's a liar, and we shouldn't base our behavior on how he behaves. We shouldn't take our morals.
You don't base
from
your
Matt
behavior on
Walsh.
how he if somebody kills somebody in self-defense, is that basing your behavior on how the other person behaves?
We're not talking about physically violent actions.
We just watched a guy get assassinated. What do you mean we're not talking about physical violence?
Are you calling for physical violence? I don't think you are.
I'm saying that it's not the same when you're responding to another person. I'm responding to the Republicans. That's not the same as doing it out of nowhere.
Who has done physical violence to you that you are responding to?
To me, I guess, I hope that I survive my assassination attempt so I can come back and go, look, Wick, I told you. So I'm on my breathing device. What kind of a question is that?
You bleed out, and I will say you were right, Destiny. You were right all along.
This is retarded. This is not. This can't be a serious response.
Of course, that was not a serious response. I was joking. But what I am not joking about, what I am serious about, is that this idea, right, that the rhetoric is going to ultimately lead to some kind of physical altercation between the right and the left is something that the right is pushing hard right now, because accelerationists on the right are pushing hard right now. And it seems to be you're playing along. You are helping them do it.
Was the North helping the South when they wanted to go along with secession and the Civil War?
No, but we are not in a situation we are at civil war. We're not there.
But the president is deploying the military to cities and tweeting memes about it.
So
what is that if not accommodation? Definitionally, yes. What do you mean? The president of the United States taking the military and using it for law enforcement measures against radical leftist Democrat mayors? That is definitionally civil war. When you're using your military for law enforcement purposes against the will of the governors of those states and the mayors of those cities, yeah. What else would that be?
I thought they're not able to work in a law enforcement capacity, and that it's basically a waste of money and resources because they are essentially a deterrent. Even though
that's true, they're not. They're also not allowed to. They're not allowed to deploy the National Guard without the consent of the governors, but they did it in California anyway.
Yeah. That seems to be a question that the courts need to adjudicate.
Oh my God, the courts need to adjudicate. We need to have the courts ask the question of whether or not the fact that you would even say that that we need to wait for the courts to weigh in on whether President Donald Trump can send the military to the states to do law enforcement. Like, what? How do you have so much credit for this guy? It's crazy to me.
I'm not. Well, no, I'm saying in order to fight back on that note is what I'm saying.
No,
I'm
the
not
fact
saying,
that
"Oh,
that's
who
even
knows
a
if this is
normal
right or
question
wrong?"
is unhinged. It's like watching Trump rape a 9-year-old girl and say, we need to find out if those were tears of joy before we find out if something wrong was done. This is an unhinged statement. That's a crazy statement to make.
I don't see how those things are analogous at all.
Because you're asking me, do I need to wait for the Supreme Court to tell me if the President of the United States posting memes about sending the military to do law enforcement in Chicago is a bad thing?
No, I didn't say anything about the memes. I'm talking about the actual specific action, a way to counter that, as opposed to saying, well, yeah, it is civil war. So if Trump's going to send in the National Guard, then we got to send in our crazies. A way to counter that is to actually try to work within the system that we have. That yes, Trump and people on the right are trying to deteriorate. I agree.
Work how within the system that he's already shown a flagrant disregard for? He doesn't play in the system.
Well, like Wick said, work to appeal to the normies who don't want to see this type of violence and who do not want civil war, and work to get elected. The election will be coming up in a year's time.
Okay. So hopefully we can edge out another 50-member Senate where Biden passed a record amount of legislation. Doesn't matter. No one gave a where Biden had to come in after another destroyed
Biden's
Republican economy.
Is obviously separate to the severe cultural rot in our society.
That's caused by conservatives. They are rotting the culture and showing you the cultural rot they want to talk about. That's why prior to the election, every American in the country, people in Michigan and Pennsylvania are worried about illegal immigrants, and now the problem is magically gone. No one cares about it anymore.
What we are seeing in real time is what's called reciprocal radicalization, where each side's extreme points to the other side's extreme to justify their extreme actions. And when you are helping them do that,
the difference is that the extreme that they're pointing to,
ally and participate.
No, you're so wrong, and it's such a retarded thing to say. The extreme people on the left are people like Hassan Piker. The extreme people on the right are people like Donald Trump.
Bro, you're calling for civil war.
I'm not. It's a one-sided thing.
Saying it's the only option.
If one side wants to push for war, then what do?
You're saying the two options are civil war or extinction.
If the other side won't de-escalate, yes, right now, do you think that right now, if the Democrats said, hey, Trump, we're willing to disavow all violence if you do, who do you think is the roadblock there?
Okay, well, it's a hard hypothetical. You're saying the Democrats, are you talking about like a thought leader of the Democrats? Is it a...
That's the problem. We're conflating a lot of these things.
I'm not. I haven't conflated them at all. You guys are, to be clear. I'm talking about the elected people who represent the party on both sides. Sometimes you guys want to talk about the Twitter on the left, but I'm talking about like the elected lawmakers.
Well, sure. Okay, so we are all conflating these things though, right? Because the problem does not seem to be Democratic elected officials. By and large, they are not part of this problem of stoking violent rhetoric and cheering on violence and anything like this. It is obviously a problem online in the media sphere, and a lot of young people, maybe the people who are getting radicalized right now, they are not really listening to. They're not listening to They know your name before they know the name of their elected official locally, and the same is true on the right. And you're right. The alt media space on the right is worse than Trump's rhetoric, frankly, like by a large magnitude. And so we do need to worry about what the online cultures look like, or what the non-elected official culture in this country looks like, because there is severe radical polarization going on between citizens. And you can say that the most jarring and explicit stuff is coming from the right, and I'll agree with you that it's coming from more mainstream right than mainstream left, but it does come from the left, and people are not just reacting to nothing, even if they are overreacting, even if they are painting with a huge brush, which yes, the right is one to do, to call everyone on the left, including all the liberals and the moderates and everything. Well, they use liberal as the derogatory word, but yes, they are painting with too broad a brush, but
if everybody on the left
I guess we should just prove them right.
If everybody, that's not proving anybody right to act in a defensive manner against a side that is calling for the eradication of your political movement in the United States.
Defensive manner doesn't seem to be what you're calling for.
Number one, that's literally where we're at this point. Okay. Number one. Number two, if all of the left mainstream people disavowed as hard as they could, then the temperature would go from 0 to 100. It would go from 100 to 98. If Donald Trump just on his own were to bring it down,
that's not the problem.
Sure, Donald Trump.
Okay. So hold on, let me contend with this. I agree. If Donald Trump just on his own were to bring down the rhetoric, it would have more of an impact than elected Democratic officials bringing down the rhetoric.
And everyone in the mainstream media on the left.
Sure. Okay. Sure. The problem really is with our online culture and the alt media and all of this stuff, in my humble opinion. So I agree. Donald Trump completely changing his tune would bring the rhetoric down more than public elected officials or the mainstream media on the left bringing down their temperature. But I think, and this is not a testament to the right, unfortunately, but a lot of the extremist right, for lack of better terms, they don't give a shit about Trump at this point. Like they kind of virtue signal towards him because that's kind of part of their base, and they know that that's like how they got into this sphere and that's how they gained their prominence. But a lot of the actual scary right is already beyond Trump. A lot of them
But those people
sort of like,
they're a small percentage of people. MAGA is a huge percentage.
I don't think they're irrelevant. No, I don't think they're irrelevant.
They're
at all.
irrelevant
And I think,
compared to
again, I
Donald
think
Trump. There will always be radicals. I don't care about groypers or neo-Nazis or whatever. MAGA is the issue. On J6, that was MAGA. That wasn't groypers. That was MAGA. That was Donald Trump and the Republican Party. Stephen Miller is the deputy chief of staff of the White House, is trying to say that the entire Democratic Party should be labeled a domestic terrorist organization. This is not a problem with neo-Nazis or the extremists on the right and left. That's not. It's evil. It's Donald Trump and his administration and the Republican Party.
Okay, so right, they're not just a fringe, and I heard you talking about this the other day, and this is also true that the more extremists on the right have gained more prominence. They've sort of infiltrated the moderate wing of the left, for better or for worse. We could perhaps agree that it's for worse. So in that way, they are connected to MAGA. They have a stronger connection to MAGA than the fringe left has to the
No.
the
MAGA is
mainstream
not
left.
infiltrated. MAGA is the extremism. MAGA is the cancerous rot.
Yeah, I don't know that that's.
Yeah, hold on.
Wait.
And
You don't know if
that's
that's what? No, wait. Follow through on that. You don't know if that's true?
I just don't think that's like an accurate analysis of what we're looking at on the right now.
So
in the
when
culture.
Donald Trump calls for people, when Donald Trump himself plays into all of the violent rhetoric, what do we call that? Stephen Miller is like literally fucking Goebbels over here on fucking Twitter. What are you talking? Like every single person that's surrounding this guy is an extremist lunatic. Steve Bannon was in the White House picking out senators like Roy Moore to run for election, or Roger Stone is one of the crazy motherfuckers online, is working this guy's election campaign. Or like, how many examples do you want? These are people that are close to Trump, that are part of the White House. Elon Musk, you talk about like the horribleness of extremist rhetoric online. A lot of this was driven by the fact that Donald Trump didn't want to see people banned from social media anymore. Elon Musk bought X and made it a worse place. This guy was in the White House. He was Trump's right hand man for 10 months, and he got him to talk about genocide in South Africa against white people. Like, why are you pretending that it's like some crazy small neo-Nazi group infiltrating MAGA? It's not. MAGA is the problem. MAGA is the problem. It is MAGA.
But also, too, if I could just make one observation, I'll be quick.
Go ahead real quick, and then Dev, and then I have things to say because this has gone way further than I thought it would, but go ahead, please.
So we're in this conversation here, and obviously me and Tally here are supposed to be the champions for the right wing. And I feel like we've been trying as hard as we possibly can to make the concessions where appropriate, to say, yes, this is rhetoric that's going too far on the right, which, correct me if I'm wrong, this is the exact prescription that's being made right now by you, Destiny, that the right is the ones that need to come together and tone down their side. And granted, I'm not the president, I'm not Stephen Miller, so I can only do what I can with the people around me. And I'm doing my damnedest by coming in spaces like these and the people around me in my circle. I feel like Tally's doing the same thing. But it's difficult to make the case when the clips that will come out of this very conversation, where we're trying to build the bridge there and say, yes, it is a both sides need to de-escalate type thing, and all we're getting back is no, it's 100% on the right, it's all on the right. And there's just it's so hard to make this argument to try and bring us back to sanity when
your concessions, we need concessions from the president of the United States. Your concessions don't matter.
That's what I get. But when I see on Piers Morgan, you made it was a correct point that if Dave Rubin and that other chick were not going to denounce J6, then you're like, then I don't care what they have to say, even though Piers was saying it. But Piers asked you if they were to denounce it, would you denounce the shooting on Trump? You said sure. Yeah, I think you said I'll think about it. And then Dave Rubin came out and said, well, we don't know exactly what happened there. And then you're like, okay, yeah, F these guys. I'm not conceding anything. So here you have two people that actually are the ones willing to make these concessions. And it's not
they
getting
just
us
said they
anywhere.
weren't making any concessions. You just quoted it back at me. They didn't make concessions. Dave Rubin could have made me look really bad there.
People in front of you.
In that conversation, right? I'm talking about the people in this conversation.
Well, those guys were larger. This was on Piers. It was a larger media thing. Dave Rubin is a larger media figure.
For sure.
Dave Rubin has bought into the conservative messaging apparatus, though. This is another guy who's connected, to Trump on a direct mental line or whatever. Like, I guess all of the mega media sphere is.
And we can certainly identify that, like, the incentive structure is to say the crazy stuff because that's what gets you the likes, gets you the clicks. That's just a problem that everyone's going to have to contend with.
It's not.
That's
Why do you
really
keep saying that? Why doesn't it happen on the left then, in the lawmaker and in the mainstream media segment?
So you don't think there are large voices on the left that are saying, basically advocating, maybe not expressly for violence, but they're doing the, political violence is bad, but he was a fascist and a Zionist, and I'll just leave it at that. Like,
on the mainstream media and for elected officials, this is not happening on the left. It is happening on the right. Why is it one and not the other? It's just things get clicks.
I agree, but mainstream media and elected officials have such little influence on
What are you talking about? That's not true at all. Mainstream media is massively consumed by a ton of people. Maybe not in our space particularly, but Fox News is the most popular cable news network. Is what are some of the most
on the left? We're talking about on the left. We were specifically talking about the influence within the Democratic Party and people on the left.
Real quick, Tally, I can think of exactly one elected Democratic official who engages in the same type of rhetoric, and that's Maxine Waters. That's it. All right. On the right, it's every single person.
And if you want to talk about alternative media on the left, all the alternative media on the right is also doing the exact same as the left, probably worse.
I agree. I completely agree. Yes, literally, definitely worse.
So then why would you, what is the incentive?
In larger numbers.
So on the left, you can't, if you disavow, all you're doing
the
is...
The incentive is I don't want us all to die, and I want the further polarization of this country, because I do think, which is something that you don't seem ready to acknowledge right now, even though I know you feel this way about the extreme left. The extremes in this country are fueling each other. It is not just one side completely making things up. Even if one side it's not.
It is.
Just not.
It is. It just is. It just is.
It's not.
It is.
It's not.
It's like 80% one side, Tally. It's like 80% one side.
80%, meaning, what do you mean by that, Dev?
It's 80% right-wingers and like 20% left-wingers at this point. Because
80%
all the left-wingers...
of right-wingers fanning the flames or being crazy?
Yeah, they're fueling what's going on. I would take responsibility 80-20, right, left. Well, hold on. If it's 80%, if it's 80% the right's fault, then there's only so much damage control you can do by handling the left. You must also handle the right.
Especially when you can't even control all of the left. Like, how many times have we disavowed tankies and everybody in the mainstream media has had to disavow the left and fight with the left? Like, there's a huge fight in the Democratic Party right now over whether they even want to endorse Mamdani. But that's not enough. It's never enough. You're acting like
this point, we're not. Hold on, just real quick. We're not asking for a disavowal at this point. At this point, we've accelerated, and now we aren't just. I'm not disavowing it. It's like they're coming to kill us all, and we need to get ready for war. Is what you're saying on my panel. They're coming to make us
that's what the right is saying, and I'm saying we should be ready for it.
There are other ways.
Is what I'm saying incorrect?
Yes.
Oh, wait, so the right is not. I couldn't show you tweet after tweet after tweet of them saying this is war, civil war.
If you think that is the majority of the right, you're wrong. That is not representative of the majority of the right wing in America. It is representative of a crazy few that are online that have loud voices and a lot more influence than they should in the Trump administration.
Okay, in that case, I will concede my entire point if you can show me a single alternative or mainstream large media figure on the right who's saying the right needs to bring down the rhetoric as well.
Okay,
and it can't be somebody like Massey who's being excoriated by the right now for fighting Trump on this, because now they all hate him for saying that.
Sure. Well, you're putting me in an impossible position because everyone who does that is large on the right in these spaces, is going to be excoriated by those loud voices.
But listen to what you're saying. Listen to what you're saying. You're telling me that we have
to... Pete Buttigieg, right? Doesn't mean Pete Buttigieg isn't trying to turn down the temperature or do these things where you have Vanguard and other crazy lefties are always going to excoriate them. Yes. So,
but the difference is every single mainstream Democrat is disavowing them. And on the right, not only can we not get them to disavow Trump, they're disavowing the people that are disavowing Trump. So you're saying that on the left, we have a problem with disavowing extremists. We don't, by the way. We all disavow them, and we've done it over and over again. The mainstream and the alternative left like me do it over and over and over again, and you've seen this from top to bottom. On the right, it's not even that they won't disavow Trump. It's that they will disavow people that are disavowing Trump. Donald Trump made a joke about putting Liz Cheney in front of a firing squad because she was on the J6 committee. Trump is shit talked this guy more than any other elected official in the United States because he hates how much. Do you see the disparity and the problem there? And you're like, but Stephen, you guys need to disavow just a little bit harder.
Hold on. How do we fix it is the thing.
You can't. We can't fix it. You can't fix it.
Yes, that's the problem I have with your rhetoric. I disagree with you. And I think that if you are telling people that there's nothing to do, there's no way to fix it, there's no way we're going to, then you are inevitably you're feeding into what is inevitably going to happen, but it's not inevitable. That's my whole point. It's not inevitable. There are many off-ramps that we can provide. There are many solutions.
Give me one off-ramp. What's one off-ramp?
One off-ramp is
Wick, how do you fix it?
I'm trying to explain.
Go ahead.
Okay, so first of all, you de-escalate, right? You disavow as you have been doing and you keep doing, and then once 2026 comes around, you elect people and representatives. You're going to look. The extremists are going to get punished, right? These people who are calling from these
Donald
extreme
Trump got out of almost every single one of his indictments and investigations. He pardoned people convicted of seditious conspiracy for the first time in like 200 years in this country.
They're going to lose their seats.
That's
Look at
fine.
every
They already
candidate.
stole a Supreme Court pick. They've already stole multiple Supreme Court rulings. They've already indefinitely expanded the power of the president. They've already permanently disbanded USAID. They've already permanently destroyed the Department of Education. They've already permanently ruined the United States standing in the world in terms of our positions with NATO, with the European Union, with trade, with all of our allies. Like, wow, what a punishment. This motherfucker might die in office. What's the punishment? Somebody's going to piss on his grave?
Hold on. There's more than just... Go ahead, please.
Sorry. I'll just say, and electoral consequences are real. I mean, I'm old enough to remember 2022 when every one of Trump's handpicked candidates went down in flaming defeat. So that was the push right there, right? That was the surge to be more MAGA, to be more extremist, and it was defeated at the ballot box. And so, if you're looking for examples, that and you said earlier, you'll retract all of your points if we can point to any sort of mainstream.
What did they lose
figure
from
on the
that?
right.
What did they learn and what did they change after 2022?
Well, who ran in 2024? Did we see any Herschel Walkers or Carrie Lakes? Actually, we did see Carrie Lake ran for governor, right? And she got destroyed again. So the consequences are real.
Hold on. Everybody that ran in 2024 was a Trump dick suck sycophant, and Donald Trump himself re-ran in 2024 and won the election. He had to choose. Why did he wait? Do you remember why he chose a different vice president? It's because he almost had his last one killed when he was trying to insurrect the government. So how are you telling me that they had some huge consequences or learned some big lesson in 2022?
Because they lost. And then you get to 2024 and you can look at Trump and the platform that he was putting together. And I've heard it said before, when you've got these 80-20 issues like crime, issues like immigration, and Trump is planting himself in the 80% side and just riling up the Democrats to take the 20% side every single time, then yeah, he's making the broad appeal. And there's a lot more factors too when you're talking about Joe Biden, what happened to him, how he has to now step out. You're inserting a candidate who seems to have zero authenticity or ability to articulate a consistent worldview that she's held throughout her political career.
Do you think Donald Trump, I'm curious, can you articulate anything that Donald Trump says about literally any issue ever? What do you think Donald Trump's grand vision is for the Middle East? How do you think Donald Trump wants to end the Ukraine-Russian war?
No, he doesn't have a...
What do you think Donald Trump's domestic economic policy looks like? Are tariffs here so that we can make deals with other countries or so that we can protect our manufacturing? What do you think Donald Trump's position is on Canada and Mexico? Are they horrible countries that take advantage of us, or was his upgrade to NAFTA, the U.S.-Mexico-Canada trade agreement, the best thing ever? What do you think Donald Trump's position is on China, our number one enemy, that he's constantly undermining our position against by making enemies of every other friendly country in the world? Why are you trying to pretend? Kamala Harris is infinitely more qualified and could articulate any position a billion times better than the actual half-dead retard that is sitting in the White House right now. Like, how could you even say that statement?
I would just disagree as far as if you want specific, detailed, pointed plans as to how any individual issue is going to get addressed. Of course, you're not going to get that from the figurehead of the movement. You're going to get it from the advisors, the people that come in under
the experts. You could get it from Kamala Harris.
What was something Kamala Harris was expertly articulating?
Kamala Harris was grilled on when she went, I think it was on a CNN interview. Her and Waltz got grilled on their economic plans or whatever, and she had to go into her, the three big credits that she was offering was an expansion of the child tax credit. She was talking about deductions for businesses where the first, $20,000 of income would get some kind of tax deduction. They talked about housing plans, about how they wanted to give like a first-time buyer a home credit or whatever, and do like, you can walk through and listen to her detailed plans on anything she talked about, as opposed to Trump, who literally can't name a single specific thing on anything. He said concepts of a plan. That was a Trump joke. Concepts of a plan.
It was. But do you think she had any level of substance or depth beyond the 2-sentence summary? We want to do a child tax credit in this different category.
Yes.
Or if she was, You think, okay, we had an hour, 2 hour discussion where we can specifically dive into her economic plan. She would just be completely fine. It wasn't just something that, okay, if they ask you about your economic plan, here's your 3 bullet point list you're going to go off of.
She was a DA, and then she was an attorney general of California, and then she was a senator of California, and then she was a vice president for 4 years. You don't think she could detail any plan whatsoever? You really think she was just AFK the whole time?
Yeah, knowing some politicians, that yes, absolutely, you can get fed your bullet pointed talking point. I've seen Mike Pence talk in close, intimate settings while he's running for president in 2024. It was like 3 months apart from each other, and each time he made the exact same speech, and I was kind of shocked at like, oh, I was just expecting at least a little bit more of like a genuine depth of knowledge back and forth, but like
who
to say the
actually ran?
exact
Okay,
same
hold on.
point.
Since you guys think that Joe Biden wasn't running the government and it was the deep state, so that Kamala Harris wasn't the deep state? Who was actually running the government at that point? That's a facetious question. I'm sorry. Do you think that Donald Trump could talk at all about any of his policies for anything ever?
Obviously not to a level that you're gonna
not to a level. Like could he even explain this? Do you think that Donald Trump, for instance, does he understand that a tariff is an import tax yet, or do you think he still doesn't know that?
I would point to, as far as look at the number of long form podcasts he did during the campaign, whether it was Joe Rogan, whether it was Theo Vaughn, and those I've heard from the young people. You know, we say Barron Trump was the one that won the election because he told him, "Hey, Dad, go on these podcasts. You're going to do great. As far as you're going to reach a lot of people."
It was a long
and
talk.
who didn't go on these podcasts? We had to Call Her Daddy. That was a 45-minute interview on Call Her Daddy.
Okay, so he went on Joe Rogan's podcast. He was there for 3 hours. I'm curious. Can you name one substantive point that he brought up on that podcast?
Well, I didn't watch it. I just know
this is vibe politics. This is all this is. Donald Trump you think he was going in depth on his policies?
No, he
on
wasn't.
Joe Rogan?
Yes, you're right. It was fully vibe politics, and it made him to certain people seem just more relatable. They wanted to see him sitting down talking to someone in a relaxed setting. They obviously weren't. I mean, Joe Rogan's not someone that you go to speak rigorously about policy.
And the amount of times I heard people say the Kamala campaign is the campaign of joy. We're just so joyous to be here. You want to talk about vibes politics? Like that's the definition of we're just going to try and ride the joy vibes all the way through to the finish line.
Well, it was joy to present like a better upshot of America of what it looked like versus Trump's message, which was just filled relentlessly of hate, right? I think this is captured in the difference between the DNC and the RNC, where the Democratic convention had a whole bunch of flags in the air, and I think the Trump flags were all like deport all immigrants or whatever.
They all had ear tags on, actually.
Oh, because the assassination thing? Yeah.
Yep.
Mike, go ahead, please. Oh, no one? Okay, fair enough. If you're right, Destiny, and I don't think you are, but let's say you are, then what is the best thing that a Democrat should do right now? What
your
are
moral
you advocating
obligation?
that a Democrat
Your moral obligation is to fight whatever way you can until the other side is ready to go back to civility.
Are there any limits on that?
It's what you match. It's tit for tat.
It's tit for tat. You match whatever they're doing.
The most successful biological, that's the most successful survival pattern that's ever been discovered in all of computer science and all of evolutionary history. Yes, every other strategy is defeated.
We can caveat and say in a video game, but I think we know exactly what that means. If it's tit for tat, well, what was the tit that just happened? Which means what is the tat in response? Like, is that not a problem?
Wait. Are you implying that the other side?
You said.
Wait. Are you implying that I'm worried that Republicans are going to call for violence now? Because they've already all done that. What are you talking about?
Okay, and I'm saying the tit for tat. We've had the tit, and now you're saying that what has to come next is the tat. And
I love tits.
Yeah, and that's where we've been for 10 years since 2016. Is the back and forth. Yeah, and the other side is unwilling to return to civility.
So yeah, I would look though at who have been the most effective political leaders as far as actually effectuating real change in the country, really throughout its history. Is it the people? Just to take one example, was it MLK? Was it Malcolm X? Was it the one who said, let's actively practice civil disobedience as we're being hosed down, as we're getting dogs set on us? We're going to remain unerringly peaceful in the face of this horrific violence because that is what's going to garner sympathy and win people to our side and persuade hearts and minds. Was it that guy who got massive legislation passed? Or was it the guy saying, no, actually, they've oppressed us, they've shot us, they've killed us, they've lynched us. It's time to take up arms and defend ourselves, which is the mentality that
MLK's attachment to nonviolence was a strategy that was effective because people could accurately perceive that one side was attacking the other. Right now, you have an entire media apparatus that is lying to the entire country about who's committing de-escalating the violence, about who's radicalizing everybody, they are unable to perceive what's actually happening. That's the issue. Again, over 80% of conservatives right now don't even believe in the results of the 2020 election. MLK's strategy only worked because people actually saw what was happening, and you didn't have a whole AI system of Russian bots and all this other crazy conservative who have all decided, I guess we could lie as long as we, spread our message. That's the difference. If people couldn't actually perceive MLK, the children and everything getting attacked by dogs, then it would have been a dog strategy.
Here, Gen Z, let me put it this way, okay? Pacifism only works as a tactic if your opponents actually have a moral compass, right? Like, Gandhi worked against the British Empire. He would not have worked against the German Empire because there's a difference in how these two enemies operate. You cannot simply lie down and let your opponents destroy you and hope that your suffering moves their hearts. Not if their hearts aren't going to be moved.
Then to both, to Dev and to Destiny, then what the Charlie Kirk shooter did was justified in your mind then?
I don't know if I would say justified, but I mean, it's a natural consequence of what's happening. And there will be more killings too. They will happen. Yeah, for sure. And right now, Donald Trump is providing the justification for both sides, I would say.
You act as if this is inevitable.
It is.
I very much disagree that it is inevitable. I think that we have places where we can get much less political violence. You are correct that it is happening at a greater and greater rate. Again, we had about 150 political violent activities in the last 6 months or so. And last year it was half that. So there is more. But if your only solution here is that we have to match energies, it's going to get worse. And they want that. You understand that. The Republicans want it.
No, they don't want it. No, they desperately, hold on. The Republicans desperately don't want it. Losing Charlie Kirk.
They absolutely do.
Don't. You're wrong. They want to pretend.
They are going to use it to basically kneel on your neck.
No.
To step on your neck and say, this is justified.
You're completely wrong.
So that the public just lets them.
The loss of Charlie Kirk is damaging to the conservative movement. That's going to hurt a lot. He was a big figure in the movement. He was super young. He had a huge future ahead of him. Turning Point USA is an incredibly successful organization. That is a huge damage to the Republican movement. They don't want. They want to be able to say that shit is happening, but they don't want it to
removes
actually
the organization. The infrastructure is still in place. There will be another Charlie Kirk. They're just going to replace him as a figurehead. But their martyrdom they are going to use to justify so many degradations of our civil liberties and civil rights, and they're going to use it to oppress liberals and leftists.
They've already been doing that. We have the Lake and Riley bill. We already have this legislation written off of these single death events.
Do you think it's as bad as it could get? Do you not think it can get worse?
It can, but it's because they're driving it. It can't get better if one side wants it to get better. Both sides have to play into it in order to have civility.
I feel like we're just rehashing the same arguments as making a comparison here as Israel-Palestine. And I think I've heard you say, Destiny, that it somehow finds a way that everything makes its way back to the Israel-Palestine conflict here. But if the solution here is that basically you're arguing the same way the pro-Pallies argue, that the Palestinians are getting endlessly victimized over and over and over again, and therefore the only thing that they think they can do is fight back. But then I believe your argument is, okay, then let them continue to fight back and they'll just get annihilated. Instead of maybe trying to work towards the solution and figure out where we're going to go. It seemed. Am I wrong? Is that not a?
I make the exact same argument for Israel-Palestine. My exact argument for Israel-Palestine is that the international meddling in the affair is cancerous because both sides are permanently incentivized to fight. If you were an Israeli, you would be stupid to give any ground to Palestinians because all you can do is just keep fighting them, keep blowing them up, keep killing their leaders, and keep expanding into the West Bank. That's what they've been doing. That's why they annexed East Jerusalem. They're splitting it up even more. They're moving settlements out more. Why would you give up if you were an Israeli? And if you were a Palestinian, well, if the entire international community is supporting you, if they're calling it a genocide, they're calling it apartheid, they're all saying that it's unjust, why would you give up fighting as a Palestinian? Both sides in that conflict are also, yes, permanently incentivized to fight each other.
And so they just spiral into destruction instead of actually trying to work and figure out a solution that's actually going to be sustainable long term.
Well, you keep saying sustainable long term. It will be sustainable long term just for one people.
It's one side, yeah.
Exactly. That's the issue. Right now, Republicans, every single large leader on the right, alternative media, mainstream media, lawmakers, and the President of the United States are saying that this is a war between good and evil. They want to succeed, but they just want one side to succeed.
But the left is saying that too. They're just largely removing the word war. They're still talking about things in terms of good and evil and existential threats to the lives of Americans in a way that I think is overblown.
That's fine, but that's because you just don't know anything about what's going on in the political system. Millions will die because of USAID. Can you admit that? Hold on, wait. Can you admit that millions will die as a result of the disassemblement of USAID? Wait. Gen Z attorney just said, he just lied. He said, they said millions will die. Millions are going to die. What is it, 14, 15 million? They will, right?
It's 14.
I'm not going to focus in on international aid as our evidence of millions will die.
How about hundreds of thousands of people that died as a result of the people not getting vaccinated because they didn't believe in the COVID shots?
What was on the lips of the guy who went and did the congressional baseball shooting? If not, millions will die based on the Republican healthcare plan, so I need to kill all the Republican leadership. When you're saying millions will die because of Republican policy, domestic policy, that's kind of a problem.
But millions have died. Don't you think there's a difference if one side is being truthful and the other side is lying about things? Don't you think there's like a difference there? If there's a truth value and one side is being honest and the other side is lying, don't you think that matters?
But you were not only just saying that this is true.
Wait, I want to hear that. I want to hear the answer to that.
There's nothing we can do about it other than civil war.
If the other side doesn't want to do anything but fight, you have two options. You either get genocided or you go to war. Yeah, what do you do
We
if the
have
other side wants to
elections
fight?
in this country. There are
Maybe,
other
for
ways
now.
to
14 million
resolve
people
this.
that you're talking, the 14 million deaths that you're talking about is not a genocide in the United States of America, right? This is people abroad, and we can all disagree with it if we all do on this stage, right? But that is these are conversations about values and foreign aid and things like this, which is separate from talking about literal death in America, which is the topic of conversation here today.
Sure, I mean, we're defunding all of our healthcare shit right now. We're like crazy. We just did cuts to Medicaid, which the conservatives in the past have said they promised they'd never touch. You've got people that are not vaccinating their children against.
So if defunding healthcare is going to potentially lead to deaths of Americans, then is it justified to murder Republicans for that? If our greedy healthcare system is responsible for death of Americans, then is it justified?
I
to
never
murder
said that.
CEOs
I'm not
of
saying that it's
healthcare?
justified in doing it. I'm just saying there's a difference in the truth value between what both sides are saying. We could talk about prescriptions.
You're not saying it's justified, but you're.
We can talk about you're skipping over. Do you acknowledge there's a difference? Wait, no, wait. Do you acknowledge there's a difference in the truth value between both sides saying these things? That when the right says the left are all communists and the left says the right are fascists, you understand that one of these statements is kind of true and the other one is totally false, right? Or do you think they're the same thing?
They're not the same thing, but there's truth to both of those statements. There are actual fascists on the right, and there are actual communists on the left.
Okay,
both vying
name a
for
communist
power.
on the left. I'm gonna name one on the. I'm gonna name a fascist on the right. But let me start. Donald Trump. Name a communist on the left now.
Like I said, on the right, they are more successfully vying for power than
because they're the president of the United States.
And I've already acknowledged that this is not an issue that we have among elected officials in the Democrats.
Then why did you say it was an issue on both sides? Sorry, go ahead.
Why didn't you just say the New York guy? Like he's a socialist. He counts.
Well, because then we're going to get into a semantic difference over. Well, he's not actually calling for a cashless, stateless society. He just wants to do, free grocery stores and expand the social safety. Because that's going to be the distinction that gets played. Because
it's a dumb distinction. But
again, it goes back to. Sorry, real quick. It just goes back to the 5-hour explosion between Destiny and Pisco about use of the term socialist. And what are we meaning by when we say
it has
socialist?
nothing to you keep wanting to skip past the truth values to have like the fun meme arguments or whatever, okay, while people's brains are getting exploded. The reality is look at the difference in treatment between the Democratic Party when it comes to Mamdani. They don't even know if they should endorse him. On the right, you've got Mike Johnson and everybody else covering for child rapists, potentially. Do you see the difference there? How lockstep everybody is on the right, in the mainstream media, most of the alternative media, and the lawmakers and the president are all saying, oh, the Epstein stuff, who cares, LOL. And on the left, they're like, I don't even know if we should endorse the next mayor of New York City. Do you see the difference there?
It seems highly likely that the only child rapist was Jeffrey Epstein, to be clear.
Nice dodge.
Just fanning the flames
Pivot and dodge. Pivot and dodge. Pivot and dodge. I hope you guys jerk off. I hope you guys have big old vibrators. You jerk off to the next assassination. It's a fucking good meme. Meme. Good meme. Good meme. Good meme. Good meme, guys. Well memed. Well memed, guys.
Going around calling everyone pedophiles.
Well
I've got a
memed.
question for you, Tally.
That environment, which is something, by the way, that the left used to readily acknowledge, that calling people groomers and pedophiles can actually put them in danger when it's unfounded. And so I do think that there's a lot of that going on both sides there right now.
Both sides? QAnon was literally built around a secret pedophile ring.
I agree. And that's why it's so disturbing that the left has decided to take up this mantle.
When did the left take up this mantle? The left, wait. You know what? I almost agree with you.
Epstein stuff?
Yeah, wait, where did the Epstein stuff come from? Who drove that harder than anyone else in the country?
Yes, the right, obviously.
So look at that. So even there, where you're giving me a problem with the left, it comes from the right. That was my exact argument earlier. All of this is stemming from the right. Bongino and Patel and Bondi were inviting people to the White House for new Epstein files. It was all bullshit. So even the problems we have on the left sometimes are literally caused by amplification on the right. And you're saying both sides need to tone it down.
left doesn't need to participate in it. Correct.
So the leftists need to be
They
bigger
do,
in every
but-
single way.
okay.
We have to disavow the bad people on our side. We have to point out that the right is falsely magnifying things on our side. We have to
That's effective,
fire
and it
everybody.
wins.
What?
Yes, that's
It
effective.
doesn't. We
and
lost in
wins
2024.
long-term. Absolutely.
Long term? We don't even know
Okay.
long term where we're going to be at.
So the populists on the right took over the right. The populists on the left have not taken over the left. That's why it's happening. There's a substantive difference between these two things. Right? Like the communists don't control the
That's
Democratic
true.
Party. The communists aren't in control of anything right now.
I think.
Okay, Tally. Here, Tally, just real quick.
Okay, go
I
ahead.
want to go back to one thing you mentioned earlier, because you were talking about USAID and the 14 million deaths, and they're obviously bad. The argument you were making is that there is a. This is kind of a meme question, but I don't mind. There's the argument you were making, I think, was something like there's a difference between people who die as a result of like poor policy or laws being passed or bills being passed, and then directly killing people. And you say that these two things are different, right?
They're different. I'm also trying to make a distinction between like violence in our country and like taking away resources that were improving the status in other countries. I see these as characteristically different things. I'm not saying that the other things don't matter, but yes, it's different from the problem that I'm here to talk about, at least.
Right. Would you
So like
agree with
right,
that,
like going out
Gen
with the
Z?
gun, going
as well?
out with the gun to snipe someone is different from saying, I believe that our country, and even if you think that all these people are full of shit who make this argument, saying that I believe that our country's in debt and that our money should not be spent assisting foreign countries who have not seemed to be able to take the help and run with it, but rather they seem dependent on the help. You can disagree with that, and that still seems to me characteristically different from sniping someone.
Yeah,
a
sure.
rifle.
And I agree with you. It's just that whenever I look over into right wing spaces and I see them talk about, for example, the Holodomor in the Soviet Union, they talk about that in the same breath as the Holocaust. But the Holodomor was a mass death based on policy, while the Holocaust was actually directly killing people. So I do think that we understand that these deaths are actually they're pretty similar in the end. I don't think it really matters that much if you start to nitpick over how they died.
Well, I just want to be clear. I'm not saying that you can have disagreements on funding international aid and all that. That's fine. I'm just saying that people will do this thing like, oh, both sides are making harsh statements about the other side while pretending that both sides are making the same level of true claims about the other side. Donald Trump, in practice, operates as a fascist as much as he can. Does anybody disagree with that?
I kind of do, but
I don't know that
Yeah.
I think it's a semantic distinction.
Okay, do you think that Donald Trump operates as a fascist as much as Joe Biden or Kamala Harris would have acted as a socialist? For Tally or Gen Z or Dev, do you think that Trump was more fascist than Biden or Kamala would be socialist?
Yeah,
probably.
I think
Yeah.
I think Trump is
I think
more
so.
open to the fascist influence on his side of the aisle than Biden or Kamala would have been to literal socialist.
No, Trump
Yes,
is
to
fascist.
socialist
Trump
influence.
is more fascist, not open to fascist influence. He operates as a fascist.
I'm sure.
Not sure. Yes, he does. If you say sure, where's your doubt? And we can dispel it right now.
I just think that
I don't agree with that, but go ahead.
word gets. I mean, Deb, do you want to jump in?
Why I don't think Trump's
Say
a
you
fascist?
agree or don't agree with that.
Well,
Yeah.
fascist is it is a political ideology like socialist is, and Trump, he doesn't operate under the rules of an ideology. He's just self-interested, and self-interest is not a political ideology.
I agree with that, and that's why I said that I think Trump is more open to that type of influence.
I'm not saying open to type. No, you're obfuscating.
Anything.
This is the biggest equivocation in the universe. Not open to that type of. He's acting in this way. He's acting in this way. He's acting as we can say authoritarian dictator, if you prefer that over fascist, more than Biden or Kamala.
He is absolutely a tyrant. He would be more of a tyrant if he could.
Right? Do we disagree with that?
I would agree. I think it would I'd probably stem it on, when you're coming from the business world and you're just used to getting things done in business sense, and then you enter government and now it's all the rules and regulations in place, which are good. I agree. Checks and balances, due process, all good things. Lawyer man here. I don't know, hot take. But
wait, in what world, in the business world, does the CEO just go and do everything?
you don't have to jump through as many hoops. You disagree with that?
Absolutely, I disagree with that. What are you talking about? Depending on the size of the business, You think the Google CEO can just spin up a new product in a day, or that the CEO of Amazon, Bezos, can just walk into some team meeting and skip their whole sprint and decide to just implement a bunch of new features? Like, what do you mean? There's a ton of bureaucratic hurdles that you have to jump over every massive corporation. Same thing with the United States. The United States is a massive company if you want to compare it to such. A CEO can't walk through anything and just single-handedly do stuff. Of course, there's a whole bunch of bureaucracy from top to bottom.
I don't know. I'm not going to disagree that there's a lot of regulatory hoops to jump through in business.
No, not regulatory hoops, business hoops. Why are you trying to blame it on the government? You don't think corporations have their own internal systems for getting things done? How do you coordinate a company of thousands or tens of thousands of employees?
Yeah, there's a lot of internal processes and systems and structures in place. The only point I'm making is that if you want to wake up in the morning and say, I want to start this project, let's get it on, you don't have to worry about things like the Constitution that are going to say, well, actually, you're not allowed to do that. Even if it's a good idea, even if it's something that people can agree on and get behind, you don't have to worry about a completely independent body, unless you're getting into completely outside the business world into things like fraud or anything that...
What if you're completely in the business world and you're simply the CEO and you do something stupid and then the board expels you? What do you mean? Of course, all these same things exist as a CEO. And if in a company, if you don't have over 51% of the equity or whatever, or voting shares.
I don't know. We see a lot of CEOs doing a lot of stupid stuff that I guess they're able to ride the roller coaster, and it is what it is.
Donald Trump does not operate. Donald Trump does not operate like an effective CEO. He operates like a retard. I'm just saying that cover for him. He wasn't a good businessman. He didn't operate his businesses effectively, and he doesn't operate the U.S. government effectively as a politician or a businessman. But we've also pivoted away from the topic. Donald Trump acts as a fascist or an authoritarian dictator, what do you want to say? Way, way, way more, not influenced, but he acts as one more than Biden or Kamala ever acted as a socialist.
So actually, this is a good point.
Yes, that's true. That's just straight true.
Okay, let me bring it up in this way then. When there are large calls on the left in 2020 if Biden wins the election, we're putting pressure on him as the left to pack the Supreme Court, abolish the Electoral College, add DC and Puerto Rico as states. There was one more. There was four. I'm blanking on the fourth. But when we're talking, the filibuster. Get rid of the filibuster. When we're talking about key American institutions, that it is leftward pressure that we're focused and trying to undermine and dissolve entirely. I've seen you answer this question before. Your answer is, well, that will never happen, so I'm not worried about it. And can we not say the same thing about Trump when he says something crazy like, I'm going to tariff the entire world? And then the Supreme Court says, actually, no.
Well, there's a difference.
Wait, no, stop. Wait, hold on. There is a difference. Wait, what's the difference, Dev?
The difference is that Trump doesn't listen to any of his advisors, and all of his advisors just suck his dick constantly.
Close. The difference, but also the difference is Biden didn't do any of that, and he was president for 4 years. Donald Trump is doing all of that. He has tariffed the entire world. Biden explicitly said he would not pack the Supreme Court, and he didn't. Biden specifically said that they weren't going to kill the filibuster. They didn't.
He said he was going to create a fact-finding commission to decide whether or not to pack the Supreme Court.
I don't even remember this statement. I'm pretty sure Biden said multiple times. Also, by the way, I looked this up. Mike Lee never made a statement walking back his unhinged tweet about the Nightmare on Wall Street either. But no, I don't remember Biden saying he would make a fact-finding. Hold on, wait. Oh my God, wait. Are you mixing this up with when they tried to pass legislation saying that there should be like a standard of behavior for people in the Supreme Court?
No. I know exactly what you're talking about. That came later. That came during the presidency. I'm talking about during he was asked expressly in the debate with Trump in 2020, are you going to pack the Supreme Court? And he waffled on it and said, well, I'll form a commission to look into it, which that's as I remember it. If anyone can fact check me and something being wrong about that.
I've got the fact check. I've got Biden's quote right here. He said this, and I think this was on the campaign trail. He said, if elected, what I will do is I'll put together a bipartisan commission of scholars, constitutional scholars, Democrats, Republicans, liberal, conservative, and I will ask them to come back to me with recommendations as to how to reform the court system because it's getting out of whack, the way in which it's being handled. And it's not about court packing. That's what he said.
Okay, you can say that, but what does getting out of whack mean? And before I know where we're going to jump into, I also agree. I think what the Senate Republicans did was pure politics in 2018, blocking Merrick Garland from the court. I can disagree with it on the moral level. They had the right to do it, absolutely. And I believe the historical record shows that anytime a majority in the Senate or the majority in the Senate has an opportunity to put a member on the court, when it was cross sides, that I think it's happened like 7 times where the majority Senate was opposite the president and the majority Senate did not fill the Supreme Court seat.
Sure. So Biden put together this commission. They did a study. Nothing came from this. He didn't do anything. They didn't even recommend or take a position on. court packing or anything else.
It lasted from April to December, and at the end, they basically recommended that nothing change because it was all fine.
But here's the thing, because I can play the same game though, and we can say, well, how many times did Donald Trump say he wanted to lock Hillary Clinton up on the campaign trail? And then he gets office, and then what happens? He
They're
says,
doing investigations into every single person that was involved with Hillary Clinton and with Barack Obama. That's what's happening right now, right?
we need to I'm talking about, where is the prosecution of Hillary Clinton? Where was even the indictment of Hillary Clinton?
We don't have that yet, but there was the whole email investigation that lasted for however long. Now that wasn't under.
Wasn't that pre-Trump though?
That was pre-Trump. Yeah, but some things pre-Trump were apparently biased towards Trump, and some things pre-Trump were apparently biased against Trump. I don't know how you make sense of that. But also, Trump right now is doing investigations on all of his political opponents, right?
Like, give me some examples.
Well, right now, the whole reason, why are they bringing up the auto pen stuff? It's because they want to try to roll back all of the pardons they can so they can continue to go after Hunter Biden and everybody on the J6 Select Committee. Number one. Number two, Tulsi Gabbard just released all of this bullshit Russia stuff, a whole bunch of documents that she hopes nobody ever read, so that they can start issuing subpoenas to, what was it, Barack Obama, the Clintons. They tried to even bring back in Mueller, but I think he's got Parkinson's now, so they couldn't. Was Barr involved in this? For anybody who was even remotely involved with this? They're literally trying to do it right now. He's writing executive orders targeting law firms that worked with the DNC or Hillary Clinton for no reason, just targeting law firms.
And so I just have to bring it back to, though, if the promise here is lock her up, right? That's the big chant everyone wants to point to. And then he gets in office and expressly says, I can find the quotes, but when asked specifically about it, is there any plans of prosecution of Hillary Clinton? He has repeatedly denounced it and said it's not going to happen.
Hold on.
And I understand we're doing the whole Biden investigation stuff.
No, forget. Yeah. Do you acknowledge that Donald Trump has written executive orders targeting individual law firms because they worked with Hillary Clinton?
I've heard you say this. I have not read the orders themselves. I would need to see just for myself.
I just want to be clear, just for the record. You're not familiar as an attorney, as a practicing attorney. You're not familiar with the President of the United States writing executive orders that is targeting individual law firms in the United States, and the whole drama that arose about that, with them cutting huge deals with the administration to do pro bono work, with other law firms dropping clients and adding clients, with him rescinding security clearances from these huge law firms so they couldn't do work for anything related to the government. You're not aware of any of that. You haven't heard of anything there.
No. Let me clarify. I am aware, as far as I've heard you say before, that this is something that's happening. I'm saying I have not looked into it. I've not read the EOs themselves. I've not read any of the rationale justification behind it. Hate to do the classic lawyer answer, but it depends, and facts really do matter. Circumstances matter.
Wait, so then why would you?
I don't want to speak on it.
Then why would you so confidently say that they're not targeting Hillary Clinton and anything else if you're not even aware of the extent of his targeting law firms through executive order and through the DOJ?
Because now you're going to disagree. I feel like this is a pivot, though. I'm talking about the prosecution of Hillary Clinton for her emails. We're talking about 2016 right now, when he was campaigning on lock her up, right? Because her emails, WikiLeaks, and all this stuff, and he kept promising it's going to happen, and then we get in office, and then it's actually we're going to leave that behind because we got a country to run. We're not going to focus on that kind of stuff. Because isn't this stuff recent? Isn't this a new EO?
No, this was like almost right when he came into office.
But of this term, right? 2024.
Yes.
This wasn't 2016 we're talking about, right?
No, it wasn't. But also for but one of the big differences back then is Trump didn't realize that all the stuff that he wanted to do was illegal. So a lot of his administration was pushing back on him. Now he has an administration that will go along with anything. Like, for instance, the fact that Barr literally quit weeks before the election because Donald Trump kept asking him to do illegal shit. He would ask Barr to do illegal shit, and Barr would say, you can't do this, and then it would kind of stop. It wasn't because Trump didn't want to. It's because he didn't realize how illegal all the shit that he wanted to do was. He doesn't have those same roadblocks in front of him this time. That's why this admin is so much more unhinged than he was in 2016.
Okay. So
wait, do you acknowledge that, or do you agree with that, or disagree with that?
No. I was literally going to say, I feel like we can keep going back and forth on this point, but I don't know if Wick had any.
Wait, go back and forth. Wait, do you acknowledge that he is way more unhinged this time because he realizes he needs sycophants versus from 2016 to 2020 or 17 to 21, he didn't know that he needed actual people who are willing to break the law?
So, yeah, I'll be honest, as far as I thought Trump was done for after 2020 because I felt like he had burned so many bridges with kind of the main Republican folks. I think Bill Barr, Mike Pompeo, folks that I think got pretty good reputation.
Wait, why did he burn the bridge with them?
I know, and Bill Barr. It's over all the J6 stuff.
Why didn't know specifically because he asked him to break the law, right? And Bill Barr wouldn't break the law for him, right?
I'm Team Bill Barr in that dispute. Yeah.
Why is it so hard for you to say that? He asked Barr to break the law, and Bill Barr would not break the law.
Because
you can't say it.
Because no, because I've heard you use this phrase before, specifically about the elector scheme, saying that this was illegal. But you're loading a lot of weight into this word illegal. It's breaking the law. That was the phrase. When we're talking about is it a criminal offense or are we talking about a civil offense? These are two different. You can break the law in a bunch of different ways. The way you're using it, you're implying that this is a criminal, like go to jail type of breaking of the law, and that's something that I would dispute. I would disagree with. There's a million different. I could break the law.
There's a law called the Electoral Count Act that referred to how the electoral votes were supposed to be counted, and Donald Trump and his ilk were trying to scheme to have Pence not follow that law, breaking the law. That would be a criminal matter. So how is he not breaking?
Here's the thing. A criminal matter has to be outlined in the statute as a criminal matter. It has to have a criminal sanction attached to it. It can't just be, there's a million laws on the books that just say how something is supposed to be set up. In fact, there are people who try and sue under statutes, causes of action, that they were not able to do so until 1983 was put, that created a federal cause of action for the violation of any civil right. Before 1983, there was no federal cause of action. You could not sue, even if someone did violate your civil rights. Before, and this is U.S. Code 1983, not the year 1983. But that's what you have to create the cause of action. You have to actually have an actionable textual hook within the statute in order to enforce it and consider it a breaking of the law in the sense that you're trying to make it out to be. You just said it was a criminal offense, right?
Violating the Electoral Count Act. Correct.
Okay. I feel. Are you looking it up? Is it a criminal statute?
It would be a criminal offense. I was just looking it up because I don't have the code memorized, but it'd be Title 18, USC 1512, which is obstructing corruptly any official act. That's what the Electoral Count Act was. It's the official act for counting the electoral votes in Congress.
So we're pointing to a different statute. Is that the obstruction statute to say you violated the Electoral Count Act? So you have to go to a different statute. I'm saying specifically the Electoral Count Act. Is that a criminal statute?
You don't need an explicit one for obstructing an official act. It would be the obstruction of an official act. The whole indictment that Jack Smith filed was partially centered around this.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to do that. That is what the indictment was, yeah.
So Barr left because Trump was asking him to break the law.
Was he asking him to, well, no, we just got on a different topic. We were going down the Electoral Count Act, I'm assuming through the Eastman memo and everything that happened with that, right?
That was their plan to violate the Electoral Count Act.
And what was Bill Barr's involvement with that?
I think Donald Trump was asking him to send fake letters to the states claiming that the DOJ had found evidence of voter fraud in the seven target states.
Basically, after he said that, he directed Bill Barr to look into it. He looked into it, said, I'm not seeing what you're saying. And then at that point, I believe was look again, right?
And then he wanted him to send fraudulent letters to the seven target states to say that they had found evidence and they needed to suspend their election. So he was asking him to commit crimes. Barr said, I'm not going to commit a crime. I'm not going to commit perjury. I'm not going to obstruct an official proceeding. I'm not going to be a part of this. And then he left.
Okay.
Wait, we can't even agree on that simple fact? I mean, what are we even talking about? This is all part of the problem, right? How can you get right-wingers to agree on, violence in any part of the country or whatever else, but we can't even agree on this is the simplest fact of the matter thing. There was a law called the Electoral Count Act. Even what you just said here to try to bring up civil or criminal liability, that really doesn't even matter. You can break a law. That doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be convicted of a particular thing. It doesn't mean you need a civil cause of action as somebody to sue you and win on a thing. You can still break a law with no penalty. So if he wants to violate the ECA, that was the goal, even with no criminal civil liability attached, he was asking Barr to help him do it. Barr said no, and he left. That should be the easiest give in the world.
And the reason I was diving into some of these details, and I also appreciate going into the weeds and getting in details. That's where issues are solved. Was to raise this distinction of the way you load that phrase "break the law." I just think the real discussion is on whether or not there was conspiracy, whether or not there was obstruction. And what were the two other counts that were in the Jack Smith? That's where the
the distinction here doesn't matter. Even if there is no criminal or civil thing attached, you're still breaking the law by violating the process, right?
Yeah, as far as if you are violating the process.
This is a distinction with no difference. So it doesn't matter. You're breaking the law. So he's asking Barr to break the law.
We do need to kind of get off this for a little bit. But
Well, no, let's continue. This is actually
I
great.
just know why it's
Okay.
so hard to just say that Donald Trump wanted him to break the law. That's such an easy thing. That's why you said the only reason we're talking about this is because earlier you're like, well, I can't believe he burned all these bridges. Like he made a Destiny tweet. That wasn't why he burned the bridges. He burned the bridges because he was asking people in his administration to break the law for him.
He didn't say, I can't believe he burned all these bridges. He said,
did.
I didn't think that he was going to. No, he didn't. No, he didn't. He said, I did not think he was going to be politically viable in 2024 because he burned all those bridges.
Yeah, but he didn't just
wasn't
burn
saying,
bridges.
Wow, I can't believe
No, but
all
he
of
didn't
these
just
people
burn
turned on him.
bridges. He asked them to.
Right, and Gen Z is acknowledging these things, even if he's not doing it with
No,
the
he's
precise language that
not.
you were
He's not
asking for.
acknowledging. That's like
Yes,
saying
he
Hitler
is.
burned the bridges with the Jews. He didn't just burn the bridges. He set them on fire until they were ashes. There's a difference here.
No, that's actually
Okay,
not an
here.
apt analogy.
It is
I
a
do
totally
wanna-
apt analogy.
hold
He
on,
just burned the
Gen Z.
bridge with Bill Barr because he said something mean to him. He asked Bill Barr to break the law, and Bill Barr said no.
Here, how about this? Gen Z. Do you know that on December 21st, Trump and a whole bunch of other people, like a dozen Republicans in the Senate and in the House, they met in the White House along with Pence and along with Eastman and Giuliani, and also what's the name? Is it Pat Sippa something? The actual White House lawyer was not allowed to be in this meeting, and this was the meeting where they planned what they were going to do, and they were in this meeting. Everyone there was pressuring Mike Pence to go along with it, and he refused. Like, is there not something that's legally culpable here?
No, I think, well, okay, legally culpable. I think that's where we're getting potentially over the line. If you want to talk morally culpable, I think absolutely we're getting to that area.
Okay,
I'll give you
hold on. I'll give you a second example, okay? On the day of January 6th, Jim Jordan directed several of his staffers to deliver actual papers of the false electors to intercept Mike Pence in the hallway in the Senate building to deliver the papers. Is that not something?
to intercept Mike Pence to give him what again? What was
the
it?
false electors. They had the papers
certificates
in their hands, and Jim Jordan's staffers were sent out to try and intercept Mike Pence as he was moving towards the Senate chamber, and Mike Pence's security stopped them. Is that attempt not something?
So it never got to him. Just to be clear.
It never got to him, but they tried.
But they tried. Your point is that they tried. Okay. No, I mean, I really wasn't planning getting too deep in the weeds on January 6th. I guess just my broad take on the entire situation was the plan was bad. Was it illegal? Potentially, yeah. However, I think once it gets up to the Supreme Court, so let's assume Mike Pence does go along with it completely, 100%. He's all aboard, which let's remember, he was not. He stood in the gap and he said no. And it cost him his political career, and I think that's bad. It should not have, but it just is what happened. It's a fact. It's what happened. Let's assume though he does go along with it, and then it makes its way up to the Supreme Court. Are we saying, and y'all might say yes to this, but are we saying the Supreme Court would have said, yes, actually, well, this is a contested election. The evidence is there for voter fraud, and we're just going to throw it back to the Congress and let them decide and just install Trump as a president.
Who knows?
Would the Supreme Court have done that?
Who knows? They got rid of Section 3 of the 14th Amendment for Trump, didn't they? They gave him criminal immunity, didn't they?
Oh, okay. I'm glad you brought up criminal immunity. We can go deep in the details.
Before we do that,
let's keep going. Let's keep going. This is fun because there's more to this. Yes,
we might have to do
topic.
real quick. We might have to do criminal immunity another time. I would love to go back and forth on that one, but I think it would take us too far off topic.
Also, keep in mind the Supreme Court also might just not touch it because they might say it's a major questions doctrine. That's too political for them to touch. Who knows?
That's what
for the election stuff.
No, but if we're talking about the interpretation of the Electoral Count Act, the Supreme Court would absolutely touch that. Okay. And strike it down.
Okay.
I think it would have been 9-0. That's my belief.
9-0. Wait, they would have struck what down? The ACA or Trump's actions?
No, striking down Trump's actions.
So then what happens after that? So now we have a president of the United States and the Supreme Court strikes down the ECA. What then? Do we have to impeach him? Does he just automatically get kicked out? No one has any idea.
If Trump refuses to leave, if he installs himself in the White House, surrounds himself with the military, but he didn't do that. He still left. And I understand this is after all the crazy
just real
quick, but then I gotta make some money, read some super chat. Then we got people who want to call in, and we gotta give closings and all that. So yeah. But
whenever I've seen people talk about this issue, it never really gets this far. In the Electoral Count Act, there actually is a provision for what happens if an election or electors are successfully contested in the House. What happens is a 15-man panel is made of 5 House reps, 5 senators, and 5 judges. And then it's their job, the election is postponed by 2 months, and it's their job to actually investigate everything. And then those 15 choose who wins. So there's already a process in place in the law for what should happen. but none of it was. Well, Trump didn't want to follow any of it.
Yeah, because what you're talking about, they explicitly said that that's why they wanted to call the ECA unconstitutional. They wanted Pence to invoke his, what is it, the 11th or 12th Amendment or whatever, about the vice president's role in the Congress, and that he should just overrule it and just pick himself.
What they wanted to do is they wanted to say that Jefferson set a precedent where Jefferson, in the election of 1800, unilaterally accepted electors, even though there was some objection raised. And that was all complete fucking bullshit. Because the objection that was actually raised, if you look into the election of 1800, which I did, you look into it, what happened is some of the people who sent in electors from Georgia wrote some of the meaningful content of the elector papers on the envelopes, because I guess they just didn't have enough paper to have to fit on one piece of paper. So they actually wrote some of the shit on the envelopes, and people were looking at it, I was like, what the fuck is this? And that's what it was. The reason that Jefferson accepted the electors is because they were valid electors.
Sure, even forget we can forget all of the elector scheme stuff. Do you think that Trump did an illegal by invoking the Alien Enemies Act, claiming that we were being invaded by Venezuela? Was that illegal?
For what are you talking about? The drone strike on the boat?
No. He invoked the Alien Enemies Act so they could deport people from Venezuela, Venezuelans, faster from this country without the ordinary due process for deporting people. Because he claimed that MS-13 is part of the Venezuelan government, so it constitutes an active foreign invasion onto U.S. soil.
It's going to be dissatisfying, but I don't know because I haven't looked into it, and I don't want to speak.
Is there any action that Trump has taken that you feel is illegal? Or have you not looked into anything that's illegal of his? You just know everything that the tankies and the far lefts have tweeted and trans stuff.
I could give you an answer. I'd have to think about it, but I can certainly come up with something.
Is there anything illegal you feel like Biden did?
Well, when he says outright that I know the Supreme Court's going to strike me down, but I'm going to do this eviction moratorium anyway, just to give people the temporary relief until it gets struck down, I think you could argue that's illegal.
That's your example.
We can come up with more. That's the one that immediately pops to mind when you expressly, we're talking, this whole last 15 minutes was all about respect for the Supreme Court and what's going to happen when the Supreme Court rules in a way that you don't like, and how you respect their rulings, and how you conduct yourself in a way knowing that the Supreme Court might get to ruling on it. So when you're expressly saying, I know they're going to strike me down as unconstitutional, but I'm going to do it anyway, because in the time it takes for them to do that, we're going to get the temporary relief that the intended effect I'm looking for. Yeah, that's kind of a big deal when we talk about norms and institutions.
And that's more of a big deal than Donald Trump wanting to install himself as the president of the United States after a violent insurrection, and you were hoping that the Supreme Court will overrule, even though they knew they were breaking the law the whole time.
I think the Supreme Court has stood as the last bastion against many.
I'm not asking about what the Supreme Court do. I'm saying Donald Trump's intention was to break the law to install himself as the president and to circumvent the 7 states' electoral votes.
And there's been many times through American history where people have tried to do things that are very bad for the country.
Name one time where somebody's tried to do something like that. This has never happened in American history. That was wrong.
No, it hasn't.
You can't even call that. You can't even call that illegal. But Biden saying, and my guess is I'll look up this quote, see if he even said that. But Biden saying that he's going to do the moratorium on rents or whatever, and even though that's breaking the law, that's clear in your mind. But all the stuff that Trump's done, we either don't know about it, haven't looked into it, or it probably wasn't that bad, or we don't believe it.
Okay. You can answer that question, but before you do, I do want to get through my super chats. I got to make a little money today. Then we are going to get closing statements, and we're going to bring some callers in. There's some people who really want to weigh in on this, and we'll do that for another 20, 30 minutes. Okay. Yinderduck, thank you for the tier 1 sub. Audacity for $5 to say, and then one day, for no reason at all, people voted for Trump. $10 from GBO Farms to say the left is way more violent than the right in the last year. Embassy attacks, Axe Blue donor in Ukraine volunteer trying to kill Trump. Luigi Mangione, Colorado pro-Palestine terror attack. Fuentes attempt at killing him. $20 from Lawson Harrison to say, Wick, I told you months ago the logical conclusion of where the current political reality is headed is toss. What would the panel do or think if Trump goes for a term 3 and the courts find some loophole to okay it? $5 from Origin of Logos to say, what is this? Bring on some actual people who will challenge Destiny on his level.
Wait, America, answer these questions?
Yeah, go ahead, please. It just takes longer if you answer them. Yeah.
Okay. I've got all night. I don't know about you. Trump, dude, okay, if Trump term 3 actually happens, you guys got to actually fight it out. Like, that's
no, they won't. They'll defend it.
I think I know Destiny likes to place money bets. I'd place a money bet on no Trump term 3 pretty strongly on
I'll bet this, that if there is a Trump term 3, you'd vote for him. $20.
So do you want to take the bet with me now that there's not going to be Trump term 3?
Well, I don't know because he might
Yeah, I'll
die
get
of
in
a
on that
stroke or
bet.
whatever the before. But if
Okay,
there is a Trump term 3, you
see?
will vote for him.
And this is why it's great. You were so right when you said if you think people don't believe what they're saying, bet money on it and they'll run away from it. And you just ran away from it. So it's fine.
The big
hold on.
wait, shut the fuck up, Dev. The big point is not whether or not he would survive to run term 3. It's that he would circumvent the law and the Republican Party would support him in doing it. That's the whole point of it. Not whether or not he'll live that long. That's the central part of that argument. Why are you acting like the big deal is whether or not we think he'd live long enough to make it there?
I'm not. Whoa. See, no. When did I ever say I don't think Trump's going to live long enough to see term 3? I said Trump term 3 is not going to happen. Meaning, I've seen all the jokes. I've seen all the people saying, "Yeah, Trump 2028, it's going to be great." And I'm saying, and I'm calling it for what it is. It's jokes. I'm willing to put money on that. That Donald Trump is not going to run for re-election in 2028.
Why do you think he's not going to run though? Wait, why do you think he's not going to run for 2028?
Well, answer me yes or no. Are you going to put money on it? Are you going to bet on it? Or are you just going to?
Does it count if he dies or not?
Assume he survives. Yeah. Assume
If he dies, the bet is null and void.
It's void. Yeah, it's void.
Okay, it's null and void.
Trump is
We're
alive.
assuming good health, and they're survived, right? Like, so
He's gonna try. I think he'll try if he's still alive. Yeah.
What if? Wait.
Okay.
The only other possibility is if he has like an actual like a full-on stroke or whatever the full version of whatever he's had so far, and he's like cognitively impaired and he's like in a wheelchair or whatever.
We're assuming health comparable to what he has now. He can at least in theory fulfill his next term, right? There's no stroke, there's no paralysis, there's no nothing of that, right? Cognitive
Yeah,
decline.
if he is healthy enough to be president again, yes.
Okay.
I think he'd do it. Yeah, I'll put $20 on it.
$20?
Yep.
Oh man, you're bleeding me dry.
Okay, $20. You heard it here first. We can nail that in. $50 from Alexander.
Just to be clear,
Rin.
I accept. Lawyers here offer acceptance consideration, valid contract. Let me officially just say I accept the offer. Boom, we're on for $20.
Okay, great. We can look at 2028. We'll pull this stream up again, assuming we're all still alive. $50 from Alexander Rin to say the point. Many people on the right have abandoned the idea of coexistence entirely. They don't just want to win elections.
Wait.
They want to eliminate.
If Trump ran again, would you vote for him?
No.
If it was Trump versus Kamala Harris.
No, 100% no. I don't care who the candidate on the other side is. You are a classic Trump versus Hassan.
Okay, no, okay, all right, just curious. All right, we'll see.
I wouldn't vote for Hassan, but I just want to vote. Would not vote for either.
I definitely wouldn't vote for Hassan.
Ban books, ban votes, redraw history, jail opponents, target enemies. Thank you for the $50, Alexander Rin. $5 for Exoteric Dichotomy to say, ask Destiny, what is the solution? Are we going to play chicken and actually crash? Civil war, secession, collapse, civility. We have to be better. You want to respond to that real quick? Or are you good?
People have bullshit themselves into thinking, largely because of the Republicans who might have mind raped everybody, that civil war is the worst outcome. Civil war is not the worst outcome. The one-sided extinction is the worst outcome.
Okay. $20 from Festiva. Destiny should grow a pair instead of sucking a pair. Own it. You are sad the PA guy, not Trump. You know it's a tit-for-tat world now. Arguing is too late, and what you say will rile up more than Trump. $20 from the Goodman JS. Would you agree that there are more adults who act like children and go to violence instantly rather than talk it out in a mature way? Many people in videos laugh at people dying on the right or attacking people on both sides. $20 from Alexander Rin. Perhaps the first step isn't winning the argument, it's eliminating the foreign interference that's poisoning the conversation. Until then, we may never have a chance at a shared reality, let alone a shared future. $5 from GBO Farms to say Destiny can't distance the left from Hassan when they invited him to the DNC. Mamdani meeting with him. The left is literally terrorism adjacent. $5 from Wit to say, I'm going to be honest, I don't know who any of you are, but Destiny, and I think most of this leftist versus Democrat narrative, etc., is just streamer bait. $50 from Vincent Davino. This is so crazy. The mainstream media do nothing but mislabel the right as Nazis and fascists and dangerous 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Why do you think Charlie was murdered? Because the mentally ill left thought he was evil. $5 from Audacity. He really can't help himself. It's so funny. $15 from Vincent. All the people doing the shooting and the stabbing are on the left. There's no right-wing violence. It's all the left. Trump, Kirk, Reagan, Lincoln, all the violent riots, 99% of them are left in violence. Any responses to this?
True. That sounds absolutely true. Yep, 100%. Definitely not proving my point. Also, I'm curious, where's this quote from Biden saying he knows the Supreme Court will shut him down, but he's going to do a thing anyway?
I'll look for it.
Okay.
While we do super chats.
Sure. $10 from Trey Jones to say, Destiny says, why would the left need to tone down and not the right? Oh, I don't know. A loony left just shot the most prominent voice on the right. Why the f would you advocate for the left? Fight after that. idiot. $5 from Megalag to say Destiny is a divisive agent. He's literally contributing to this cultural rot. He needs to log off. $10 from Vincent to say even if they both or the right core of the left are more violent rhetoric, it's the left being physically violent. That's just a fact. $5 from Trey to say Destiny is too stupid to realize he himself has been radicalized by the far left. Schwengo for $10 to say Wick, I know I love you, but Destiny and Dev are 100% right. You can't negotiate with evil and malice. 100 ARS from Real Serious to say, I feel like at this point, someone here should just force Destiny to answer. If he thinks someone should roadblock Trump then, because he's not leaving options for anything else.
If I'm not
Should
leaving
someone do
options,
that?
then definitely Trump is not leaving options.
$5 from Audacity. If that were true, she'd be in office. AF for $10 to say in Colombia, after 10 years of political violence that resulted in the death of 200,000 plus, the two main political parties came together and agreed to share power during a period known as the National Front. $5
It took
from
them 10 years to get there, though. That's kind of the point. Is you can't just jump to that point. If people are already fighting, like you're already in it. History's shown that.
Yeah, we're going to $10 and up on this one, gang. $10 from K to say the cost of Destiny being right or wrong is civil war. The cost of doing de-escalation and it working is no civil war, and being wrong is civil war. So take the option where no civil war is an option.
That's just not true. If you de-escalate and you're wrong, then you're just eliminated.
$10 from AF to say attempted to overthrow the government, thought the election was going to be rigged, threatened to cut the license of media companies, had nicknames for his opponents, talk about Hugo Chavez. $10 from Gay Ben. We could take every bad tweet ever created by every prominent rightoid, put them together, and it wouldn't equal one Destiny stream. Democracy isn't about being correct, it's about the consent of the governed. $10 from Trey Jones. There's a reason cities aren't boarding up businesses and preparing for mass riots after what happened to Kirk. Same can't be said for Destiny's side. $10 from Landon Stewart. Most of the people laughing aren't Dems. They're non-political people who didn't like Kirk. And the others are progressives. The conflation of every human ever being a Dem is impossible to deal with. $10 from GBO Farms. Name one Dem lawmaker or media person who disavows Antifa. Waltz said that socialism is neighborly, and Bernie went to Cuba and Soviet Union. He is a communist. Yet Fuentes is disavowed on the right. Hopefully you guys can name at least one Dem lawmaker who disavows Antifa.
I could probably Google it, but Antifa hasn't been part of the national conversation for like 10 years? I feel like Antifa was a big thing in 2016. What are we going to talk about, the alt-right next, or Gamergate?
$10 from Niz to say, screw this, gonna go play TF2. We all let new guy down. $10 from Audacity said Destiny.
Oh, actually, I'm so sorry. Me, I'm a fucking retard. When Biden and Trump were in a debate, didn't Biden immediately disavow Antifa and Trump couldn't disavow the Proud Boys and he said stand back and stand by? Didn't that happen, or am I making that up?
I think, if I
I
remember
think
correctly,
Biden said Antifa is an idea, not an organization, which I think is false. But
he was kind of skirting around it, and if I remember, I think Trump did denounce it. They asked him again. It was kind of like the moderator and Trump were talking over each other, and then Trump just threw in the stand back and stand by. I think that's how it played out. But I think he initially said basically, yeah.
No, he said, "Who do you want me to disavow? Whatever I disavow him." And then he said, "For the Proud Boys, stand back and stand by," because it's these radical leftists. And then the Proud Boys leaders put on Parler that we hear you loud and clear, sir. And then on January 6th, they showed up and they broke into the Capitol. They were the first entrants across all three, for outer two barricades, and the first ones into the Capitol. And the leaders got convicted of seditious conspiracy. And then Trump pardoned all of them. Kind of a pretty bad through line there, I would say.
$10 from
Right,
Audacity.
wait, that is a bad through line, right? That Donald Trump refused to condemn those people. Then they publicly acknowledged that they heard him loud and clear. And then they showed up at the Capitol. And then they were the ones that were orchestrating the first break-ins through every barrier and then into the Capitol. And then they were convicted in front of a jury for seditious conspiracy. And then Trump pardoned them, right? For doing a seditious conspiracy to help coup the government. That's a bad through line, right?
Yeah, that is a bad through line.
Okay.
I harshly disagree with the pardons for the seditious conspiracy in particular, yes. I will say, though, just as far as we hear you loud and clear, sir, I mean, if you think the president's calling you out and your organization out, then of course I think you're going to jump on that and try and make political hay of like, oh, look, the president, he likes us. He thinks we're great. So I'm not surprised that they would do that. And then...
Yeah, have you ever seen any Antifa leaders say, oh, we feel like Joe Biden hears us loud and clear? Or BLM leaders even saying that?
Well, the whole BLM 2020 was, I think I heard you say with XQC. Gosh, I'm sounding like a super fan. With XQC though, that basically with BLM, the way Biden got elected was by disavowing BLM. And sure, he disavowed the violent rioting the same way that it's so easy when your side is perceived as the one that's causing something bad to say, like today with Charlie Kirk stuff, it'd be like after the Tree of Life synagogue shooting. It's so easy for all Republicans, all conservatives to say, yeah, that's a terrible thing to happen. The more important and interesting discussion is about the underlying, what are the philosophies, what are the ideologies that are fueling these kinds of things. And so, but I disagree though that I think Biden got elected by disavowing BLM. In fact, didn't he adjust his campaign promise from I'll have a woman vice president to I'll have a black woman vice president and I'll put a black woman on the Supreme Court?
I think that
And
might have
now
been the Supreme Court thing, but regardless of if
the
he
central
did a DEI
the central
pick,
theme of my campaign too is also going to be equity. I'll put equity front and center.
Sure, liberals
I feel
love-
like he made pretty serious concessions to the BLM ideology. That, I mean, you disagree with any of these points?
yeah, I don't know if he promised a black woman VP pick. I think he mentioned that about the Supreme Court. But
And that's not a concession to the BLM ideology?
I think he
well,
did
hold
it
on,
for
but
VP
all,
also.
all of the BLM, the whole quote unquote BLM ideology is not necessarily bad, right? Like taken at its face value of.
Well, look how we're just saying we can go back and forth. I want to get through more super chats, but we're shifting the goalpost now away from he disavowed BLM and that's how he won the election.
Wait,
to now
wait.
saying,
Let me go back.
Well, actually, isn't BLM not all bad?
Let me very clearly identify the goalpost. The goalpost was that he disavowed the rioting and the violence, something that Donald Trump can never bring himself to do. Correct?
I don't want to do the clip game, but what you said earlier was not that. You said he
Okay, then
disavowed
fine.
BLM.
Then I was wrong. Let me readjust my statement. You agree that Biden and Kamala disavowed the violence, and Donald Trump has never disavowed violence from his side, without also bringing up the left or blaming the left or saying it was the left that actually caused it.
Yes, disavowing violence, saying violence is bad. Yes, that's something they both did. Kamala Harris also is tweeting out links to raise money for bail for rioters that were engaged in this violence.
Yeah, so you're doing the game. So Kamala Harris retweeted one bail fund link. What's wrong with the bail fund link?
And I'm saying the point I'm trying to make is words are one thing, actions are another. This is the whole point of this entire discussion. The reason we're here today is to talk about, do the words match up with the actions? And the concern and the frustration that the right has with the left is that yes, they will come out and say violence is bad when they're not also making this about the scourge of gun violence, which is what I saw a lot of leaders making the point about that too, making the political point about gun violence, which I hope we can agree this is cringe to make this anything about gun violence when we're talking about a hunting rifle and not any sort of these other contested weapons. But that point aside, the point of this entire discussion, the reason we're all here today, is when words don't match up with the actions. And the right is frustrated because, yes, when the flashpoints happen and people get killed, the left will come out and say, oh, well, we condemn violence. Violence is bad. Political violence is bad, which is right. That is the right and accurate thing to say. But what are we doing to adjust the behavior that then leads to the violence? I understand your take is it's all on Trump. It's all on the right. We just have to agree to disagree.
Okay, so now that you just lied for 2 minutes and just said the most retarded thing I've ever heard in my life, when you say that the words don't match the actions, I agree with you 1,000%. The actions of Kamala Harris was one time she retweeted a bail fund for people in Minnesota that got arrested by the cops. The overwhelming amount of the BLM protests were peaceful. There were violent ones. They did have to disavow the violent ones. They did do that. When they came into that, yes, that is the one picture. Yeah. Congratulations. Do you acknowledge how many Republicans today say that the entire January 6th insurrection was caused by the 36 confidential informants that were supposedly on the grounds that happened, that it was a Fedsurrection, that had nothing to do with the fact that Donald Trump called those people there, riled them up for a year, saying the entire election would be rigged, and so they had to fight like hell to take their country back, otherwise they were going to lose it, and that they had to march to the Capitol to give Congress the power that they needed to do the right thing, which was, by the way, was insurrect the government, right? That Pence, for the first time in all of U.S. history, the counting of the electoral vote was actually delayed. These are the actions. As they broke into the Capitol building, Donald Trump sat on the couch, and while he watched all these people invade the Capitol, claimed that he didn't have the power to stop it because the mayor didn't want him to, despite the fact that today, apparently, he has the power to unilaterally deploy the National Guard to all of D.C. if he wants to. And he sat there on the couch making calls to congressmen, including McCarthy, and made fun of them, saying that, well, maybe people are mad because you're not cooing the government like I wanted you to, right? A president who, I think maybe the first time in U.S. history, ran again as president with a different VP pick because he almost got his last one killed. And after all of that happened, he pardoned all of those people. How many people did Biden pardon as part of the BLM riots?
Well,
that's the difference. When you talk about actions, that's the difference. All you have is meaningless speech. But when you look at the actions, it's clearly a difference on both sides. You can equivocate all you want, but everybody knows you're lying.
Okay, we got.
Yeah, I'll just hop in really quick. So Gen Z, I actually agree with you that the Kamala retweeting the bail fund is bad, but everything Destiny just said was completely true, and it's about 10,000 times worse.
Okay. $10 from Audacity to say, Destiny, I remember you vehemently championing trusting the government and its institutions from 2021 onward, and now you're mad we're doing it? Ugh, come on, man.
That guy's
$10
epic.
from-
That's true. Dusty, I thought you said you wanted to trust the government. Why wouldn't you trust when the Nazi government was in existence or the Soviet Union was in existence? LOL. Yes, Donald Trump is fundamentally damaging and destroying the government because he doesn't like how the government functions. Everybody else admitted this earlier when he fired Barr, even though there seemed to be confusion on whether or not it was because he wanted to commit crimes or not. But yes, the first time that Trump was in office, his cabinet was literally an all-star cabinet compared to the retards we have right now. The Indian dude talking about Valhalla because some conservative activist got shot, whose last words were gang violence, and who said that some people maybe needed to be sacrificed in the altar of Second Amendment. Yeah, there's a difference.
Okay, $10 from Malevolent Vet to say, question for the panel. If MAGA wins in 2026, will your opinions change? Or should liberals, Democrats, and the moderate left be the bigger person until 2028?
They went electorally?
Yeah, if
As
MAGA
a
wins
result
electorally.
of tensions ramping up? I mean, your country's cooked at that point, dude. Just call it a day. It's over.
Okay, $10 from Gen X to say, how can you be an ATI and Trump supporter and support Trump? Oh, how can you be an attorney and support
yeah.
Trump? Sorry. But not even bother to look at the corrupt and unconstitutional things he is doing? My God, you swore an oath to the Constitution. Targeting opponents is unethical. 100 ARS from Real Serious to say, if Destiny genuinely thinks there is no peaceful resolution, then brother, unironically, you need to pivot to being a gun tuber and convince progressives to be pro Second Amendment if you want to be useful. $100 from Audacity to say, I can actually feel the temperature being turned down right now. Thank God we are all safer right now, and all it took was one more debate about January 6th. And $20 from Gelatinous Rube to say, we can do the grievance game all day long. Payback for BLM, payback for Summer of Love, payback for Kirk. De-escalation is no longer an option because everyone has legitimate grievances. Split the country or else. $10 from Radio Jack.
Just to be clear, I'll say this a million times. Anybody here who's going to disagree with me? If everybody on the left told everyone on the right, hey, maybe we should all calm down, if the right agreed, it would happen. The right won't do that. The right will not agree. They will never be the ones to say, hey, all of us should chill. They won't do that.
But the problem is just, it's so easy. Sorry, it's going to take 15 seconds, I promise. It's just so easy to, when you're the side that's perceived as being the aggressors in this very moment, it's so easy for you to be the one to say, hey, everybody, let's just, it's like when you punch somebody in the face and now you're saying, oh, everybody, let's just all chill out. It'd be like after Tree of Life Synagogue, we're talking about, it's so easy for the right to be the ones to be like, hey, this guy's not with us. Everyone, let's just all chill out.
Cool.
But in the meantime, and maybe that's not a good
no,
one.
I agree. That's great. You just made all the Civil War arguments that Wick was chastising me for earlier. Cool. Okay.
Look, there are accelerations on the left too, and also foreign accelerationists who are pushing this. So even if the right just agreed, I think things would calm down, but there would still be the threat of acceleration being pushed into the American electorate.
It would be significantly decreased. Right now, there is one side in this country that will not de-escalate. It is the conservative side, led by the President of the United States, who was reelected.
$10 from Radio Jack to say, as someone who does in real life political work in red areas, there's an actual underlying threat of violence. How comparable is it in blue areas? I'm not sure. Okay, with that said, I do want to get.
Sorry, can I make just one point?
Yeah, we're gonna have closing statements right now, and then we're gonna bring in some callers for about 20 minutes, and then we'll call it a day.
Okay, but before closing statements, Wick, I'm sorry. There's one super chat. It's $5, but he's from one of my viewers. I want to answer him directly. Okay? I already have it. It's Bill Skinner, and he says the left has engaged in large-scale political violence since the Summer of Love. The right is talking about self-defense. These are not equatable. I'm gonna talk to you, Bill Skinner, because I know that you watch my content and you like me. I want you to understand something. Okay? You know I'm a history guy. If you look at stuff like Italy's Years of Lead, if you look at the red and white purges in Spain and Portugal and Argentina and all these places, there's something that you'll see, okay? The left has more individual instances. So the left will riot more. There'll be like more days of rioting. But when the right commits violence, it kills way more people. Like the left will like shoot one or two people here and there. And, maybe a few dozen will die. The right sets off car bombs, okay? The right commits mass shootings. The left's violence is spread out over months, so you think it's happening all the time. When the right gets violent during these events, it's like one day and a bunch of people die. And ultimately, the right kills more people. So I just want to explain to you, Bill Skinner, because I know that you're a reasonable guy. This is why you think the left does more violence, but why they actually don't, okay?
Okay. closing statements, and we'll get some callers. There's some callers that I really want to get in here, and we're gonna do it one at a time, gang. So I'm not gonna bring you all at once, right? But just we'll do it. Tali, why don't you start us off? And then we'll just go around the room and we'll be good.
Sure. Listen, I don't know how far we got in this conversation. I am extremely disturbed and concerned about the state of our country and the increase in political violence. Yes, what we saw with Charlie Kirk, people are using as an example of this sort of left versus right violence. I don't know. I was not paying attention to the news the several hours before this stream, so I'm not sure if we have more information about the shooter and if he was definitely an anti-fascist or if he was definitely a groyper or something like this. But the problem of political violence seems to extend beyond just these lines, right? We have people murdering healthcare CEOs and BlackRock CEOs and people who happen to work in their offices in broad daylight. We have people murdering embassy workers. I guess not in broad daylight. I guess in the at I don't know, something in the early evening or something like this. This is a real problem, and I think we all should be pushing to de-escalate the violence. I understand the tactic when we're talking about rules of engagement and rules that you can use in government, like fighting back on gerrymandering and things like this, and fighting back on the filibuster and not allowing the other side to just have all of the tools and refusing to use them on principle. But when the tools we're talking about are guns and knives and car bombs and murdering each other, I do think it's incumbent on everyone to try to tamp that down and to vocally stand against these things. I agree with Wick. I think the people that you're looking to convince is the voters, the people who are disgusted and scared about the violence that they're seeing in the streets, not necessarily the talking heads on the other side of the aisle. But I agree with Kay's super chat earlier. If the possibility of if there is a possibility, if there is a route we can take that ends not in civil war, I think it's incumbent on all of us to push for that route before just doubling down on the violence.
Okay, thank you for being here. Gen Z.
Yeah, no. Once again, I appreciate the opportunity for being here. I agree with a lot of what Tally said about. Obviously, this is unsustainable. I disagree in thinking that not with you, Tally, just with our premise earlier about the only two options left are, I guess, extinction or civil war. I think we have more than those two ways out. We've had prior periods of bad times, both in this country and abroad, that we can look to as examples. So I think there is ways out of it. The real unfortunate part of this whole situation is Charlie Kirk was one of those people that was trying to push through in the name of free speech and open debate and trying to win hearts and minds and made himself into the most effective ground game organizer for the entire conservative movement. And the fact that he's the one that got targeted just makes this whole situation so much worse. And it's going to lead to people who are basically, we've already seen them say, it's like, we tried with Charlie and we see what you did. Now it's our turn. And then the cool epic pose with the gun. And so I still think a lot of it is LARPing and cosplaying. I don't think we're on the path to civil war. But something certainly has to change. I think it's a mutual de-escalation that has to happen between the right and the left. It's unfortunate. I disagree with people on the right saying it is all the left. Someone made a question earlier about that. I think that's wrong. I disagree with people on the left saying it is all the right. I think we all play a part in this, and yeah, we just have to recognize that we play a part. I think the call or the idea that this is just fringe left that we're talking about that says this stuff. This is what I want to get into earlier, but we kind of got off the point. Was this fire poll of 75,000 college students that said that 70% of college students are okay with shouting down speakers, 50% of college students are okay with physically blocking people from going to see speakers, and 30% of college students are okay with physical force and violence to shut down a speaker from speaking. This is not insignificant. This is not 6 follower accounts on Blue Sky that we're talking about. This is broad swath, huge amounts of people that are creating permission structures for violence. And then it culminates and metastasizes into these situations like we find ourselves in now. And I think it's wrong to just hand wave it away as well. When one side it's just purely relegated to the fringe, while it's the entire other side, every elected official, every pundit and whatnot. When we can go down the list, the chat. This last thing I'll say: the challenge was made earlier as to if you can name me one mainstream conservative pundit, large pundit, that is actually saying it's time for everyone to de-escalate. It will take back all the points. I know you're not going to take back all the points, but whether we're looking at someone like Ben Shapiro, or like Brad Palumbo, Coleman Hughes, these are, and there's plenty more that maybe are not mainstream conservative, but they're
Nick
these,
Fuentes did recently as well.
Oh, okay, Nick Fuentes.
Palumbo and Hughes are not mainstream conservative figures. Sorry.
Well, and maybe the point here is that there's tons of people that maybe used to be left. They call themselves in the center. I believe your take on that is that these are all fake centrists that are actually all on the right. But either way, these are figures that conservatives look to for thought for. Well, okay, you can talk about how we're going to define conservative. It's going to take us down another rabbit hole. But I think there are major people in the political space. Sorry, I'm wrapping it up. That are not what we're saying they are. There's lots of people calling for de-escalation all around. You heard it tonight from both of our right-wing champions here, and it seemed to have been met with basically we're either lying or don't mean it, and we're just on the path to civil war. So I'd love to talk more about some of the specific cases like presidential criminal immunity or the hush money case. For anyone watching, YouTube, Gen Z Attorney, Twitter, the Gen Z Attorney.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just real quick, because I missed a $50 super chat, and this will be real quick. Hope for $50 says, question for Destiny. Do you think blue and moderate districts should start forming internal defense packs and prep for possible escalations, or is that paranoid overkill?
I think that'd
Maps,
be base as
alternative
fuck. I think that Newsom should have activated his whole National Guard before Trump came in and tried to steal some of it. Yeah, I think the states should be more serious about it and should prepare for an invasion that Donald Trump keeps saying is going to come to the Democratic cities and states. Yeah.
Okay. Dev, please.
Thanks for having me. It was nice to meet everyone here who I haven't met before, which I think is just you, Gen Z.
Nice to meet you too.
I hope you're not mad or anything about it getting a little bit heated.
No, of course not.
I pretty much I agree that like you obviously disavow all this stuff, and everyone here disavows all this stuff. But the complaint isn't really towards you; it's toward everyone right now who is calling for civil war and wanting to escalate things further. And I understand that it was a right winger who got shot, but this didn't just start with Charlie Kirk getting killed, right? Like there's been a tit for tat ongoing now for quite a while. And I just don't see right wing politicians turning down the heat. I see Democrats doing it. I don't see Republicans doing it. I don't mean randoms on Blue Sky. I don't mean idiots on YouTube. I mean elected officials. The turning down is only coming from one side. That has to change. If it doesn't change, this will just continue.
Okay.
It's as simple as that.
Thank you for being here. Destiny, last word, and then we can do a little open. Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't think you should ever trust conservatives or centrists when they say they want to turn down the violence. They don't. All of the criticism is always aimed at a single side. I don't know if the Gen X guy has a Twitter. I couldn't find it. Tally's had plenty to say about the horrible killing of Charlie Kirk, retweeted Dennis Prager. Absolutely nothing to say about the killing of the Minnesota senator. All of these people's criticism is always aimed at one side. You should view these people as ideologically opposed to you. The people who pretend that they would have voted for the left if they would have just conceded on one or two things, they're always lying about that. Anytime you've got somebody who's willing to vote for somebody while they'll concede thing after thing after thing after thing after thing about horrible stuff that Donald Trump has done, but they say there's just one thing the left needs to change, these are ideological enemies who are trying to poison your side. Don't believe it. They're lying about all of it. Nothing that you could do would ever win their vote. They're probably single issue voters on some retarded shit anyway. Yeah, right now, if in the United States Donald Trump came out and Donald Trump were to literally do a 10-minute address to the nation and say, hey guys, listen, everybody's out of control. We all need to kind of bring it down. Every single party in the United States would be able to bring down the temperature on everything going on. Biden did this over and over and over and over again. And all you see are people with less gray matter in their brain than RFK Jr. Talking about how Biden was actually standing in front of the White House calling on all MAGA people to be disavowed and blah, blah, blah. Even though Biden in that speech literally qualified it saying, I don't think everybody is MAGA. I don't think the majority of them are. I think the problem are the people who are denying the election, which is true. It is a problem. And the majority of Republicans today do deny the results of the 2020 election. They even say 2024 was rigged. It's not good. All of this coming from one place. They never asked that side to turn it down, only the other side, because they want to see the other side made to go extinct. That's what their goal is. That's why their rhetoric is like this. Nobody would do anything different if they had that goal. So you should treat them like that.
Okay, well, that's a wrap for the closed portion of the panel. Let's bring on Soy Pill. Welcome to the show. Once he undeafens. Hopefully he will. Oh, there he goes. He's here. He's with us. What you got for us, sir? And we're going to go quickly through these, by the way.
His internet's not working. Jeez.
Uh-oh. Okay, well, maybe we'll have to bring him on after. Okay, well, in that case,
No, I'm here. Is my camera not turning on?
it's not.
No.
Give us what you got,
Okay.
though.
Okay. Destiny, I apologize you had to talk to people who don't believe in January 6th, because I think I can just go ahead and concede we have the exact same views of everything on the right wing. That's not what I wanted to talk about. This idea of like not de-escalating is very confusing to me, because I don't know what you're trying to advocate for. Like when people on the right wing right now are calling for like more violence, we're going to war, like meeting them where they are in terms of playing dirty and saying let's gerrymander California to make sure they can't steal seats makes perfect sense to me. Let's talk shit. Let's make jokes. Let's like absolutely not like go high because they went low. What do you like? Where does this lead when we're meeting them when they're talking about this violent rhetoric?
Sure,
What do you
two things.
actually
I would say very simply tit for tat. The other side can't feel like they can operate violently with impunity. Number one, my question to you, you responded 1 and 2. My question for you, number 2, when the South wanted to secede, should we have allowed them to do that?
No, absolutely not.
And going to war was an okay way to stop that?
Right.
Okay.
But are we saying that what the right is doing right now is akin to seceding?
It's approaching that, yeah. When Donald Trump talks about sending the military to states to take over law enforcement things from them, when Gavin Newsom is making a speech inside and the federal officers are ordered to be stationed outside, it's not like a direct path towards what that looks like?
Right. So if you're talking about like abusing power and authority to maybe like get some things done in certain ways, like I'm not opposed to
No, hold
Gavin
on.
Newsom.
I'm not talking about abusing power and authority. I'm talking about Donald Trump, the commander-in-chief of our armed forces, the president of the United States, stealing the National Guard from governors in states and then deploying them against those states in order to do things that he feels like the states aren't doing. Only blue states in a politically partisan way. Yeah.
For that exact thing, right? Like, how do you match people there? Like, what is the match? What is like? Because
what does the Second Amendment say? To quote Trump, we can quote the not quoted part of the Second Amendment, which is state militias. All I'm saying is that you cannot lay down and die. Right? It has to be a tit for tat.
I agree, obviously.
Okay, yeah.
The difference between like...
So what I would call for, this is what I'm calling for. I call for Donald Trump to lower the temperature. I call for Donald Trump should say, hey, chill, stop.
Right, but you and I both know he's never going to do that. So what are you actually advocating for?
I advocate for everyone on the left to say, say that the temperature needs to go down when Donald Trump does. That's what we should all say.
Well, what's the point if you know Donald Trump's not going to do that? Like, what are you actually saying? When you say meet them where they are, this is the prisoner's dilemma. We have to do exactly what they're doing. What are we doing? Like when I say that, I say, okay, yeah, absolutely. If Gavin Newsom is going to be like,
sure, then just what I said, tit for tat.
Fine,
in prisoner's dilemma, what's the worst outcome for you?
That you go to jail for like life because you didn't agree for the 5 years that you would both get, right?
Yeah. Prisoner's dilemma, worst outcome is not the Civil War part. It's not where both of you betray each other. The worst outcome in the prisoner's dilemma is when they defect and you cooperate, right?
Right. Again, so this is why I'm trying to get this out of you is like, what are you actually advocating for to meet something on the right? Like if Matt Walsh is saying, let's commit violence, let's crack down, let's do some insane shit. Are you saying the left should also be saying this?
I mean, I don't know. It seems like everybody's getting violent now, so I don't know if the left has to say anything like that. I'm just saying what I would say right now. What I said is what you should say. You should say you should say what Elizabeth Warren is saying, which is I'm not going to say shit about turning down the temperature until Donald Trump says shit about turning down the temperature. That's it.
Okay, but to me that's a meaningless statement. Because
how is that a meaningless statement?
Because no, prescriptively, like what do you actually advocate? Because when I hear you saying this, oh, it's the prisoner's dilemma, and I'm looking at how bad the right wing is right now, it's like, oh, are you saying we should take up arms and prepare for the actual civil war right now?
I think you should take up arms to defend yourself. I think you should be ready to do that for sure.
But what are you actually advocating for in terms of meeting some of these crazy, like Laura Loomer, Valentina Gomez people on the right wing? Like, I don't think that we should be saying like, yep, we should start executing these people. Yeah, we should start rounding them up. And like, I get the education camps. Like, this seems like a total deviation from what I would advocate for, which is we're not going to back down. We are not going to stop fighting. But that doesn't mean we necessarily have to match every single thing that they're doing. Toning down the rhetoric is one thing. Like, hey, yeah, let's not cause for violence. That doesn't mean you have to, all right, yeah, like step on my back and do whatever you want. Like I'm trying to get you to clarify what you're actually prescriptively asking the left wing to do. Because if it's already what they're doing, Gavin Newsom, Elizabeth Warren, that does not seem that crazy. But that's not what is coming out of your mouth.
I just said
that's not
before.
How a lot of people are reading it.
Read it however you want then. If you don't like how you're reading it for me, then tell the right to chill it out.
I mean, I don't want to have to be the silencer on the Destiny filter saying, hey, he doesn't mean be violent, guys. He just means what the left's already doing, which is, if that is what you mean, cool.
You don't have to mean anything. You can direct them to any video. I'll say the exact same thing. What should the left do? The left should say Donald Trump needs to turn it down. And until he does, You don't say anything about any violence or whatever. Whatever's happening is happening. I'm not telling people to take up arms and go kill anybody. I'm just saying whatever happens is happening. And that's the state of our country right now is what Donald Trump wants it to be. And right now, Donald Trump wants it to be violent.
Okay, would this be a prescription? Would this be a prescription from you?
So a housekeeping thing, since your camera just isn't working, so you're going to have to give us your last thing, and then we're going to cycle out, okay?
You're going to cycle me out in the middle of my role?
Are you in the middle of your role?
I'm in the middle of my role because you can't see me.
Finish the clip.
No clip needed. You shouldn't even be here. You have nothing valuable to add to this conversation.
Okay,
So Destiny,
yeah, sure.
Yeah, you don't even believe in January 6th, dude. Just whatever. Anyway, Jesse, so are you advocating for it when someone on the left is to go, like, let's say this Charlie Kirk thing comes out. Turns out this guy was a hardcore lefty. He was like, yep, everyone, I was totally like invigorated by this and this and all these left-wing points, and this was the defend the trans community. You're saying we should not denounce that. All the people that you used and showed, look how much better the left wing is doing. President Obama, Joe Biden, all these people are denouncing this. Even George W. Bush, I think, did it. Donald Trump, I'm not trying to say we have to hold ourselves to the Donald Trump standard, but are you saying, oh no, we shouldn't denounce that?
You queue up the denouncement and you say, I'm ready to denounce it. Let me hear Donald Trump denounce violence on his side first.
What does that do?
It makes the other side calm their shit down. What do you mean, what does it do?
No, it doesn't. You and I both agree Donald Trump is not going to back down.
If it doesn't, then it wouldn't do anything if we do it either. So then fuck it. Easy. You queue it up.
Okay, because
you queue it up. You don't like my answer. I've given you my answer. You don't like it. I don't know what you're trying to get another answer to me. That's all I'm going to say. Yeah, you queue it up.
Because it doesn't seem like you're actually advocating for anything right now.
I am advocating for it. I'm advocating for you to pressure the right to tell their side to stop being fucking violent. The fact that that's not a reasonable request.
When you and I both know that they're not going to do it.
I think they will eventually. Or we go to war.
No,
those are the only two options. They either do it or we end up, I guess, all killing each other. That's it. I mean, what do you mean?
No, because the difference is I, like Wick, I believe that there's tons of off-ramps. Like, for example, if Donald Trump dies of a stroke, I think they're just going to lose a ton of momentum. If, they say, oh, violence, or this is very similar to what they were doing post-Trump assassination. And yet post that, like, absolutely nothing escalated to a degree that I think anyone is expecting when people are crying out civil war, because it's, they're pussies, everyone forgets, and this stuff like goes into the wayside. Like, if you truly, truly believe, like, if I don't believe this, that we are in an existential moment in such that we cannot solve this electorally, then yeah, I would tell people, yeah, I don't even need to de-escalate. You should go get arms and we should go fight in the streets, but we're not even close to that yet.
Well, I don't think they've said that yet, have they? If they say that, then maybe I'll start saying that. You just say what they say.
Okay, so right. If there's what?
No, can continue.
Yeah, if they're saying things such as, "Hey, let us crack down. Let's throw these people in camps. Let's like take guns away from trans people." It's like, okay, are we going to start advocating for that, or are we just saying, "Hey, are we going to say I'm not doing stochastic terrorism, but I'm not going to denounce people that do a terrorism until you do it"? Like, what is this accomplishing if one, you and I both acknowledge this is not going to change their minds, and two, in your prisoner's dilemma, you've got people on the right who are calling for violence, and then people on the left who are meeting them there, but then all these people in the middle who are not part of this prisoner's dilemma, who are like the 66% of people, I guess, according to Pew Research, who says politics is way too volatile right now and are screaming and begging for a solution. And now an entire side of people are like, actually, no, there's nothing for you to look out for. Everyone is extreme. We're all calling for violence. We will refuse to denounce it. Like,
then the democracy is dead. If that's how retarded people are, then the experiment has failed. People shouldn't be allowed to vote freely. And then we go to the next form of whatever government is. Either the socialists are happy, we move to that, or we do some type of monarchy or authoritarian shit.
We're nowhere close to that. We're nowhere close to that.
You keep saying that. Right? People keep saying that, but the situation is getting more and more fucking insane, no? Have you met Charlie Kirk before? We just watched a dude literally get assassinated on video 2 days ago. It's crazy.
I acknowledge that you and I are not going to disagree on a single thing about how crazy the right wing is. What I'm asking you is, like, what do you, if you think the only way to like combat this right now is to pressure them into, like, imagine like shaming the right wing into like toning down violence when we both know that's not going to happen. And maybe it could happen if left wingers do enough violence and we say, well, we'll tone it down when you do. Like, what is this? Where does this get us? What is going to happen after this?
Then eventually people either tone it down or we go to full on conflict, I guess. What is your where does your situation? Where does your situation get us if we constantly disavow and the right just keeps amping it up?
If they get more violent and they lose the election, then it doesn't.
No. They win the election. Wait, they win the election because what do people always say? I bet you've even said it. The left is feckless. The left doesn't do anything. The left is weak. Let's say that they keep amping it up and the left doesn't respond. Let's say that Donald Trump, which he's kind of geared up to do, I don't know if he'll actually do it. If you would ask me a year ago, I'd say no. Now I'm not sure. Let's say Donald Trump does find a way to with the election next year, right? And let's say they find a way to keep whatever majority they need. They really don't need to call with Congress because it's not like Trump listens to Congress anyway. And everything keeps ramping up on the right. What is the outcome there?
Yeah,
Thank
no,
God
like
the analysts.
obviously, if we get to the point where it's like, oh, the fucking right wing is escalating, they're seizing power, Trump runs for a third term, he turns off the fucking elections, like
So
yeah,
they
at
already
that
escalated.
point,
They're already
there
seizing
is-
power. Okay, so what's so
No,
then?
yeah,
wait,
no,
so then
I'm
you
not
and me have
saying
the
that
same
we're not on the
position. We
precipice.
just haven't
Hold
gone
on,
far
I'm
enough
not-
yet, right? We have the same position. We just haven't gone far enough yet. So what's the line for you?
Yes. Well, the line for me is not where we are now, where I think there's obviously a way that we can electorally win both the midterms and the next
Tell me what the
election.
line is for
why
you.
would- The line is where it's like there is no electoral outcome where this ever matters, so we need to fight back and be violent about it. But we're just not in that moment right now.
Okay, so if in 2026, if they start fucking with the vote, so for instance,
Yeah.
they have done this a little bit, like when Congress wrote a letter to Texas saying, "Hey, we need you to wipe off 5 of your districts." If other states start falling in line with that of wiping away districts,
If I believe the courts are so that if he does an executive order, ban mail-in votes, shuts down the polling stations,
the
and it's
courts,
like there is literally
the
no
courts
path
can't save
forward.
you. My dude, he tried to right away naturalize birth with an executive order. Why the courts can't save you proactively here?
The courts literally can, because we were like have TROs on certain like electoral executive orders that he's doing right now. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying this is not a dire
TROs,
situation.
my dude, the courts just got rid of the injunction. What are you talking about? The courts are literally
I'm talking
fighting
about
on
the
substance.
idea that if you think that there's no pressure to fighting back against what Trump's doing in anything in the system right now, which is very weird coming from you, because like I don't think that you believe in this, like, oh, the establishment is completely feckless and they'll never be able to get anything done. There's nothing we can do about it. Like, this seems so black-pilled and doomer. Like, yeah, if we're there, absolutely, I'm gonna start forming my little like military militia, but we're nowhere close to the. I mean, no, okay, don't get me wrong. When I say we're nowhere
Listen,
close,
this is why
we
I'm
are
black-pilled.
close.
This is
We're
why
on
I'm
the
black-pilled.
precipice of a lot of
This is why I'm
things, yes.
black-pilled. Donald Trump this morning on Fox and Friends, okay, was asked, what should we do, or what did people say that they're worried or whatever? What do you think about like bringing the country back together? And Donald Trump said, I don't care about bringing the country back together. Okay,
Sure.
You hear me say that, right?
Yeah.
Gen Z and Tally, has Donald Trump done enough yet for you to have voted for Kamala instead?
No.
That's the point, right? So yeah, the shit is
if
so
Gen Z,
fucked.
okay, I would agree with you 100% if Gen Z was every single voter in the middle and the independent. Gen Z, we can both acknowledge is a retard. Tally, I've also called this for the same thing. Unless you disavow and say you wouldn't vote for Trump anymore. I think there are so many people, like, let's put it this way. My parents don't know who the Charlie Kirk is. A lot of people don't know who the Charlie Kirk is. So they're hearing this and they're like, what's going on? What's going on? If Dem politicians are now coming out and matching Donald Trump's rhetoric, if that's what you're advocating for, like Dem politicians coming out and saying, hey, you know what? No, this is the rights problem, in the same way that he's like, yeah, after this shooting, I'm going to crack down on the left wing. That's insane, because these people who have no idea what the is going on with a Charlie Kirk assassination are now going to see like the politicians they otherwise would have supported like falling into the same like fascist rhetoric that Trump is, and like, where does that get us? Those people are not going to keep
These
voting.
people already think the left wing are doing that, though, because that's what the right keeps saying.
No, I'm talking about like my progressive liberal parents. I'm not talking about independent.
Bro, those people were lost 4 years ago. Like, people are online. People know this shit. People watch this shit. I've had normie friends message me and fucking
this is like online pilled as like my like there's a reason like why I'm going to go home tomorrow or whatever and talk to my parents. I'm going to be like, who the is Charlie
They're
Kirk?
going to
What
have
the fuck
no
is a
idea
boyfriend?
that Charlie Kirk, the guy who's made over 300 college campus visits, who's raised like $500 million, the guy who's calling Donald Trump and has him appear on stage at an event, none of them have any fucking idea. Well, like, this guy is one of the most popular influencers in the United States.
Dude, you're vastly overestimating the fact that most people are not as politically tuned in as you and I are. Like, not even fucking close. The people do not know who this guy is. Like, this is such a like online position to a degree. Like, if you asked like people that are hyper online, like people that I talk to that make YouTube videos, they don't even know the difference between like Matt Walsh and like Michael Knowles.
There are going to be people who don't know. Sure, there are people that are that unplugged, but we can't rely on those people to save us anyway, because it's not like they're going to be voting.
They're the majority of the voters.
Yeah, but they're not going to be voting. You're going to tell me that those people don't know who Charlie Kirk is, but they're going to know when Matt Walsh points out that a radical trans activist on Twitter.
When Joe Biden comes out and say we have to go after the right wing in like a violent, like fascist way that like.
I never said we have to say we go to. Like, I'm saying what I'm saying is that what they need to say is they need to say we don't disavow until the right does. That's a super easy ask.
You don't think there's like a huge swath of like not tuned in voters who, if they saw Joe Biden say I will not disavow like a terrorist on the left wing, that would push them away from Joe Biden?
Then our country's and we deserve to go to whatever the next stage is, because that's retarded.
That's the thing. Our country's
retarded.
It's
It
not
is. What you're talking about is fucking retarded. You keep talking about all these fucking retarded games we have to play. Well, we have two actual retards here that we have to pretend are normal adults. You're talking about a politically maneuvered environment where there's a guy driving us towards civil war, and you've got dipshit on the left that apparently doesn't know any legal event that's happened in the past 10 years to start being a lawyer, and you got a fucking Israeli Jew on the right who only cares about trans issues, and you're talking about how do we perfectly message on the left while the president of the United States talks about driving the civil war. This is retarded. This is retarded, and you are retarded. And I'm tired of acting like everybody has to be treated like a retard. It's
not a
insanity to me.
retard.
It's actually insane to me.
I'm
Holy
not saying
shit.
you need to
It's
treat
a
everyone retarded.
bare
I'm not saying perfect
minimum.
Wick,
to
excuse
say,
me, Mr.
we
Moderator.
disavow-
Are
shut
you
up.
fighting now?
We're going to. It's the bare minimum thing to say, hey, we disavow assassinations on political targets.
And the president
That
of the
is
United States can't do it. The president can't do it.
Do you not? Okay,
we
Destiny,
can.
please, like in good faith, answer me this: do you not see that there's a potential, like, huge loss of voters on the left if they see now, like, a real equivalence between the left-wing politicians being okay with terrorist attacks, like, and they wouldn't feel like a little disenfranchised? I like the people that I'm describing,
Only
not the retards
only
that
if
don't
the
care about
liberals-
gender. Hold on, let me just finish.
Yeah,
Like,
I
the
agree.
people I'm
Yes, there is a
describing-
potential problem if the liberals are weak and cucked and gay. The liberals need to stand up and take a firm position on it. I think you could very easily say that. I think you should make the government shut down about that when the budget comes up. You should say, hey, we are not going to fund the government unless Trump makes one of our conditions. Trump needs to make a 5-minute speech saying all political violence in the country needs to end. And you know what? If that plays worse for the liberals, if liberals go, oh my God, Democrats are demanding the
Destiny,
president
I completely
disavow
agree
political
with you, though.
violence, I need to go vote for
No,
a conservative now. Then f it, bro.
Destiny,
Find me
I
the
completely
sickest
agree with what
SS
you just
uniform
said.
and I'll sign up for whatever guard tower, concentration camp, whatever. I don't care. All right?
No,
Dude,
no,
give me a
understand
gun.
this.
I'll man the
What you
post.
just said,
Whatever.
What you just said is a far cry from what I think you were saying like 5 minutes ago.
No,
right?
I
If
wasn't
you're
saying that
let's
5
fight-
minutes ago.
No,
You were
no,
just
listen,
spamming the same
listen.
retarded shit saying, what do you want to do? What do you want to say? War. Say kill somebody. Say kill somebody.
No,
I said it a million
listen,
times.
okay,
You should
look, if
say,
you're
I don't
saying,
disavow
let's
shit
play
until Trump
dirty,
does.
let's
That's
shut
easy.
down- Yeah, but yeah, let's shut down the government until Trump disavows, like, stochastic terrorism is a perfectly good example of, like, this
Not
is the
stochastic
dirty,
terrorism.
let's go low.
Terrorism.
Or terrorism, whatever, excuse me. Yes, thank you, because he's being the stochastic terrorist. But yes, if you're saying let's shut down the government, let's play dirty, let's withhold funding, like, yeah, all of these things are things I'm totally okay with. That is not, like, if we don't do this, we're de-escalating. In fact, if anything, this is at least, like, halfway as bad as they're doing. Like, when Gavin Newsom's redistricting, he's not doing it unilaterally. He's literally saying, hey, people, you should vote on this. What I'm saying is that's a far cry away. In fact, that is what people want. I think that's what we need to do right now. I think that's going to invigorate the left wing. But if you're then saying, okay, and then also we have to match them on the rhetoric, which is very different from let's fight them, let's go as hard as we can. That's very different from saying, yeah, we don't disavow terrorists. That's completely different.
You have, when one side wants to fight, you have two options. You can either meet it or you can exceed it. Okay? You cannot de-escalate.
Why
You cannot de-escalate because you can't de-escalate. If somebody comes up to rape you and you just sleep, you say yes. I'm just saying, I just want you to be clear that when you're talking about, what I'm talking about is not escalation. Tit for tat is not escalation, okay?
No, it's escalation from the Democratic rhetoric of not doing shit for 10
That's
years.
fine. If the Democratic rhetoric can,
this is
that's
finally
fine.
them fighting
That's fine.
harder,
And if the Democratic rhetoric goes all the way back to where it was before, whatever, you don't de-escalate at all. If anything, it might even get worse. There's a reason why MAD only works when everybody has nukes, right? It doesn't work if one person disarms.
Again, wait, no, this is because this is what I'm talking about. This is a spectrum, right? This is not a dichotomy. I'm not saying we have to disarm and do nothing, and we have to be like, oh, we're the better party, and we can't say mean jokes. Like, you and I literally were on the same team of a debate saying, yes, let's joke about these assholes. The difference is when you say, let's fight, let's shut down the government, let's redistrict, like, these are all escalations, which I agree with, which we need to do to fight back because this shit is insane. It is potentially existential. It's not so far that we need to meet them on the level of let's endorse political terrorists on our side.
I mean,
Like,
maybe not for you
thing.
yet, but for some people, I mean, like, it's cool for us because it doesn't matter at the end of the day, I guess, right? But the Supreme Court just said that if you go to LA and there's a brown dude doing agriculture, you can ask him for his papers, right? They can start rounding up and deporting random people. I know it's a joke because Hispanics, I agree. Okay, I'm racist too, I guess. Whatever the if that's the laugh, if that's the position, right? For how many people is trans healthcare banned for now? And again, these people are jokes. Who the f- cares? We're white and base. I get it. But at some point, it's going to get to us. At some point, it's going to be, oh shit, I can't get my certain type of medication anymore because RFK just banned SSRIs or ADHD drugs. And then at some point,
you're preaching the choir.
Okay,
I agree with all of this. All of this. The difference is not that I don't think any of that is like the worst ever. Some people, are literally dying, like we said, and the fact that we're brushing off USA deaths is wild to me. But it doesn't matter. That's besides the point. Like the idea that somehow any of that would be helped by saying we're not going to disavow left-wing terrorists is insane. If I don't see how that does do anything but hurt us.
Maybe it makes them afraid. Maybe when you go out, maybe
no,
when
okay.
you go out,
You
hey,
remember
maybe when you go out, hey, maybe when you go out, but they don't really. They just sell it well because you know that they don't give a f- because when I saw
what do
Charlie,
people do when they're afraid?
Maybe they change, they adjust their behavior.
Yeah, but they also, when you corner a rat, it strikes out. When you have people living in fear, they strike out, and it gets worse.
The other
Making
side,
them afraid. Do you think that's going to help?
gay. Oh my God, it gets worse. The president of the
it does
United
get worse.
States is
If you think
already maximally, he's already said the worst shit you can. Why do you guys keep pretending
Okay,
like
so
there's
you
someone on the other
acknowledge
side
that
negotiating?
we're not gonna
Shut
make
the
the
fuck up. Can you?
right?
Okay, how do I mute this guy?
No, you just contradicted
Please
yourself.
stop fed
You
posting.
just
You're so
said the
gay. Oh
president
my
is
God.
at the worst level.
Stop
I
fed
agree,
posting.
and we're
This
not
is what I'm
contradicting.
saying. This is what I'm saying. They're already maximally posting. They have no fear. They don't care. For Matt Walsh to type that statement out, I don't even know if I would have the balls to go on and be like, all right, guys, we need to do the worst to them, right? I am already knowing that the things that I'm saying means I'm probably gonna have to postpone or cancel the next couple events that I do. The fact that all of them feel right now on the right that they can operate with absolute and utter impunity because the president is protecting them, because the left is cucked and weak, because nobody wants to say or do anything. There are some chilling effects that are good. You should be afraid to go out on media.
so-
Shut up the fuck up. You should be afraid to go on news channels and say, I think we should have a war. I think that we need. I think that we need
and
to
the
start.
method
Yeah.
of imposing that fear should be to approve people taking their lives. Is just to be
Well,
clear.
on the right now, that's where they're at. Is it killing people is based and awesome? Because we can just say the left did it. Do you acknowledge that right now people on the right seem to have no fear whatsoever? At least the media guys seem to not really give a fuck.
Well, this is what I'm getting to. It sounds like what you're advocating for is we need to make the right afraid by having more left-wing terrorists and even endorsing them.
I'm not
because that's the
saying
only
you
way
have to
get them shut the
endorse
fuck
them.
up.
I'm just saying you don't have to cuck out and try to call in out all the time. Why is it so hard to just say that my answer is, if somebody asks you to disavow, you say, hey, you know what? I would love to disavow, which I would, because violence is bad, which it is, because it makes me scared, which it does. I just want the president of the United States, the leader of your movement, to do it first. Why is it so fucking hard? You're
That does nothing.
retarded.
You and I have already both acknowledged that's going to do absolutely nothing. He's not going to do it. So what's
Okay,
the
then
point? What do you no? Because we're not necessarily if we can get out of the situation without.
How do you get out when
terrorists of the left
okay,
wing?
then keep doing it. We'll see what happens. That's fine. Sure.
Okay.
It hasn't worked so
you can
far at
say
all.
if you-
So far, it's
yeah.
been a losing strategy. So, and historically, it's never worked. So, but who knows? Maybe this will be the one time it does.
Soy Pill, you're welcome to stay if you like. I think you're a good addition, but we got to get more people in.
Okay, I'll shut up
Ghost, you're here. What do you got? Hopefully your mic works. I hear something.
Like a ghost, we can
Yeah.
barely perceive him.
Okay, we're going to give you a little bit more, then we're going to switch. One last try, buddy. Okay, well, next.
RIP to Ghost. It wasn't political violence that took him out.
Not this time. Okay. We're going to... Why isn't it dragging down? Whatever.
Do you want me to?
No,
help
I
you
got
drag
it.
people
Okay,
in?
what's up? You're live.
Oh, hello.
What do you got?
Going on? I just had some words for Gen Z attorney from.
Hey,
Talked
we
a
go
couple
way
days ago.
back. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I wrote down some notes for things that you had brought up. You kept saying that you think there's another way besides extinction or fighting. You think that because you're not one of the people who's going to be extincted, you're a Republican and you voted for Trump. You think that all the people on your side are still, it's all LARPing and cosplaying right now. All the shit that people were saying online. You think it's LARPing and cosplaying because they're on your side and you don't give a fuck because they're not targeting you. And every time somebody brings up the military, you laugh with your smug little smile on your fucking camera that we can all see. Because even though you self-admittedly don't know shit about the military, when Destiny kept asking about you about it, you said you don't know fuck all about it. When Trump rigging the next election is brought up, you do the same fucking shit. You don't disavow any of it. You can say, I condemn Jan 6. You still voted for Trump after it. I can talk to you about it after the last debate. You kept going, oh, well, I don't know. The indictments, I don't understand what the fuck is going on in your brain. How you call yourself a lawyer and you just complained about Kamala Harris reposting a bail fund. Yeah, you call yourself a former prosecutor. You say you're a criminal defense attorney now. How the fuck do you, do that? You don't know shit about Trump breaking the law. Every time Destiny brings up something about Trump breaking the fucking law, you don't know shit about it. You didn't know about the law firms being targeted specifically in different executive orders, about the mass exodus of lawyers leaving these different firms because they're upset that their firms capitulated to Trump?
Anything else?
Do you even regret your fucking vote for Trump after all this shit? The answer's gonna be no, because you don't know shit about it, because you don't give a fuck, because it doesn't affect you.
I'm just waiting for him to be done.
I think he's done. Go ahead.
Okay,
respond,
okay.
And then we can cycle.
I mean, obviously, that's a lot to respond to. I'm probably going to be unsatisfied, but I'm not a terminally online person. I do my best to keep
Is
up.
it terminally online to know what the fuck is happening in the industry that you work in?
Yeah, if you want to dive down into the weeds on every single legal development, because guess what?
Every single legal
Any
development?
idea how many
The
Supreme Court
president of
decisions
the
get
United
put out
States
each year?
signing executive orders targeting specific law firms, some of the biggest
Yeah.
law firms in the country?
And so in the time I've had to sit here, I've been able to do a little bit of research, and even looking into that, I'm starting to feel like I'm probably going to start to agree more and more with it. If we're talking about specifically Perkins Coie, with the rationale being the Steele
That
dossier,
they worked with Hillary.
RussiaGate, Fusion GPS. Yes, if we're talking about promulgating
Yeah,
false
now you agree
information,
with it.
Thank
You didn't know
Yes,
shit
he
about
does.
it a
This
few
is how
minutes
it
ago.
always works.
well, yeah,
Yes, correct. That is
because
correct.
I
You
said I'm
don't
not
give
going.
a- You don't
I
care.
I
Thank
said
you.
I'm
You don't
not
care
going
about
to
your fucking
comment.
country.
I
You
said I'm
call
not
yourself
going
a
to
lawyer. You don't
comment.
give a fuck about the law, the
Said I'm not going to
Constitution.
comment. I said I'm not going to comment until I have more information. I can give a more informed opinion on it. And guess what? Because that's called having restraint and not just popping off and sounding off on every single thing
It's called
under
being
the
a
sun.
coward and a loser and being okay being ignorant about going on in your country because none of it
Okay.
affects you.
Okay. Remember when we were talking after the stream last time though, and I started asking you questions about presidential criminal immunity, about the hush money case, and you had no idea what we were talking about, and I walked all over you with
What
it.
the fuck
And
are you talking about?
Okay, we're good. I think I don't want to rehash another stream, but thank you.
we can do it again anytime.
Yeah, for calling in, and I appreciate your words.
Thanks, Wick. Appreciate it.
Let's bring in. You're live.
What's
What do you
up?
got?
Yeah, what's up, Destiny? How do you think we solve this problem? Like like dealing with like Republicans and stuff.
The left just has to stand on principle more and not be afraid and let the right mind them so much on narratives, and especially don't let people on the right tell you what's happening on the left because they never act or operate in good faith on it. So, but I mean, I think Newsom's being a good example there. Hopefully, we get more of that. Yeah.
True. Gavin, that's pretty cool.
Anything else?
That's about it.
Well, that's it. Well, that's quick. Oh, anything? Quickly.
No, that's it.
Okay.
Peace out, guys.
Got him.
Bye bye.
Annihilated.
You're here.
Wick, really quickly. I have my like ultra libbed out Donald syndrome dad on speakerphone right now. Can we ask him, since we also asked the MAGA retards the question as to whether or not he'd be deterred at all from the Democratic Party? Are you okay with that?
Okay. Yeah.
All right, Dad, say
Hello.
something. Can you guys hear this?
Soy pills, Dad. Hello.
Can you guys hear
Oh,
him?
hi. Sorry, I was deafened.
Hold on,
No,
just real
right.
quick. Just real
Soy
quick.
Pill's dad is talking. All right, Dad. If Joe Biden and Kamala Harris refused to denounce left-wing terrorists because they were trying to, let's say that Donald Trump needs to be pressured into de-escalating, would that make you sway or deter your vote at all with the Democratic Party, knowing that they're refusing to denounce left-wing Democratic terrorists?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, it would.
Hey, you can send him up.
Okay.
Thanks.
I denounce stupidity on any part.
Okay. But if it was
Hold on, wait a second.
existential,
Can I phrase that question in a way that's not so horrendously biased? Wait, can I ask this question?
Wait.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, you can, but just to be clear, I just want to clear that because this is a concession to you, Destiny. He said if the only option was the existential threat of Donald Trump, absolutely he'd be for it. Just to be clear.
I don't care. That's fine. I don't care. You phrase that in the most insane way possible. Can you hear me right now, Mr. Soypill?
He can't hear. I will repeat it verbatim.
Okay. My question is would you support Democrats when they're asked to disavow violence or whatever? Would you support Democrats saying we will disavow as soon as Donald Trump calls for his side to be less violent? As soon as Donald Trump makes that statement, every single person on the left will say, yes, we should all bring down the violence.
Okay, Dad, Destiny's question is, would you support Democrats if they said, we refuse to disavow left-wing terrorists until Donald Trump turns down the rhetoric?
It's like brain broken.
Hello?
Hello? Still there?
We broke Daddy.
Yeah, so would you support Democrats saying, we refuse to disavow the violence or to turn down the rhetoric until Donald Trump does it? Millions of people are waiting for your answer right now. Millions.
I don't support that. I wouldn't support them on that.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Dad. I love you.
Okay, bye.
All right. And you won the debate for me, Dad. That's how it
No.
works. No.
You didn't even. I don't know why you didn't even ask my question right away.
Wait, what?
You're literally asking like if the Dems refuse to disavow left-wing terrorism until Trump. The question
Is that not what you're saying?
No, you retard. The question is very simply, hey, what should the left say when they're asked to disavow violence? You say we'll disavow the violence as soon as Donald Trump does on his side.
I don't know where you're getting this. Like, would you be okay with the left refusing to disavow left-wing terrorism until Donald Trump agrees to their consent? Your phrase is like the most aggressive way possible.
Is that not meeting them where they are?
What do you mean? No, the phrasing is important. People are retarded.
Okay, but then, at least can we concede then? And I'm not trying to, this is not a gotcha. We should not be as bad as the right wing right now. We should be somewhere a little less than the temperature.
We're not as bad as the right wing because we're willing to bring it down if they do. The right wing is the one who is not capitulating.
No, but even what you just said, that's not willing to bring it down if they do. That's we're not endorsing or refusing to endorse terrorists, right? We are already a level below before they've de-escalated, right? That's still not meeting them where they are.
Would you apply the standard anywhere else? When Ukraine was invading Russia to take territory from them in the war, was Ukraine being as bad as Russia?
I don't want to make an analogy. I'm just saying.
You need to, because for some reason people's minds are literally everybody on your side is saying we are at war. That's the words they're using. You just don't want to believe any of it because you're not the one in the war.
They are wrong.
Okay.
No.
Why are you
Destiny,
just saying that?
Destiny, I'm just saying that when you say, you got mad at me when I said we refuse to denounce left-wing terrorists, right?
Yeah.
Because you think that's not what we're saying, right?
That's what.
No.
That's what Trump says. Got him.
Okay, got it. Okay.
Okay. Well, first of all, if you guys want me to do a segment where I invite streamers' parents on to debate the streamers, I would absolutely host that show. Okay, Soy Pill's dad versus Tali's mom on 1v1 mano y mano, whatever. That would be good content.
My dad already has to deal with annoying Jewish women all day. He's not going to want to do it with Tali's mom. All right.
Katya, what you got?
Is blue woman, so they would get along. So
my mom is also, very liberal and also pulls no stops. I wouldn't be surprised if the stream got put down if we did parents, and she was there. God
my dad
bless.
says some pretty unhinged shit. I don't know if you want him on stream. He does not understand the concept of TOS.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, well,
go ahead.
Happens to the best of us.
Go ahead, Katya.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, it seems like individuals are okay voting for people that they admit will not turn down the rhetoric, no matter what. But then they say they don't want the consequences of the rhetoric not being toned down. Either you're being dishonest or what? We're just pretending that it won't happen, or we think it won't and we're willing to hedge our bets. What are we doing?
So can you I guess rephrase that?
Right.
Just
So
ask again.
Right. Okay. So basically, you're okay voting for Donald Trump, right? You voted for him 3 times.
Mhm.
You did. Tali voted for him as well, right? And in this debate, you said multiple times, yeah, I know that they're not turning the rhetoric down. I know they're not going to turn it down. Right? But you don't want it to escalate further, which is why you're saying that Democrats should continue to disavow or they shouldn't, meet them where they are or whatever.
But I guess where I would disagree then though is, and it's a meme at this point, but it's whether we're taken literally or seriously. And when I see these calls to war, calls to it's time to fight, and I just don't see the resulting outcome you would expect to see. Versus, and then I see the figures at least that I look up to and that I follow are the ones that are saying we need to tone it down. Everyone needs to get together. It's about mutual de-escalation. And then to get hit back with, well, it's all a problem on the right. When the very first question I asked and that I was curious about is when we get unhinged, insane lefties that do stuff, the whole debate we were just having a month ago was whether or not the liberals, the mainstream left, needs to jettison the far left. And now when far left folks act out, as folks on the far right act out, it's a extremism is a problem for both sides. But now it's like,
right, but they expect us to disavow for both, right? They don't draw that distinction at all, and we kind of get for it, even in kind of very milquetoast liberal circles. So I just feel like I don't know where you go for this. It feels like a lot of people, I understand if you follow people who are, the rational ones or whatever, but if the president is not, and the people in power are not, and the people who are controlling the media are not, then it seems like we're in a situation where people want the Dems to be this release valve.
Do you have a gun?
Just take it and take it forever.
Do you have a gun?
Yes.
Yes, get more if that's your stance. Get more, and I want to.
Well, I'm pro Second Amendment.
First
Come
in
on.
the stack.
What,
first in the stack. Okay.
Oh my gosh.
First in the stack.
Yeah. Well,
okay.
At least I'm not saying that basically Democrats have to forever kind of make sure that they're this fail-safe for the rhetoric, because this is where
we have to
this leads.
Ensure that we never go to a civil war. I think that's a very ice cold take.
Wait, so was it the North's fault? Wait, could the North have de-escalated? Did the North fuck up? Say the North is equally culpable for the Civil War as the South, Wick.
I don't think that they're equally culpable.
How did they fail then? How did they fail? Why didn't they use their words?
I do think that the Civil War could have been avoided, yes.
Oh, yeah? How?
I'm not sure. I'm not a historical scholar, but I'm sure that there's something that could have been done that was not done that could have happened.
Well, fuck me.
They say that we're not
well.
slavery instead of the Emancipation Proclamation. Yeah.
Right.
But
it's
regardless.
just like this, there's going to be something, but people, I guess we only have concepts of a plan on how this de-escalation would look like. But if they're not going to de-escalate, they're just going to say, oh, the left did it forever until, people are like, oh, when's the shooting going to start?
They're going to lose the election if they do it and we don't. But if we both do it, they'll win the election. That's the difference.
Good. Yeah, then that's where we should go. Then that's where we should go. That's our country.
The future.
That's our country. Good. Yes, I'm ready. I want to be MAGA. It's so much easier. We can get the hats and everything. I'm ready.
Win.
No, I will win because I'll just become MAGA and then I'll get along with my parents better. And apparently my son too. So we'll all be great. It'll be amazing. I'm the odd one out, okay? Let's go. Neo-Nazis. I can vote for Fuentes in the next election. Hell yeah.
If it's an unfair election, then how the fuck are we going to get to that point? Because, that's a big chance if we keep escalating.
If they are messing with the votes and closing polling places, my position changes. But we aren't there yet.
They already tried to rig an actual election. They literally tried to actually rig the fucking election. What are you talking about?
January 6th, they tried, but they failed miserably. And they didn't try to rig the election. They tried to overthrow the election, which is a different thing. No one was stopped.
Just to be clear, Wick has literally the Ben Shapiro talking points implanted in his brain. The guardrails held. That's what he just gave you. This is insane to me. I feel like I'm crazy.
Hold on.
Oh my God.
Am I incorrect?
No, you're right. The guardrails held. You're right. You're 100% correct.
What's
therefore, we don't have to meet them where they are and try to steal the election.
Correct.
Right?
So we don't have to replace the guardrails until we've already crashed through them and hurled off the fucking cliff.
No. Listen.
By replacing the guardrails, I mean disavow political assassinations. That's what I mean. Disavow political assassinations. I think it's an ice cold take to take.
That's not just what this is about. But the problem is that when we get to this point, I feel like you and people who have this opinion are basically, the last helicopter out of Vietnam is going to be leaving and you're going to be looking up at it like, damn, I should have been in there. At that point, what do you do?
Hold on. If you are not disavowing political assassinations, you understand that you're feeding the narrative of the right. You are helping them win elections.
Right, but that's not just what this is about. We're not avowing it, and we're saying that we're gonna, meet them where they are with Rhetoric. We're gonna say as much as they are, but apparently, I guess that's.
Wait, I'm sorry. Hold on. Your first point was Premier Kaya. No. Shut the fuck up. Your contention is retarded. You're absolutely right. What's happening is a group of people are showing up to dinner without putting on deodorant, and you're saying you guys are kind of stinky. Nobody's gonna want to eat with you if you guys don't put deodorant on before coming. Meanwhile, the other half of the table shits themselves and wears the same pair of dookie-filled diapers for 2 days and then shows up with their shit-filled things going, yeah, I don't know why you guys just won't put on some deodorant. The BO is kind of bad. And you're telling us that somehow it's on us to be better than that. That's insane to me. No. I would rather just shit myself and join the fun side.
Destiny, okay, when Donald Trump said, Proud Boys, stand back, stand by, this is pretty much an endorsement of terrorism. Do you think we should meet him there and that we should actually say
I'm not going to fed post with you. I'm not fed posting with you.
No, I'm not telling you to say that. I'm saying we shouldn't do that. And what I was trying to get you to say was, obviously, when you say, hey, we refuse to condemn this violence.
I don't need you to get me to say. Why are you repeating what I already said to say? That's what I would say. Just tell people we don't disavow. We just don't disavow anything until Trump does. Make him disavow first. I don't say you have to support anything. I didn't say you have to be oh yeah, go kill everybody. I didn't say that. I've never said that. But you don't like that answer.
Right? So we're not meeting them where they are, right?
Okay, if you want to say that, then sure. But I said what I said.
Okay, that's all I'm saying. If you're saying it's a prisoner's dilemma, we have to match them exactly. No, because they're insane. They're endorsing terrorists. They're saying, stand back and stand by. And
for now, sure, but at some point you might have to, right? Do you acknowledge that? Okay.
Yes, and we don't have to do that now, right?
Sure, but what is the point for you? Because you're not going to know it until it's way too late if you wait on this sort of attitude. Well, we can win in the next election or whatever.
If you're completely black-pilled electorally, I understand. That's probably my line too. I don't think we're there yet. That's all I'm saying.
Okay. Katya, anything else before we cycle through?
Yeah, I just wanted to say to Soy Pill, what's your opinion on, for example, earlier today on the Fox and Friends interview, where Donald Trump said, when they were asking him to disavow the violence or say that we shouldn't be asking for war, be they were gonna get revenge in the ballot box, but the election's rigged, but the voting by mail and Jimmy Carter and blah blah, all that stuff. Like, what do you say at that point? Because they're not willing to de-escalate. They're saying that voting isn't going to work. What now?
Yeah, just to be clear on my position, I am a progressive. I think Donald Trump is an existential threat to this country. I think he's like accumulating power in ways that could potentially completely leave our country for the rest of forever. We're already probably at points where there is irreparable damage, but that does not mean that I think we need to be exactly as bad as them. And it seems like we actually agree on that, which is fine. But that doesn't mean that anything that he has done is good. It's insane. Just to be clear,
we're not. Hold on. Why do you keep saying we're as bad as them? What is the bad thing?
I'm not saying we're as bad as them.
No. Even if we were to go full violence, do you think that fighting for a liberal constitutional democratic government is the same thing as fighting against it? When we had the insurrection against the British, were both sides equally bad? In the Civil War, were both sides? Then stop doing this false equivalence, saying that, well, we would be just as bad as them if we blah, 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 blah.
In that moment, I'm not saying, oh, we're so bad. Oh, how can we live with ourselves? Look in the mirror, libs. I'm saying, unless we're in that moment, we don't need to escalate that far, and it's going to hurt what would otherwise be the electoral possibility of us winning right now. But that doesn't mean we have to de-escalate rhetoric. That doesn't mean we don't have to fight back. It just means we don't have to be as bad. So when I interpreted what you said was, we have to be as bad as them as rhetoric. We have to meet them on the rhetoric. It seems like you don't necessarily have what my misconstrued idea of what you were saying was, which is, we don't have to say we endorse terrorism, but we do have to, escalate it. We have to be a little bit like in between what the maximum bullshit that Trump and Matt Walsh and all these insane people are doing. Okay, cool. As long as you're saying we don't have to meet them exactly there, then I think that's not nearly so insane as I thought you were being.
Okay.
Especially not with actions, but I feel like it's different to distinguish those, I guess.
Thank you for calling in.
All right, nice talking to you guys.
Quick, just an administrative thing. I know there's a long line anyway backstage. We probably won't. There's no way we're gonna get to everyone anyway. But there are people who are.
We'll do 3 more. Then we'll call it. Okay.
There are people. Server.
I had a question for you,
there are people
actually,
in the
about what
server
you
who
just
aren't
said.
able to access the backstage. I don't know.
Then that's because
thing
they
that we
haven't done
figure
the
out
rules
for the
right,
future.
and they got to learn how to do the rules. Okay, they can accept the rules by clicking on my face emoji. Then they'll be able to see all the channels. Ask me your question, and I'll.
Okay, just real quick. So, let's say Trump tries to pull the Jan 6 Eastman again in 2028. In your opinion, what is his chances of actually pulling it off this time?
It's higher because he has more people in places of decision-making power than he did before. I still don't think it's necessarily that high, though. I can't give you an exact percentage. I'm sorry, but it's less than 50. It's more like 10.
Really?
10.
Hold on, wait. You're making this right, Dev. Can I ask you a quick question? Wait, Dev. Him trying that again with all of his cabinet that he or complete sycophants or whatever. He has more power than Hitler did when he tried to do the Enabling Act. No.
I'm not sure, maybe.
With Donald Trump controlling every part of the government and having already the populace, or not every part of the government, every part of the executive power, for him to be able to fabricate whatever document he wants, that's more power, I believe, than when Hitler passed through Parliament the Enabling Act, which is what gave Hitler the ability to rule the whole government.
If he does that and it's successful, then we strap up. Okay? If he does that and it's successful, then we strap up.
So you want him to be successful in his revolution before you actually take violent means.
Trying it in 2028, then we can strap up. How's that?
Well, what does trying it look like? Like if he starts talking about how 2028 is rigged again, we're already there.
No, but wait. We didn't know about the false electors till afterwards. Okay, that we only knew about the insurrection. So I'm actually totally against you on this thing. This is like if we see him doing it, we're 3 months too late. Like that's like the stop him.
What are we gonna do if we don't see him doing it? Right.
Just real quick, Soypal, we knew about the false electors beforehand. If you were in right-wing
but
circles,
nobody cared.
They were talking all about it during November. I remember seeing it myself.
Oh, okay. That's just my ignorance then. Sorry.
Okay. Caller, what do you got?
Yeah, I just had a quick clarification I just wanted to get from Destiny, even though I feel like it's been re-clarified like 100 times. When it comes to like your stance on the rhetoric and the current escalation and de-escalation and where we kind of stand as a country, can you just you have said many times, you're just saying that if we're to ask the left to de-escalate and disavow all these things, it has to just be 100% reactionary, because we've kind of already laid out many a time that the left doesn't like endorse violence outwardly, at least not no one of like grand importance, other than maybe somebody like Hassan, who unfortunately is like this number 2 voice on Twitch politics. But everything that we do should be in reaction to Trump as the leader of the nation. So if he was to be the one that leads the call for de-escalation, you're saying that would lower the temperature from, you said 100 down to sub 50.
Probably,
but if we
yeah.
were to continue to do it, nothing would come from
It goes
that,
to
right?
98 maybe. Or actually, probably not actually. It probably goes to like 110. It gets worse. Because if one side is willing to lay down and the other doesn't, then the other side just dominates you.
But, and just for clarification, to anti-Fed posts, we are not saying that we should escalate until they de-escalate.
No, but whenever somebody asks you, what do you think about the violence, whatever, then so if somebody else gets killed, right, then the response is, oh, we would like to lower the temperature of the country. We'll call for it to be lowered as soon as Donald Trump does.
All right, that's basically all I really wanted to hear. I just wanted to get clarification. Thanks a lot.
Thanks for calling in, sir.
But if I can add on to that, just while we're getting a new caller, if Trump comes out and completely he says exactly what we all want him to say, is that really changing any of the minds of, like, I bring up the stat again, the 70% of college students who think it's okay to shout down speakers on campus, the 30% who say it's okay to use violence on campus. Is this changing the math on the ground at all?
Yeah, because his base will listen to whatever the he says, and I can't believe you're comparing people saying it's okay to shout down people on a college campus to the people that are like, let's take up arms.
The only reason I didn't answer that
because they actually
37% believe that you should be able to enact violence to prevent people from speaking.
And they actually do is the point. They actually go and do it. Is
totally
the point.
180. I'm voting for Trump next time. 37% of college kids said that
that's
they could throw shit or
That's
enact
not the
violence.
response.
No.
We're saying that
I'm
there
serious.
is an actual cultural problem
I agree.
in this country. We're not
I
saying,
agree.
oh yes, you should go vote for Trump. That's not supposed to change your mind.
No,
on your,
but
on
it
your
does.
political views.
70% of college
it's a real
kids.
Problem.
That's crazy. I do. I 180 completely.
It's an actual
70. I
problem.
agree. It's a problem. That's huge.
You're just
70% of college kids.
No one's saying vote for Trump because of this. We're saying it's a real fucking problem.
I agree. It is. It's crazy. 30. What were they throwing? Were they getting like the football team out there to hurl stuff, or was it like the baseball team? Or that's wild. Can you tell me about some of these horrible? What did they have to tear their stands down? They weren't allowed to give their speeches, or it was so bad that Turning Point USA became the largest student union thing across the entire United States, even though these people are all apparently violent and trying to shout down every conservative that goes to speak. That's insane. What should we do about that, guys?
They existed in opposition to that. It creates, if you want to use the word, a safe space on campus for people who are actually like, I think I am interested in conservative ideas. I want to be around people that we can actually talk about stuff and debate stuff. It existed in opposition to the mainstream campus culture, which is the stats that I just laid out. And the difference is that these people actually go out and actually do this stuff.
Wow.
I mean, are we denying that?
And they changed that in less than 10 years with no violence? That sounds like a huge problem. That's crazy that they fixed that. How they overcame the insurmountable odds of 70% of college kids wanting to shout down people they didn't like on college campus. That's crazy to me.
So is 30% just a fine number? Like,
no, that's crazy. Wasn't there? How many people got murdered on college campuses from people at protests? It must have been a huge number. What was it?
Well, we just had one 2 days ago, pretty high profile.
Anymore?
Well, hold on. Wait. Was that guy a college kid? Wasn't that guy? This guy was from like the ethno state in Utah, raised Mormon, 22 years old, whiter than anybody else on this panel. That's the college radical guy that you're saying killed someone at a college campus? What? Okay.
I didn't make any comment about the shooter. We don't have any information.
You just said it happened. You said one happened 2 days ago.
I said, yeah, there's violence that happened on a college campus. Yeah.
Okay, but it doesn't seem like he wasn't a radicalized college kid. Maybe if he would have spent more time in college, maybe he would have been radicalized. No.
What's an acceptable number then for the percent of college students that are okay with using violence? Because these college kids don't stay college kids forever. They grow up, they go in the workplace, they get jobs, and they carry this stuff into these big companies.
I would say it's about the same acceptable number as it is for the women on Hinge who just use men for free dinners. I don't think it should happen. It's not good. But why the would I be thinking about this problem right now when the president of the United States won't call back his side about committing violence when governors like Ben Shapiro or Josh Shapiro, whatever, are having their homes firebombed, when Minnesota state senators are getting assassinated and nobody even says anything about it, but now we're flying at half mast for Charlie and Kirk? Give me a break. I wouldn't even think about this problem. This is like 150 on my list of problems to solve in the United States.
So I think that wait, Gen Z, real quick. Also, I think you're kind of like bearing the lead here too, because when you say people are okay with using violence to shout down or whatever, like get rid of these college speakers, are we including and are you acknowledging that like some of these speakers come to these campuses and foment violence, dox like the trans people, like dox the illegal immigrants, and are literally like committing violence against people on that campus? Like that is baked into that stat of people saying, yeah, we're okay with using violence to stop these speakers from enacting violence on us. It's not just we don't like their words. This is
the speakers are not committing violence on the campus, and they are.
Milo Yiannopoulos, like I'm pretty sure Michael Knowles have done this. They go to these campus and they're like, hey, here's these people. Hey, my whole hate mob who thinks trans people are an abomination. Here's their name, and they go to this campus, and then they like have like literal violence carried out upon them. So this is like, hey, I'm okay with using violence to stop speakers.
Randomly doxes students from the colleges that he goes to.
Yes, he does do that.
Milo, that's why Milo was banned. That's why he was banned from going to college campuses.
I'm not talking about Milo. I'm talking about Michael Knowles. And again, Michael Knowles also.
I don't know if Michael Knowles has specifically doxed someone, but I'm sorry. We're talking about, are you okay with using violence against a speaker? One of these speakers is doing this. Therefore, some of these people answering this question are acknowledging that there's a reality that conservative speakers go to campus and enact violence against the students.
No, but again,
no. This isn't doxing. This is This is sicking your insane hate mob against people on your campus. Okay, this is not, oh, here's your address, ooh, boo boo. You acknowledge that this is actually like going to lead to violence against these people and has led to violence. Okay, right?
We're also
just out of curiosity, how many were hurt?
I mean, I literally don't know what you're referencing.
Yeah, I don't.
Right,
I don't
you
know
don't. Okay, cool.
Oh,
that's
hold on.
running theme in the Trump.
How many were hurt? How many were hurt?
I don't know. I don't either. What are you talking about? Fucking beat up by getting
you're saying
like
this
right-wing insane people.
Yeah, certainly he's doxing everyone, so a bunch of people got hurt, right?
Oh my God.
No, wait. Sorry, Bill. Hold on. Wait. Stop. You're being a libcuck right now. You need to do what Gen Z did. Instead of answering that question, you need to ask him, what's an acceptable number? Put it back on him.
Okay, sure. What's an acceptable
0.
number?
Can you give me 1?
Yeah, there was at least 1. That's why Milo got banned from college campuses, so you lose. Boom!
Maybe. I'm not entirely...
when was the last time Milo's been relevant?
Right, but I do want to give a chance.
What do you think it's not relevant? If they're saying
when was the last time Milo was relevant?
It doesn't matter if it's
he had his heyday.
No. If this is within the past 10 years, let's say first of all, this is not the only time this has happened. But if you're saying, hey, isn't it scary that 30% of people on college campuses are okay with using violence to get rid of speakers when these people demonstrably cause harm to these people with their rhetoric, as if this is like some insane thing to say that, yeah, maybe we should like blockade them from coming out. Maybe we should scare them from coming out.
It sounds to me like you think the number should be 100%. If there's people coming to campus and violently causing harm, causing violence to people, then 100%
would be a reasonable number.
True. It should be. You should be scared to be anti-liberal in a liberal country. That should make you afraid. Fuck off and go somewhere else and take your weird authoritarian bullshit to some other place. You should be afraid in the U.S.
True. Gen Z. So have you seen that one video where there's like some conservatives on campus? They have a table set up, and then like a trans person comes over. They back and forth a bit, and the trans person like shrieks and then grabs the table and flips it, and all their flyers go everywhere, and then starts yelling, and then marches away. Like there's been several viral videos like this. I'm sure you've seen at least one of them, right? Yeah. So that's bad. It shouldn't be happening in a liberal society. There are 10,000 problems that are way worse. Okay, this is very low on the priority list. Okay.
See, but I think the reason why it is important, though, is because we're talking about this is the same argument that was made about, I guess, the 60s and 70s. We're talking about the hippie revolutions, like, oh, they're just college kids, they'll grow out of it. What's the saying, right? If you're young and conservative, you don't have a heart. If you're old and liberal, you don't have a brain. It's like they'll grow out of it. They'll start paying taxes. It's the meme. But these are the people that grew up to then become professors and completely change the entire structure of academia, which then spills over into Hollywood, then spills over.
All of them grew up to be professors. Every single college was just we have like 20 million.
Not all of them, but this created a culture where these people then they started occupying these cultural spaces and completely
you're making
reshaped.
the Antonio Gramsci argument, right?
Gen Z, I'm not saying they're going to grow out of this opinion. I'm saying they're correct for having it. They're actually very astute for saying, yeah, if someone is able to post my name and address, this is demonstrably going to put me in harm's way, and I might have to use violence to keep them off if the fucking college isn't going to protect me. I think that's a perfectly acceptable.
But back to Wick's point, I think we're still waiting on an example of that happening.
Okay, do you want me to, if you just Google Milo Yiannopoulos UC Berkeley, you will find. Okay, first of all, no, I'm not even going to concede. Let's say no one got hurt. If you're publicly posting addresses, and this is the same, shut up, Wick. Let me finish. If you're publicly posting people's addresses to dox them, and no one gets hurt because no one decides to go and hurt them, but it's just like, oh, thank God that no one in the coin flip decided to go fucking hurt these people, but their public addresses were posted with the intention of people going after them. You don't think that's a valid reason to say, hey, well, good thing you didn't swat me. Good thing you didn't come and kill me in my house, but I'm just going to let you do it again?
None of us think that conservative commentators should be going onto college campuses and doxing students. That is obviously beyond
the pale. You should be able to use violence to stop them from doing it. Do you think you should be able to use violence to stop them from doing it?
Your claim was that people got hurt because they did it.
Yeah,
And I just
and
want
now
to
I'm
know who
making
got hurt.
now I'm making before I even look it up, I'm making an even more conservative thing that I think is more defensible. Is I don't think you should. I think you should be able to use violence to stop someone from doxing you, 100,000%, because I'm not going to put my potential harm on the line.
Dox you. So if you're one example,
if they already did it,
Milo
Tally,
Yiannopoulos,
they did it. We know he did it.
But is your example Milo Yiannopoulos? Then fine.
Yes.
Milo Yiannopoulos is a crazy person, and don't invite him
and
to
then
college
if you pull a
campuses
college
because he
student and
has
say,
a history
"Hey,
of doing
do you know who this
Okay,
is?"
what
What
should
about
you
all
be
the
able
rest
to
of the
do if you
conservative
think? Hold on.
speakers?
If you think someone is going to dox you, Soy Pill, you think that someone's
Yeah,
going
now
to
you
release
fed
your
boy, Soy Pill.
information.
Get
What
fed
should
post.
you be able to do to them?
What should you be able to do to their body?
They're going
Fed
to post my name and address, and they're like, "I'm about to do this." They've got their finger on the button, right?
Yeah. What should you be able to do to them?
At the very least, you ever see Starship Troopers? Where he throws the knife and he sticks his hand against the
and
wall,
get
and he
the-
says,
you
"Yeah,
think
and
you should be able to
the enemy
stab them
cannot."
in the hand.
Yeah, the enemy cannot press the
Stop
nuke if they
them
can't press the button.
from-
100%, you should be able to stab their hand and
Jesus
not let them press the
Christ.
fucking spacebar
In a
button,
video
okay?
game.
No, not in a video game. In real life.
Jesus Christ. Okay.
Oh,
You can
Jesus
have
Christ! They're posting your address to a bunch of people who have a demonstrable history of hurting people.
Why
Is
are
that
you
not
more? Wait,
fucking-
how old are you, Soy Pill? Why do you have a more radical
29.
position on random people going to schools to dox people than the president of the United States calling for fucking civil war? What the fuck is wrong with you? You're telling me you can use preemptive violence against Michael Knowles going to do some fucking random event in a college, but you can't do anything about the president of the United States?
Okay.
Okay, and you snuck in there that they have a
No.
history of hurting people, and you can't give me one person they hurt.
Milo Indianapolis has a history of these doxing people or getting the harassment. Now, if I show you the hurting thing, now are you going to agree that we can stab them in the hand to stop them from doxing people?
Oh my God.
Show me the.
No. Say yes or no. If I show you that Milo Yiannopoulos doxed someone and they got hurt, you would agree that it's okay to stab Milo.
Careful, Wick.
Or
You know he's
anyone
already
who's
got a
going
tweet
to-
loaded up. Don't let him trick you
Yeah?
like this.
Would you be okay with this?
Let's see what you got.
No. Answer the question, Wick. It's a hypothetical.
Make it a conditional that you can
Wanna see
change
it anyway.
what it means afterwards. So say like only if I think it's a serious threat or something, or only if I think it was caused by that, so that he can link you something and you say, well, I don't think that was caused by that. You can't draw a direct link. Go.
Well, no, I'll just give you if you can give me someone that got hurt. And by hurt, I mean physically, not their fifis, okay? Not fired from their job,
What
but
about
physically
swatting?
beat up.
What about swatting where the potential of you dying is there?
Did they get hurt?
Can you answer the question? Do you understand that
No.
swatting has the potential of
I'm
you
being
dying?
very clear.
Would you
it
consider
does.
swatting a death threat potentially if you could, because there's always the chance that they're going to shoot you. Especially, I think you own weapons, don't you, Wick?
I own one weapon. And well, actually, I own three. Okay, I got these guns here,
That's
right?
right.
But other
There we
than
go.
that, right?
Okay.
So just to be, so you
Right.
think
So
doxing
just
should
to be
be
clear, so then it would be okay to stab someone
But
in
you
the
understand
hand
that
right
swatting
before they're
is
about to press
different.
post.
Swatting
but
is
you-
different than someone going out and getting actually physically hurt. Swatting has a potential to
I
hurt
would
them.
consider
I would
swatting
agree with that. It
potentially
increases the chance that they get physically hurt. I'll agree with that. But can you give me a
it's the same
chance
word,
where they
right?
got
Okay, so it's
actually
worse.
physically hurt?
The Supreme Court's already ruled on this in Brandenburg with the incitement test. There has to be specificity and imminence. Just posting someone's information, I agree, horrible thing to do, completely immoral, but not illegal. I mean, it sounds like you're saying you're being consistent, saying it sounds like you're saying it should be illegal if you're going so far as to say you should.
Well, it is in some states, isn't it? Isn't it illegal in some states?
Well, I don't know on all 50 states. I mean, each state has their own criminal law, so I can look it up. But
Okay,
as
but
far
are you saying, just like let's remove legality, are you saying if someone posts addresses and they have a history of people whose addresses they're posted get hurt because they have an audience of people who might be more inclined to do that, it's just totally fine if they keep doing it because they're not the ones hurting them?
I mean, I know you said take the law out of it. Unfortunately for you, I'm not going to do that.
Do you have morals, or is that not?
I do.
I mean, I know you don't, but like.
Yeah, just to be clear to the retards, the sub IQ motherfuckers in my chat that are saying I think swatting is okay. Absolutely not. I think that there are plenty of things that are not okay, even though they don't give physically harm. But Soy Pill made a very specific claim, and he loaded his argument
Wait, why
on
don't
this
you think
claim.
swatting's
And
okay,
Milo
Wick?
Yiannopoulos had gotten people physically hurt.
Wick, why do you think swatting's not okay?
Okay, swatting's not okay because it increases the chances.
Attempt murder.
Of harm.
Do you think it's almost akin to attempted murder, or at least like halfway there, even?
Really bad, yes.
Okay, if you post someone's address and you know there's a very good chance they'll get swatted, would you say that maybe you're an accessory to said
Can
thing?
you draw a direct line between this person's
Okay, sorry.
Milo
Maybe,
Yiannopoulos?
let me ask an easier question. Do you think Milo Yiannopoulos is so retarded he doesn't think that his audience goes after people when he posts their address?
I think Milo Yiannopoulos.
Why do you think he posts
their
their address, actually? What do you think he does when he does that?
An intimidation tactic.
Why would it intimidate them if they're not going to go after them? There's no
Because it
violence.
increases the chance that someone is going to use their address and cause them harm.
Okay. Do you think you should be able to use any sort of physical
No, I don't think
altercation to
doxing is
stop them
okay,
from
frankly,
No.
Yeah,
To
but you
we've
stop
made
already
a
been over
someone from
specific
that.
claim
doxing
that
you.
you're
To stop
weaseling
someone from
out
doxing
of.
you. I'm not weaseling. I'm going to show you, but I'm waiting for
Okay,
you to,
show
because it
me.
seems, well, no, because it seems like even in the hypothetical of, yes, this person might cause imminent death to you by swatting you, and he knows that his audience will do this. Well, I don't think you should use violence to stop him from causing people to go to your house or swat you or any of this stuff, because, I mean, we don't know if it's going to happen, and he doesn't know for sure. He's just posting it because he wants to scare them, right?
You
Like,
said
is
that
it not okay?
you said that Milo Yiannopoulos went
Can
onto
you, are you,
campuses,
don't ignore everything I
doxed
just said,
people,
please.
and got them hurt. Show me where that happened. That's all I'm
I'm going to
asking.
do that, but
Okay,
I'm
just do
asking
that.
you. But it doesn't matter if, when I show you, you're not going to hold to the principle that I'm
I will
establishing
hold
right
to the
now.
principle if
You
they
don't
got
haven't
hurt.
said your principle. You said it doesn't. If they do that, yeah,
I'm
it might be
asking you.
imminent death
It's
threat.
just yes or no.
Wait,
It's a binary
no,
thing. Did it
because
happen or
why
did
do
it
I show you
not?
the evidence if you won't even concede in a hypothetical?
I'm conceding. If they got hurt, I will
Mhm.
concede the argument.
The
Show me where they
argument that
got
it's
hurt.
okay to commit violence against someone for doxing you or attempting to dox you.
Oh, it's okay. It depends on we need more context. Dox you
Okay,
how?
the context is
Dox
there's
you
a
by
history.
releasing your face if you were a VTuber? That's
No,
doxing.
here's their full
Releasing
name
your
and
home
address,
address?
and here's their full name and address. Yeah,
Sure.
you should be
Yes,
able to commit violence
I
against
think
someone
you
for
could do
doxing you.
some form of violence. I don't think you could kill them, right?
I
But I
didn't say
think you
kill
could
them. I said throw a knife into their hand to stop them from posting about it.
sure, doing something violent towards them would be
Okay.
justified, at least morally.
Thank you
I
for
can't speak
joining the
legally.
30% wick. Now I'll go find you the evidence. You guys can hash it out.
You don't even you don't even know when this happened. God damn it. Okay. But I just want to be clear that this happens a lot of times. Well, they make claims. They'll come in, make claims, load those claims. Well, this happened. They got hurt. There was an untold number that were harmed by what this person was doing on campus, and therefore we need to shut them down. But when I asked, can you give me one example? We get no.
To be clear, the issue is that initially it was presented as a huge problem that 70% of college kids said it's okay to shout down people, or 30% said it's okay to use violence to stop
30%.
people. That well, no,
37%
it was 70% to shout down people. It was like 37% for violence. But without seeing the phrasing of that question, it was kind of dumb. Like everybody would probably agree with that, depending upon what kind of speakers we're talking about shouting down, right? Or using violence to prevent from going on a campus, right?
Yeah, I mean, we could look at the phrasing of the question. But I would just say to go off what you just said, Wick, as far as kind of made that point. And then if you, so you identify, can you give me an example? And then we get into the back and forth, and then it's, oh, well, if you just get rid of the law, if you just look at it morally, well, unfortunately, the law we're dealing with here is the First Amendment, and specifically the incitement standard under Brandenburg, which, by the way, for anyone who doesn't know the facts of Brandenburg, it was a KKK leader who was specifically, I believe, specifically calling out people by name as being horrible, horrendous threats to the community. And then some of the followers he whipped up the mob. Some of the followers went out and did something horrible, TOS, I won't say. But he was found not guilty under the specificity requirement, that he did not directly incite them to go actually do what they ended up doing. Same reason why Trump was not charged with incitement under the January 6th stuff, because it wasn't the direct call to action and the specificity and the imminence. So just, I don't want to get back to January 6th, but when we're talking about incitement, specific legal
just to be clear,
here,
he just wasn't charged with it. That doesn't mean that he wouldn't have met or exceeded the threshold for Brandenburg.
I think it would have been a lot better evidence if he was charged with it.
Absolutely not. The idea that you want the Supreme Court, the idea that you want, it has nothing to do with innocence before proven guilty. It's the idea that you would want to test the Brandenburg standard with regards to speech from the President of the United States. That would be an incredibly scary thing to try. And if you f that up, you're going to be remembered in history as the worst Solicitor General or whoever is going to go and argue that case. That's an incredibly, people are very strategic about what cases they bring to the Supreme Court. They're very careful about the ones that they choose that they want to succeed on the merits on, right? There's a reason why there weren't any partially monetarily, but partially because they were worried about the SEC or whatever. There's a reason why companies didn't want to fight their First Amendment right to ban Trump or whatever in front of the Supreme Court as well, because who knows how they would have ruled on that. Like, you're strategic about the cases that you bring. And I don't know if you want to test Brandenburg in front of a conservative court with the President of the United States on the line. That could have far-reaching implications for a variety of different reasons.
Actually, I agree with that. You do have to be strategic about the cases you bring. Because, yeah, you just as much as you might set good precedent, you might set terrible precedent. So, yeah.
Okay,
look at that.
Last caller. What's your name? Sean Solo? What do you got for us?
Look at that awesome game room. That's great.
Thank you. Appreciate it. A lot of people call it GameStop. One thing I want to bring up is, like, no one's really seemed to have mentioned the facts, like from FBI data, from DHS data, from the ADL, etc., from independent colleges. 100% of extremist-related murders were committed by right-wing extremists.
There's a waste of time. People on the right don't believe in stats. It's not. I agree
know they
with you.
don't, but we got to say it.
Oh, okay.
We got to keep saying it. You got to keep asking Grok. When you see these people on Twitter, ask Grok who committed the most terrorism in these years. It's going to tell you 80 to 100% right-wingers. Give them whatever way you want to do it.
It's funny when Grok says it, actually.
They like to hear, give it to them. Give them these numbers. It's all right-wingers.
So I guess I'll
not to mention, for years, we've had Tucker Carlson, we've had Jesse Waters on Fox, we've had Newsmax, OAN screaming about, we're going to war. We're going to do this. The Democrats are demons. Liberals are evil. And then you've got MSNBC and CNN firing people over empty nothing burgers that were just stating the basic, obvious truth. What are we fucking talking about here, people?
Well, we're talking about people who won't disavow, right, the violence that's being committed. I agree with you that the right is worse. I agree with you that the left is going too far firing these people. I don't think they should be fired.
To be clear, real quick, Wick, the problem you're talking about doesn't even exist, right? Like every big figure on the left will disavow the violence. So you're talking about a hypothetical problem that doesn't even exist.
You're not disavowing the violence.
I literally said a million times, political violence and murder shouldn't happen in this country. Nobody should do it. It's not good on either side. I've said that a million times. No right-winger who's larger media will say that statement. Do you acknowledge that?
Hold on. You don't think I can find a right winger?
Well, no, hold on.
They will say that
winger. Hold on, Destiny. Actually, they'll say a very similar thing to you, which is yes, it's horrible and it shouldn't be happening. But it looks like we're at a civil war, and we're not going to be the ones to leave ourselves defenseless. They make a
wrong. Wrong. That's not what they say. What they say is all of it is on the left.
Not all of them, but the people that you're talking about.
Everything I've seen. Go to Twitter right now and refresh, and every single thing you see, it's going to say right-wingers. It's going to say left-wingers are responsible for everything. All the terrorism, all the hatred is coming from the left.
The president and the vice president of the United States said that the Minnesota assassin was hired by Waltz. That was hired by Waltz. Yeah, but that's a lie that's propagated by the administration.
Yeah, that's very bad.
I just don't think we need to refuse to turn down the temperature or de-escalate until they do. I think that we can still fight them and not de-escalate. Is there anything else you had for us, caller, sir?
I think that about sums it up for me. Thanks.
Okay.
Sean Solo Yo on Twitter.
Okay, thank you for calling in. Okay, gang. Soy Pill, have you found your example yet?
Believe it or not, the people who were doxxed don't want their names out there, so it's hard to find what happened to them.
Okay, well, you can DM it to me later, and then we can have another stream at some other point.
To be clear, it's still, like I said, doxing in and of itself is a threat insofar as you're posting it to a rabid mob who's going to harass you, which is just, I know you think that's true, regardless of whether or not it's the campus speaker. And if you agree that if there is something that could happen, such as swatting or violence because of this, it's not unreasonable for a college student to say, yeah, I think it might be okay to use some sort of violence, depending on how they ask the question, to stop them from releasing your public address, right?
And the reason...
Preemptive violence, if you don't know, if you're just assuming that someone might come out here with the dox, that is obviously bad.
Okay, what about people that have doxed
conservative
already?
Speakers because one of them might dox someone?
No, that already doxed.
So once you've
while
been
they
doxed,
were like speaking on college campuses?
No, as in they posted their faces and names online preemptively before they even got to the campus, which is what Milo did at Berkeley.
We're all condemning Milo Yiannopoulos.
Oh.
I mean, no one here is...
So would you say that
the big problem with Milo is Milo boarded the child rape train like 10 years too early. He fucked up on that one really hard.
Okay. Anything else from anyone else, or are we good?
I'm not good.
I guess
I let the record show I am not good. I think these two people are unhinged, and we're supposed to treat it like it's normal. I think it's crazy.
You don't have to treat them as it's normal.
We're treating it like it's normal right now. We're treating both these people like they're rational, functional human beings. These people are fucking crazy.
That's, I mean, you're just completely out of touch if you think that either of us are crazy. We're not saying everything that you would like us to say, but we're like obviously moderate, normal people. And again, maybe you don't like what we have to say, but then you are out of touch with the majority of the country.
That's fine. And the majority of the country is crazy. If it's okay to support somebody
Well,
who
then I
uses
guess
the military,
then by your logic, then we need civil war. If people like Gen Z Attorney and I are crazy, then yes, we do need civil war. Then
What's that one?
You should be coming to get people like us because apparently the majority of the country is a threat to you.
What's the one quote for the only thing necessary for evil to succeed is for people or whatever to stay neutral? Yeah, true. Base.
Well, I'll be honest.
Here's the thing. So, I'm not sure that this applies to you, Tally, but I think this probably applies to you, Gen Z. If Gavin Newsom came out and he actually said, "No, this is war now. It's time to go and shoot up Republicans. I'm forming Gavin's garrison to enact justice upon the right," I think you'd be freaking out, and rightfully so. So you have to understand that it is going the other way right now.
Remember when Trump signed that executive order like a week ago saying that police can join up as private new in the state park guard or whatever the fuck he formed in DC? I know nobody here knows about that because nobody gives a fuck when Trump does unhinged shit, but Jesus, what a bizarro, wacko executive order. Holy shit.
So to answer your question, Dave, but listen to the difference you just inserted in there. And I think I like to see the good in everybody. I think everyone's being honest and trying to get to a better solution. But basically what you just said, you phrased it as if Gavin Newsom said, "It's time for war, let's form the militia to go shoot Republicans." I think obviously that is completely over the line. But is anyone on the right? I'm seeing a lot of these vague calls like, "This means war, enough is enough." But it's like I'm not seeing the here and now. Here's the people we need to go after. Like it's just honestly more of the same. Which I agree.
Wait, is there a single person on the left? Is there a single person on the left, including Hassan and all the tankies? Is there a single person on the left whose rhetoric then you would condemn under that standard? Is there anybody who's done a specific call to violence on anybody? You don't even believe in this standard, right? Yeah, you don't even you're giving standards that you don't even believe in. It's a joke.
No, I'm talking. Well, we're conflating two different things again. That's why I stopped to think about it. If it was actually the same question, but no, if we're talking about, once again, we're splitting off between. It's just like this whole doxing debate we just had. The difference between constitutionally protected First Amendment activity and actual incitement to violence. These are two completely different things. And so, of course, no one's going to be out there explicitly inciting violence. Because of course they're not. Because you're going to.
How do you feel about Donald Trump trying to make flag burning and like an aggravated part of a criminal charge?
Yeah, I think I disagree with that. I think flag burning is it's expressive conduct that should be protected under the First Amendment. Obviously, huge disagree with doing it, but as far as whether or not it's protected under the First Amendment, I think it should be. So
how do you feel about them making decisions about deporting people based on whether they support Israel or Palestine?
Let's stop right there then, because look what just happened there. Okay, you asked the point, I bit the bullet, and now it's immediate pivot to the next point. Can we just stop and actually acknowledge that when there are points where we can actually maybe agree on something and then build this bridge back that we're trying to build, it's completely dismissed and out. It's immediately on to the next point. Like, why would I concede any point in that paradigm?
You're not really conceding anything. These are minor things you don't agree on, and none of it would change your vote. At the end of the day, the only thing that matters is who you vote for. And so far,
so if none of it matters, why are you asking me? I guess
because it's funny to see how hypocritical you guys will go.
Well, hey, we can up our $20 bet. We can make it $1,000 on there not being a Trump 2028. But
Wick, I have to say, I was totally wrong. I found the wrong thing. I thought that he was doxing the addresses of these transgender students. That's not what happened. He was threatening undocumented students to dox them so that ICE would take them away and deport them, which is in and of itself just the violent action. So it's completely worse than I thought it was. And I totally think that you can prevent this person from coming to campus. By the way, not just posting about it on the line, he's specifically going to come to the campus, project their names and faces onto the walls and say, "Hey, everyone in this fucking room, go find this guy and call ICE on them." Sorry, I thought it was way not that bad. It's way worse than I thought. So yeah, I'll DM that to you so you can read it.
Okay.
But even then, I mean, I think that's still gross, but it's still failing under any sort of...
The university should not allow for harassment of their students on their campus. Like that's completely reasonable. That is targeted harassment of students.
Don't say okay to that. She's only saying that because of the Jew thing and the Israel thing, 100%.
What are you talking about? I'm saying it's bad to dox people and put up pictures of them on the auditorium and put their name and address out there. What does that have to do with Israel?
Do you think you should be able to use violence to stop them from doing it if the university fails to protect you?
You can use violence to stop a legal process from unfolding. The enforcement of immigration, which
I'm not asking you. I don't give a shit.
You're asking a legal question, and now you don't want me to hear my answer because I know
legally undocumented people should be deported because they're undocumented. That's how it works. Yeah, but I don't agree with this morally. I'm asking Tolly if you think that someone's going to come in and say, "Hey, I'm going to post your name and face so that ICE comes and rounds you up." would you think you should be able to like resist that in any way, shape, or form? Not saying murder. I'm not saying do any crazy violent protests. Just hey, I'm going to physically resist you even.
Well, you're going to have to be more specific because you're saying not any violence.
Milo Yiannopoulos
he doesn't even need to be more
specific.
specific.
I'm going to come into your campus as soon as I get into the room with the projector. I'm going to put Jose Gonzalez's face on the wall. Sorry, I just doxed him, by the way. Now he's going to get rounded up by ICE, Jose Gonzalez. And I'm going to put his name on the wall, go find this student and get him deported, which I would call a violent action, even if it's legal because he's undocumented. And they say, you know what? No, because the university's not going to protect us. We are going to form a human shield and not allow him to get into the projector room. Would you be okay with that?
Sure, standing in a human shield to prevent someone who has already explicitly claimed that they are going to go in and dox private information of students. Yes, students should exactly. In fact, that's actually what I was going to say. So, for example, if at a university near me, they already announced they were planning to go in and dox my information so that people would harass me. No, I would not try to attack the person who was doing that violently. I would hope that my community would come around and stand up against that. So yes, all standing together with your arms intertwined to prevent this person from speaking. And by the way, I don't think that should happen for someone like Charlie Kirk or Ben Shapiro or whatever visiting these universities, but someone who is explicitly calling and saying, I am literally going to dox students at this university so that they will get in trouble or be deported or something. Yes, if people want to get together and band arms, sure, that's totally reasonable.
And
that is not violence.
First of all, just to be clear, when you are asking what do college kids think and whether or not this is a bad thing, I think any of them thinking that would be totally fine. And I would go further as to say, if that's not going to work and they're going to break that up using campus police, I would support something so far as I think someone should, do something to Milo Yiannopoulos' hand before he can turn the projector on. And I don't think that's a crazy opinion to say.
Hold on.
So if I go squat in my
crazy actually.
Yeah.
That's
if I go
nuts.
squat, if I'm squatting in my neighbor's house and the police come to kick me out, I can just stab the cop in the hand.
That's exactly analogous to what I was saying.
Completely. It's a legal process that is being enforced. You may not like the method of enforcement. I don't like it very much.
Yeah,
but it
someone
still is
coming in and kicking you out of your own house versus a student going to university through the university's policies
somebody
and
else's
attending
house.
School. Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. It's your house, right? Like not going to your house. Someone else is in your house. Like this is like I'm stealing your property versus someone attending university totally normal and existing in America as an undocumented person, not in a way that is like stealing.
Hold on. Do you think if ICE is coming to deport someone from college, that the college campus should physically resist those people, the ICE agents?
The college police?
Yeah.
Depends on what their policy is, but I would hope that they would.
The answer is yes.
The answer is yes.
They should not. I don't think
they should not.
I in the same way I think that certain sanctuary cities not complying with ICE is good. I think that colleges.
We're not talking about not complying with ICE. We're talking about physically resisting.
Actively resisting, yes.
And actively resisting a government agent from performing their duty.
Fighting the ICE agents.
The feds. Should they post up against the feds? Make them answer it. Yeah, get a Twitter clip.
I'm going to say no, and I'm going to say this legitimately. This is not me because I don't want a Fed post. I think if the institution is doing it because they receive college finances from the government, and like this is like literally the issue that happened where Donald Trump was threatening to essentially like cut off a major amount of funding, if not shut down the college completely, depending on how he wants to do it. No, I think that is more of a risk to the rest of the students than the students themselves resisting.
Gang, this has been a show of all shows. Thank you all for being here. If you enjoyed this content, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Sunday, I'll be going on the Sitch and Adam show to talk about
oh my god,
anti-white racism in the media, and I'm sure we're going to talk about Kirk as well. On Wednesday, we're having a show on Are Democrats Too Soft on Crime, and then on Thursday, I'm going to go on another political violence panel. Only I won't be moderating; I'll be participating, and that should be fun. Okay,
I'm glad. I think we should all clap also for Sitch and Adam, our brave centrists that definitely are politically not partisan and just take the most reasonable, rational position on everything. That's amazing.
Okay. I like actually Sitch and Adam. I like you too, Destiny.
I like them too. The same way I like laughing at them.
like
pretty
them.
funny. Yeah.
Okay.
They're both disgusting, subhuman.
We might have Drew Pavlo on Tuesday.
Yeah,
Wick.
that might be fun too.
He agreed to come on. We're just waiting to confirm the date. So that might be
Tuesday.
On
We might have Drew Pavlo, and I can ask him why he decided to switch parties because of all this. That should be fun. Okay, with that, I'll see you guys later. Wait, bye-bye, everyone.
Bye. Be careful.